Our protagonist was a seasoned employee at a five-star hotel. One night, she was involved in a sudden traffic accident and fell into a coma. Upon waking, she found herself transported into a novel she had once read, inhabiting the body of a maid named Rose. While searching for clues to return home, our protagonist had to accept the reality of becoming a maid, serving His Highness Prince Calyx Fossman. If she displeased him, she wouldn't even be able to keep her life. Could her past experience in hotel service help her navigate this ordeal and safely return to the real world? Let's follow this journey together. The story begins with a horrific accident on a dark night. Anyone who has read this story must have imagined what they would do if they were in that situation. Or perhaps taming a black panther into a rabbit. Such a symbiotic relationship wouldn't be bad either. Enjoying a blissful life with a lovely daughter. I am a mother, and my daughter is incredibly cute. Or marrying the male, lead to protect her family, and then becoming the head of the family. These were all unrealistic scenarios that the protagonist always dreamed of. Back in reality, her expression clearly changed. Really, a young man smiled, saying in a gentle voice, "What a pity, a minute later and I would have chopped off your head." She stood there frozen, thinking, I never thought about how to survive. The more she thought about it, the more frightened she became, her soul scattering. It's over. Shortly after the accident, she woke up in a daze, still complaining in her mind, I don't want to go to work. Am I still dreaming? What kind of dream has a hotel in it? Is this an occupational hazard? A strange man sat majestically in a chair, looking at her. A foreigner. Did I watch an American movie yesterday and fall asleep? She had just sat up, still unsure of where she was, when the prince commanded, wipe it clean. The protagonist hurriedly wetted a towel, now filled with regret. I should have listened to my mother. I should have chosen a more comfortable job. Even in a dream, it's the same. I chose the wrong path. While wiping the prince's hands, the smell of blood wafted into her nose. Suddenly, she noticed something strange in the palm of his hand. A cross-shaped scar was clearly visible. This scar, where did it come from? Seeing her sitting motionless, the prince asked, aren't you going to wipe it? After that, she regained her focus. Regardless, he's really handsome. Even if I'm attracted to handsome men, 1,000 reincarnations wouldn't be enough. Her heart bloomed upon encountering someone perfectly suited to her taste. Seeing the maid tightly gripping his hand without letting go, the prince became annoyed, saying, can you let go? Seeing his irritable attitude, she immediately changed her mind. Definitely not my type. After accepting her assistance, the Dark Prince quickly shooed her away like he was driving away evil spirits. Once you're done, get out quickly. The protagonist didn't linger, muttering to herself as she left, no matter how handsome he is, if he has a bad personality, I'll eliminate him immediately. As soon as she opened the door and walked out, the maid standing outside gasped in surprise, as if they had seen an A-list celebrity. A sudden scream echoed, calling the name Rose. The protagonist stood frozen, not understanding what was happening. Rose, are they calling me? All the maids hurriedly asked, are you alive, Rose? Are you all right? What should we do? The protagonist marveled at this vivid dream, feeling so real, as if it was happening right before her eyes. Suddenly, the glasses and a bottle of wine on a tray fell to the floor, shattering into pieces. The butler looked at the protagonist with a terrified expression, as if he had seen a ghost. His face darkened, and he could only utter, oh my God, Rose, you're not dead. Rose, you're not dead. A maid quickly added, as expected of the butler. She started to feel dizzy. Why is everyone so loud? But this isn't Korean. She closed her eyes tightly, trying to endure the sudden pain. The image of a truck rushing towards her unexpectedly replayed in her mind. I am Rose, the daughter of Baron Estonia. My parents have passed away, and I work as a maid in the royal palace. The protagonist was utterly bewildered as pieces of information continuously flashed through her mind. What is this? Since yesterday, I've become His Highness the Prince's maid. Her face grew hazy, and sweat poured down profusely. This person's memories. Unable to stand any longer, she stumbled and collapsed onto the floor. The murmuring voices of people faintly echoed in her ears. The next morning, in the castle, looking at herself in the mirror, the protagonist still couldn't believe she had transformed into another girl. This looks too ridiculous. Who is this? Unrealistic pink hair. A lace nightgown I would absolutely never wear. Is there no other possibility? Impossible. She restlessly glanced around. Then she began rummaging through the wardrobe. Ridiculous. There must be something. There has to be something. Something to prove I'm not crazy. She bustled around like a headless chicken, searching here and there. Finally, she discovered a strange notebook neatly placed on the table. The notebook exuded a terrifyingly mysterious aura. Rose's face paled, and she trembled, afraid to approach it. Goosebumps rising on her skin, she tiptoed towards the table in front of her. This book might be a clue. It should be all right to touch it, right? Finally, Rose mustered all her courage as a woman and touched the notebook. She stammered with a forced smile. Teach this bad feeling. A dazzling light suddenly shone out directly onto her face. Rose carefully flipped through each page, examining the contents within. Disappointingly, no clues appeared. It only recorded her duties as the prince's maid. Wake up at 6 a.m. His Highness the Prince's breakfast is at 7 a.m. Receive the meal directly from the kitchen and bring it to the bedroom. And after he finishes eating, assist His Highness in leaving for the day. Rose still hadn't given up hope and attempted to flip through it, searching for clues. No, not this. Are there any other clues? The terrifying words received orders to assassinate His Highness the Prince appeared. After reading that line, Rose's face became horrified. What was that sound just now? She stared at the notebook with apprehensive eyes. She continued reading several pages of the diary written by the maid. The maid before me, Emily, disappeared, and the next turn is mine. I'm just a maid. How can I assassinate His Highness the Prince? This is no different from telling me to commit suicide. Rose pondered for a long time. This is strange. Do people usually write these things in a diary? It's as if it was written for someone else to see. The Duke wants to kill Calix Fossman. Rose was stunned after learning this shocking news. What? She recalled the blood-stained hand and the strange mark on the prince's palm. Calix Fossman. Rose's limbs went weak, unable to even hold the diary anymore. Ridiculous. Then I really am in another world. Rose still couldn't accept this harsh reality. No, my career, my family, my life. First, calm down. I need to sort out the situation. The memories of this body's owner gradually returned. I am Rose Estonia, the Baron's daughter, appointed as Calix Fossman's maid. If Calix Fossman is the character I know, then it's the last novel I read, and Calix Fossman is the tyrannical male protagonist of this novel. Not only considered trash, but also an early published 19+ fantasy romance novel. Rose clutched her head in a panic. Why did I have to read such a novel? There are other interesting, romantic, or whatever novels. Why not A King's Daughter? But did the character Rose even appear in that novel? If the male lead is acting like a tyrant and is still the crown prince, that means we're at the beginning of the novel. It wouldn't be strange to be killed off at any moment, just a supporting character. If it's the Calix Fossman I know, if he finds someone displeasing, he'll immediately chop off their head. Rose anxiously looked at herself in the mirror. I'm going crazy. This hairstyle needs to go. She lightly touched the mirror with her hand, and then thought, did I really disappear? I hope not. How was the hotel doing? First, I have to survive here. Calix Fossman has already killed all his brothers and ascended to the throne. So now, I have to decide which side to take. Rose turned to look at the diary on the bed, carefully opening it to check the prince's schedule of service. Breakfast at 7 a.m. Oh my God, he's a workaholic, waking up so early. Rose said confidently, fixing her hair. I can memorize the daily tasks in 10 minutes. All right, let's get started. Don't antagonize the male lead. Stay on the winning side. I will survive and return home safely. The flames of determination burned brightly within Rose. In the castle kitchen, Rose peeked in from outside, observed for a moment, and then walked in, greeting everyone. Good morning, everyone. You've been working hard. The head chef asked in confusion. What's this all about? Rose replied cheerfully, nothing much. I'm just here to collect the prince's meal. He said with a contemplative expression, I heard someone became the prince's new maid. The head chef stared at Rose with scrutinizing eyes. You're quite young, aren't you? She felt a surge of anger being looked down upon, but still had to maintain a welcoming smile as she replied, Oh, of course. Inwardly, she cursed incessantly, speaking without thinking. Rose immediately focused on her task. What's on the Crown Prince's menu today? The head chef abruptly retorted, Can't you see? Suddenly, Rose realized that within this magnificent castle was a filthy kitchen. She couldn't help but exclaim in horror, it's so dirty. This detail hadn't been mentioned in the novel. Seeing Rose frozen in place, the head chef sternly said, Why aren't you answering? She forced a bright, awkward smile and replied, Because I lack basic knowledge. This is food for the Crown Prince, so I should at least know the names. The head chef paused to think, finding her words rather reasonable. However, he still asked again, "You're a maid, aren't you?" Rose pleaded with him, using her quick wit, "Oh, please, just tell me. Otherwise, I might get my head chopped off." Finally, the head chef took the time to explain, all right, croissant and raspberry jam, made with malted butter, cheese omelet, kale, and pink peppercorn sauce salad, and apple juice. After explaining, he asked with a sneer, "But can you remember all of that?" Rose grumbled internally, "Is he looking down on me?" After conversing with him for a while, she finally left, pushing the food cart. "Thank you, I'll take this now." The hallway outside was decorated neatly and cleanly, unlike the kitchen she had just left. Rose carefully pushed the cart along the hallway, reminding herself as she walked, okay, this is just the beginning. Absolutely. No defying the male lead, no matter what happens. That's what I thought, but I'm facing a crisis right from the start. How should I address Calyx? Your Highness, not your Majesty. It's not time for that yet. Oh my God, I don't know. The other world's language is translated, so he should understand. Rose knocked lightly on the door, and then announced with all her might, "Your Highness, the Crown Prince, I have brought your breakfast." However, she was met with a terrifying silence. Did I do something wrong? A moment later, Calyx ordered Rose to enter. Upon entering the room, she saw the Crown Prince already seated in his chair. He glanced at her with sharp eyes, and then said with a sly smile, "If you were a minute late, I would have chopped off your head." Such a pity. Rose smiled confidently, having overcome one trial, but only a moment later, her expression darkened. "But I didn't know he was crazy from the start." Rose said to Calyx, "I'll try my best to be on time from now on." It was her professional hospitality worker smile. Calyx didn't say a word, just glanced at her, and then abruptly turned his face away. Rose breathed a sigh of relief. "I survived, right?" She carefully arranged all the food on the table, waiting for him to enjoy his meal. Rose looked around, but Calyx's room was exceptionally neat and clean. Even his clothes were meticulously hung. Strange. Isn't the prince's room too simple? Compared to other meals in the palace, this one is also quite plain. "I'm the only attendant." Is he isolated? A few seconds ago, she was worried about Calyx, but a few seconds later, Rose changed her mind, muttering to herself, "This has nothing to do with me." She put on her trademark smile and continued her duties. "Let me introduce the breakfast." Rose took a few seconds to compose herself, then began to introduce the meal professionally. Croissant and raspberry jam, made with malted butter, cheese omelet, kale, and pink peppercorn sauce salad. She thought these actions would please Calyx, but they didn't. A terrifying aura emanated from his entire being. Meanwhile, Rose was still attempting to finish her introduction. "An apple juice. That's all." Seeing Calyx stand up, she cried out internally, What's wrong? Is something not to your liking?" He walked towards her, backing her against the wall. Calyx looked like a venomous viper poised to strike. "What's this charade?" Faced with this situation, Rose could only smile confidently and look at the prince. She asked, her voice trembling slightly, "Your Highness, what are you talking about?" I'm watching you," he said, his eyes flashing red. "Change tactics, have we?" Rose immediately employed her previous service skills to handle the situation. "If you're not satisfied with the menu, I'll inform the kitchen to prepare a different meal for you." She thought, what tactics? If you're not satisfied, just say so. Calyx withdrew his hand and sternly questioned, "Who are you?" Rose still attempted to answer politely. "I'm Rose, appointed as your maid since yesterday." He retorted bluntly, "Is that what I asked?" Rose's inner fury reached its peak. "Yes, that's exactly what you asked." Calyx demanded loudly, "Answer properly." Rose replied with a confident, practiced smile. "Your Highness, if there's anything you're dissatisfied with, I'll rectify it immediately." She was a seasoned professional, having interned at a 5-star hotel in 21st century South Korea, accustomed to all types of clientele. Someone like Calyx couldn't faze her. He remained silent for a long moment, finally saying, "Fine, hurry up and clean this up." So Rose had overcome another hurdle. She bowed respectfully and replied, "I'll tell the kitchen to rectify it immediately." Calyx turned to leave, waving his hand dismissively for her to go. Suddenly, Rose called out, causing Prince Calyx to turn and look at her. She was carefully holding his coat. Then, she gently asked, "Your Highness, if you're not wearing this coat today, I'll take it to be mended and bring it back." After receiving a nod from Calyx, Rose quickly left. "I'll take my leave." The prince stood in the room, a puzzled expression on his face. What was that all about? Outside the servants' dining hall, Rose sat alone, eating her meal. Suddenly, someone called her name. "Rose." A group of maids rushed over to embrace her with lightning speed. Rose greeted them with her professional smile. "Hello, Mira. What's up?" Mira stared at her, teary-eyed, as if about to cry. "Are you all right? Are you really okay? Nothing special happened. Your head's still attached. I thought you'd gone to meet the Grim Reaper." Rose replied wearily, "I'm fine." "Stop shaking me, Mira." Mira confessed honestly, "You really are the worst maid in the prince's palace." Hearing this, Rose's heart sank. "What? I'm being criticized now." Realizing her words could be easily misinterpreted, Mira quickly explained, Wait, I didn't mean it like that. It's just that you have the least experience and make the most mistakes." Rose became even more curious. "Then why was I appointed?" Mira asked with a worried expression. "Don't you remember last time you broke an expensive bowl and made the housekeeper hate you?" Rose froze at this shocking news. The previous owner's memory suddenly flashed back to that scene. "I remember now," she recalled. Mira smiled encouragingly at Rose. "Anyway, it's good that you know. If you become the prince's maid, there's no way to survive this." Rose muttered to herself, her mind racing. She began to analyze the situation, her deductive skills kicking in. Several things were strange. Calyx waiting for a maid every day, the room and attire too simple for a crown prince, the order to assassinate the prince, and the contents of the diary. "If my hypothesis is correct," Rose said, her expression turning serious. "I want to ask you something, Mira." Mira, startled, replied, "Huh? What?" She immediately posed a tentative question. "I wonder if there are any rumors about a new maid." Given Myra's gossipy nature, she couldn't possibly not know about it. "How did you know, Rose?" "I saw the head maid entering the palace with a maid this morning." Seeing Rose sitting motionless, Mira turned to her with concern. "Rose, you don't look so good. Are you all right?" Her face was pale, devoid of color. "If my hypothesis is correct, I'll die today," she thought, a wave of dizziness washing over her. Rose's hypothesis, the crown prince, or rather, the male lead, wasn't a heartless killer. Those maids who died at his hands, if they received orders to assassinate the crown prince like she did, it would explain why he executed them. Following this line of reasoning, Rose reconsidered. So far, the maids could be one of two things. Either assassins attempting to kill the crown prince, or sacrificial lambs substituted before the assassins were ready. The incapacitated Rosa Stania must have been threatened into becoming a sacrificial lamb. Judging from the diary's contents alone, she didn't seem to be an assassin. To be able to do this meant the head maid was the Duke's ally. The authority to appoint maids belonged to the head maid. And at that moment, the maid who entered with the head maid must have been the real assassin, or a substitute for the assassin, or silenced. There was no reason for Rose to live like this. At this thought, Rose's body trembled involuntarily. Mira rushed to her side anxiously. "Rose, are you okay? Are you all right?" She answered vaguely, "Not at all." Rose clutched her head, wanting to scream and cry. Why, oh why, did it have to be this novel? Her frustration seemed to reach the heavens, as the clear blue sky suddenly crackled with lightning. Mira, having never seen such a strange phenomenon, panicked. Why is there lightning on a clear day? Is God angry? After a tense afternoon of contemplation, Rose lay exhausted on her bed. "I'm so tired," she groaned. "Cleaning such a large bedroom by myself, could I do it? Of course, as an excellent hotel employee, I still managed. The work isn't bad anyway, and the rest of the time is free time. So now let's make a plan." Rose sat up, picked up the diary beside her, and began to formulate her strategy. She opened the diary and found it already filled with writing. Rose's eyes suddenly changed, tinged with surprise. A scream from Rose's private room startled the maids passing by outside. Rose's face was pale, her entire body stiff. What is this?" She reached for the diary with trembling hands. "The contents of the diary have changed. The Duke gave me poison to assassinate the crown prince. I put it in the box under the bed on the right side." Rose held the diary, trying to scrutinize each word to understand the situation. "Oh my God, could it really be? Is this real? If it's real, what should I do?" Rose crawled under the bed as instructed in the diary. Judging by her reaction, it seemed everything was true. There was indeed a bottle of poison under the bed. Rose felt bewildered. What should I do now? Then she decided to do something. Rose abruptly stood up, grabbed a quill, and opened the diary. She wrote a few words, but it didn't seem to be working as intended. What? No, if I do this, it should respond. Honestly, haven't you read it yet? Rose didn't give up and continued writing. After a while, the diary was filled with writing. Rose leaned back in her chair, relieved. Oh, all right. If it responded, it's as terrifying as I thought. After writing, Rose looked around, her attention drawn to the water bottles on the table. Rose, having hatched a plan, smiled mischievously and reached for one of the bottles. One bottle of poison, one bottle of my water, Rose murmured, a sly grin spreading across her face, a calculating glint in her eyes. This has to be done just right, doesn't it? That evening, in the palace, Calyx Fossman was taken aback by his room, which had been cleaned to a sparkling shine. A neatly folded suit lay on the bed, and he walked towards it. Picking up the suit, a flicker of something akin to gratitude touched him, when Rose's voice interrupted his thoughts. Your Highness, I prepared some tea for you. Calyx Fossman turned and looked at her with an impassive gaze. Seeing him looking at her, Rose grew smug, her face brimming with delight. What's wrong? Is it too perfect? If you want to find fault, go ahead and try, but don't actually do it. Calyx Fossman turned back around, scolding her. You're being too brazen. Just do what you're supposed to do. Seeing him frown, Rose's face darkened. I worked so hard cleaning, and I can't even get a single word of praise. So cheap, shallow, ignorant, and stubborn. Enjoy your good life alone. Just then, Calyx turned and called out, Rose, startling her. Rose felt a pang of guilt. Did you hear something? Don't tell me you can read minds. Wrong. Calyx slowly asked word by word why, but before he could finish, a knock came at the door. Your Highness, it's Ruhr. May I come in? Rose felt a wave of relief wash over her, silently crying, Oh my God, my heart. Then she suddenly calmed down. Huh, but Ruhr. If it's Ruhr, the second male lead. A young man slowly opened the door and walked in, his stern features and snow-white hair further emphasizing his aloofness. Elsewhere, Mira was happily baking a delicious loaf of bread. Rose must be tired. I should bring her something tasty. At the desk, one sat, one stood, the atmosphere serious. Rose was serving tea to the two men. She carefully poured the tea into the cups, sweating profusely, her face etched with anxiety. What is this situation? Is the tea here safe? Should I take a sip to check? No, if it's poisoned, I'll die. The male lead won't die, but the second male lead will definitely die. Life is too short anyway. Rose stealthily glanced at the two handsome men. Ruhr Chris, the male lead's close knight, the second male lead. Compared to Calyx, he gave off a much better impression. But in the end, he betrays the male lead and has an affair with the female lead. According to the novel, Calyx's heart will shatter when he witnesses his loved one happy with someone else. He's not normal either. It's best not to get involved with him. Ruhr spoke up. As you commanded, I've gathered information on the individuals in question. Good. What's the plan? Calyx asked him first. Their recent whereabouts. Their presumed sponsor is the third prince. Hearing this, Rose's ears perked up. The third prince. The king had 4 children, each with a claim to the throne. The first prince, the son of the first wife. The second prince, the son of the second wife. The third prince, also the son of a wife. And crowned Prince Calyx, the son of the queen. Calyx kills all 3 princes and ascends to the throne. Although, that's much later. The first target is the third prince, then. The two were still discussing their strategy. We need to close the distance. So the next plan is, as Rose set down the teacups, Calyx noticed her. He looked at her with scrutinizing eyes, and Rose felt like she'd been caught red-handed. Oh my God, I must have been listening too intently. She feigned nonchalance. Vanilla-flavored black tea. I also prepared almond biscuits. Calyx Fossman called out disinterestedly, Rose, causing her to freeze. Why does he keep calling me? Calyx gave Rose a task. I need you to run some errands. As commanded, Rose went out with the oil lamp in hand. Though reluctant, she had to obey his orders. A wry smile touched her lips. Things were getting interesting now. Calyx had given her final instructions. At the end of the hallway, in that dark room, find the 3rd volume of the kingdom's history. Fortunately, her eavesdropping had gone unnoticed. At the end of the hallway, in the dark room, find the 3rd volume of the kingdom's history. Thankful that no suspicion had been aroused, Rose regained her composure, thinking, of course, since Calyx wouldn't trust me, he probably wouldn't be comfortable discussing politics in my presence. Lost in thought, Rose arrived at her destination. The end of the hallway is right there. She pushed the door open boldly, revealing a pitch-black room. A flicker of fear ran through Rose. Oh my God, it's so dark like a horror movie. I need to find it quickly and get back. Clutching the oil lamp tightly, Rose slowly began her search. She felt around book by book. Kingdom's history. Oh, this is it. All right, time to go back. Just as she thought she had completed her task, a gust of wind from outside extinguished the flickering oil lamp. Rose trembled like a leaf, stammering, "Is that His Highness?" But then she reconsidered. No, that's impossible. The male lead wouldn't do something like this. If it's not the male lead, then who is it? The second male lead? Or was it just the wind? If they're going to kill me, it's best to make it look like an accident, not premeditated. If they start investigating, they'll find clues traceable from the assassin to the head maid, and then to the Duke. So I won't give any useless excuses. Then Rose looked to the side. She looked towards the large window. I guess it'll be thrown down, right there. At that moment, a masked figure raised a weapon high, poised to strike Rose's head. Back with the crown prince, the two were still in discussion. Calyx asked Roar, "By the way, did you investigate? Who did you send?" He handed over a stack of documents and pointed at it. "It seems the new Maid has a mercenary background. I also confirmed the connection with the Duke." Calyx Fossman took the documents and looked them over. "So Rose has nothing to do with this, right?" Roar immediately replied, "That's not certain yet, Your Highness. But do you even remember that maid's name?" Calyx Fossman, feeling exposed, exclaimed, "I always remember." Roar retorted without hesitation, "No, you just called her this maid or that maid. You seem quite taken with her this time." Calyx grabbed his coat from nearby, feigning a change of subject. "I don't know what you're talking about." Roar was puzzled. "Your Highness." Calyx ignored him. "It's nothing." Just then, he noticed the time. "It's late." After that sentence, the two looked at each other, seemingly guessing something. Calyx Fossman rushed out. Roar, worried for his safety, called after him, "Your Highness, I'll go check and come back." But Calyx seemed to want to check himself. No need. Delaying the crown prince's orders is annoying. If she's not related to the Duke will try to get rid of her by any means, especially when she's alone. Damn it. Calyx Fossman felt a surge of anger. He urged, "Hurry up." Roar quickly followed. "Yes, Your Highness." Arriving at the end of the hallway, Calyx Fossman pushed the door open. He looked inside and heard a shout. Rose yelled from within, "Why aren't you answering?" The two newcomers, bewildered by the shout, exchanged glances. What? In the silent night, moonlight streamed through the window. Rose, noticing someone with a sword poised to attack, was terrified. Her face paled. "I guess I'll be thrown down, right there." Then she spotted a bottle of some kind of magic potion on a shelf. She lunged for it and grabbed it, then turned, her eyes meeting the masked figure's gaze. In that moment, Rose, summoning all her courage, quickly sprayed the potion into his eyes. He screamed in agony from the burning sensation. Then, enraged and blinded, he swung his sword wildly, roaring, "How dare you!" The situation was dire. His sword was about to strike Rose's face, but luckily, she shielded herself with the book. The book was cleaved in two. Rose, horrified, felt as if struck by lightning. This was the book the crown prince had asked her to retrieve. The masked man's eyes burned even more intensely. He rubbed them incessantly, complaining, "Damn it, I can't see anything. What the hell did you spray?" Rose yelled at him, "Who are you?" He didn't answer her question, instead bellowing in fury, "You don't need to know." Like an enraged bull, he continued his relentless attack. Rose barely dodged, panting with worry. Is he crazy? Is he trying to kill me? Rose scoffed, taunting him, "I sprayed poison, you know." Hearing this, he panicked. "What did you say?" Rose continued, "It's the poison the Duke gave me. If you keep getting this agitated, the toxin will spread and you'll die instantly." Even hearing this, he still didn't believe her, stubbornly retorting, "Don't talk nonsense." Damn it. Infuriated, Rose grabbed a nearby vase and smashed it over his head. He stumbled and fell face first to the floor. Now unconscious, Rose muttered at him, "Even if I'm an untrained maid, I won't be killed by someone who can't see." But inwardly, she sighed in relief. "I almost died. My heart is about to explode." Afterward, Rose approached him, asking, "Who sent you?" "Hey, stop pretending. Wake up." Waiting for a moment, hearing no response but silence, she slapped him a few times, repeatedly demanding, "Who sent you? Answer me. You're not talking." The masked man could only cry out, "Give me time to answer." Rose continued to berate him. "Is your conscience made of shit?" Suddenly, Crown Prince Calyx Fossman and Roar burst through the door. Rose and Calyx Fossman stared at each other in bewilderment. The masked man on the floor pleaded for help. "Help me." Then Rose's eyes lit up, and she said sweetly, "Oh, Your Highness has arrived." Calyx Fossman whispered to Roar, It seems this is the assassin. Rose chimed in, I think so too. But inwardly, she was utterly confused. What? Why is he smiling? Then Rose chuckled lightly. Since he attacked me, I was interrogating him. Calyx Fossman approached Rose, and she froze, becoming timid, her voice softening. He must have been sent by the Duke. But faced with the Crown Prince's handsome smile, Rose couldn't help but feel flustered. Why are you smiling? Stop smiling. It's unsettling when a crazy person smiles. Then, Rose quickly produced the magic potion from earlier, stammering, this is the poison I brought. I was planning to spray it on him. Calyx Fossman recognized at the moment he picked up the bottle. So this is Rick's poison. Rose thought to herself. He knew just by looking at it. Calyx stated, usually just a whiff of this is enough to make someone cough up blood and die. Then, Roar went to examine the masked man. As soon as he removed the black cloth covering his face, he recognized him. This face, he works in the stables. Calyx Fossman ordered Roar, deal with him. Then, to Rose, he said, follow me. Rose felt a pang of anxiety at these words. Why? Arriving at the Crown Prince's room, Rose was unsure what to do. Crown Prince Calyx Fossman told her, this time, I need to hear a satisfactory answer. Rose tried to remain calm, avoiding any missteps. Calyx Fossman gently reminded her, think carefully before you answer. Who are you? Rose was sweating nervously. She thought carefully, her mind racing. Saying I'm Lee Ji-in, a hotel employee from South Korea, is obviously wrong. Saying I'm Rosa Stania wouldn't make sense either, because he's asking. Calyx Fossman's eyes still burned, waiting for her response. Rose mustered her courage and began. Before I was appointed as your Highness's maid, I received orders from the Duke. At that time, I received the poison, but how could there be such a poison? If you're someone who thinks you can understand why I should kneel, right? It must be done quickly. Rose knelt down. She declared loudly, Your Highness here, I will serve you wholeheartedly. Rose had to make it clear, at all costs, that she was on his side. Crown Prince Calyx, seated in his chair, chuckled softly at Rose's words. Then he asked, how will you serve? Rose answered quickly and succinctly, food. Calyx Fossman was taken aback, unsure of what she meant. Then Rose clarified, I believe the kitchen needs much improvement. Since this is the food provided for your Highness, it needs to be carefully managed. Also, cleaning, managing clothes. I think I can create a comfortable environment. Calyx Fossman said, perhaps you don't know that I am the son of a traitor. Rose gasped, traitor. What does that mean? There was once an incident where the Empress was accused of being a traitor. Calyx continued, you won't gain any benefit by following me. Rose thought suspiciously, good heavens, he still doesn't trust me. This suspicious man. Then she told the Crown Prince, I heard there's a new maid arriving. Rose was still incredibly anxious, her heart burning with worry. She thought frantically, perhaps I'll die today. If not today, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then the day after. Therefore, she was determined to make him believe in her complete obedience. Then she bowed several times to demonstrate her loyalty. Rose pleaded earnestly, only by your side can I save my life. I will absolutely be on your side. I will never betray you. Please allow me to serve your Highness. This is my plea. After listening to Rose's lengthy supplication, Crown Prince Calyx seemed to freeze. Then he gave a dangerously cold laugh. What's this? If you plead like this, then I have no choice but to accept. Hearing this, Rose's eyes lit up as if she had found treasure. She expressed her joy. I am deeply honored, your Highness. I will serve you wholeheartedly with my small but warm heart. Calyx Fossman instructed her, don't use that terribly formal tone. It's extremely annoying. Rose nodded repeatedly. Yes, I will obey your command, your Highness. And so, on the first day of this romantic fantasy novel, she had successfully survived. Some additional information regarding Roar Chris. He is His Highness's cousin and close knight. His main duties are to escort His Highness, handle paperwork assigned by His Highness, deal with assassins within His Highness's palace, listen to His Highness's complaints, comfort His Highness, and play with His Highness. Flashing back to Crown Prince Calyx Fossman's painful past, on that day he had cried out, pleading desperately, explaining to His Majesty that his mother could never have betrayed him, that the accusations were baseless. He begged earnestly, please save my mother. But His Majesty ignored everything, his eyes filled with fierceness and ruthlessness. Why should I save the woman who tried to kill me? Hearing his father's question, Calix was stunned, all hope within him seemingly extinguished. But even with only a sliver of belief remaining, he still tried to plead with his majesty. At that moment, a hand reached out to support him. It was Calix's uncle. He buried his face in his uncle's chest, sobbing loudly, "Uncle, please save my mother. She didn't do anything. You know that." But his uncle only advised him gently, "Your Highness, there's nothing we can do. You too, Your Highness, do not interfere now. Pretend you don't know. Only then can you survive." Though surrounded by darkness, Calix still had to maintain his will. "I want to live. If I don't want to die, I have to kill. If I don't kill, I will die." The scene changes. Rose is happily cooking, cheerfully and innocently presenting her creations. Freshly baked apple jam cookies and a fragrant cup of vanilla tea. How does that sound? The scene shifts to Crown Prince Calix's room. He jolts awake, the previous horror all a dream. Covered in sweat, he asks himself, "Damn it, what was that? What kind of stupid dream was that?" Suddenly, Roar enters the room. He says, "Your Highness, I apologize. I didn't know you were still here." Since he didn't answer, I was going to leave the report and go. "Have you really been sleeping until now?" Calix, feeling a splitting headache, said, "Actually, I don't know either." Hearing this, Rule looked worried, but the Crown Prince reassured him, "It's fine." "What's wrong?" Rule reported seriously, "Yes, the assassins have been dealt with." This is the third volume of the kingdom's history. Now the book was split in two. Rule showed it to his Highness. Suddenly, Calix burst out laughing and said to Rule, "I have something to do." The scene changed. Rose suddenly felt inexplicably cold all over. A passing chef asked, "What's wrong? Are you the person from yesterday?" They recognized each other and said cheerfully, "Still alive. Wouldn't it be wrong not to be?" Then the chef further inquired, "By the way, why do you keep coming to the kitchen?" Rose remembered who this chef was. She looked him over carefully. Messy hair, scruffy beard, hands that looked unwashed. A hygiene score of 0. Cooking like this, won't people get stomachaches? She wondered. Then she approached and began to remind him tactfully, "Hey, chef, please wear a hat, cut your nails, and trim your beard." Hearing this, the chef started to get angry. Rose felt a little worried and nervous. Her face turned pale. The chef roared, "Who are you to tell me what to do?" Rose tried to reassure herself, "Don't be scared. I'm a K-Hotel employee." She recalled a time before she'd crossed over when a customer came in for a beer and complained, "This isn't what I ordered." I said, "Give me a hot iced Americano." Rose had to bow deeply and apologize. "We'll remake it right away." "I'm so sorry, sir." Having experienced countless situations like this is just a mosquito, she thought. Then, Rose introduced herself to the chef. "Oh, I'm Rose, His Highness the Crown Prince's new maid. However, please think about it." She began a lecture. "The dishes a chef cooks are dishes filled with emotion, aren't they? But just a little bit, 1 in 100 million. What if something dirty gets in like a fly?" Then Rose shed crocodile tears. His Highness would be completely unaware of the chef's heart, and those wonderful dishes would be thrown away. Well, it's impossible for the chef to make that kind of mistake, she thought. I wonder if this is working. Rose continued, to prevent that kind of situation. Hearing these words, the chef suddenly burst into laughter. He told her, "As a maid, you're doing pretty well. Seems it's not just luck." Rose hesitated, then handed the chef a hat. He said, "All right, the hat, nails, and beard'll do as you say." Then he warmly patted her shoulder and said, "You've got guts. I like that." Rose politely smiled back. "Thank you for your understanding." At this moment, the chef introduced himself. "I'm Tyrant, the head chef of His Highness's palace. If you need anything, just tell me." Rose replied, "Yes, thank you for your help, chef." Then, the chef suddenly took Rose's hand and said, "I wonder if you can handle this." Rose felt something was amiss. She thought, "Is it time? What is this?" Next, Chef Tyrone took Rose to introduce her to everyone. "This is Rose. From now on, she's His Highness's maid. Listen to her." Everyone welcomed her warmly and asked her many things. "Nice to meet you, Rose. Where are you from?" However, in the corner, Aaron sat eating an apple, eating and paying attention to everything around him. It seemed Rose quickly became familiar with everyone, with almost no difficulty. Aaron, who was observing everything, was also surprised by Rose. The scene changed. Rose went to see His Highness Calix. She cowered, as if being punished for some mistake. Calix remained seated, looking at her coldly. When Rose saw that the book she used for self-defense was now torn in half in His Highness's hands, she was stunned. Calix asked, resting his chin on his hand in boredom, "So you have a mouth. Why don't you explain?" Rose was now very confused. She thought, explain what? How can I? She imagined all sorts of scenarios. First, she would flatter His Highness. "Oh, it's just a history book." Maybe if she said that, His Highness wouldn't care. But on the contrary, he would say, "The kingdom's history is like this. Execute her immediately." This was bad, ending number 1. In the next scenario, Rose would pretend to cry and say, "That's impossible in that situation." Then His Highness Calyx would say, "So incompetent, useless. Execute her quickly." Rose still couldn't find any other way. She lowered her head and admitted her mistake, saying, "I'll find a similar one." His Highness Calyx didn't understand what similar meant. He asked her to open the book. As soon as Rose opened the book, she found there were no words inside, only blank pages. At this moment, she came up with thousands of other scenarios. These scenarios were extremely absurd. There would be bad ending number 3, bad ending number 4, and bad ending number 5. On the surface, Rose replied, "Of course, Your Highness." But inside, she was extremely anxious. "What's going on? Does it have to be like this? I'm a maid, not a spy. Doesn't he understand? He said he couldn't trust anyone, but why me?" Then His Highness Calyx threw a bag at her. As soon as Rose opened the bag, she was dazzled, because the money inside was so much that she couldn't complain. Rose said to Calyx, "Enough." Rose enthusiastically accepted the task. "Yes, Your Highness. When should it be done?" But Calyx said coldly, "I'll give you 2 days. Get out." Rose said happily, "Yes, leave it to me." She left eagerly, quickly closing the door. Prince Calyx worried, can she find it? Roddy, who was standing beside him, said, "Isn't that the invitation to the auction held by the third prince? I know Your Highness worked hard to get it. It's too difficult for a maid." Calyx was puzzled. "Is that so?" His eyes showed obvious worry. Roddy asked softly, "Then why let her do it?" Calyx replied, "Me? I didn't let her do it. She said she could." Prince Calyx lowered his head. Helpless. Roddy looked at him. Calyx tormented himself, extremely worried. Roddy hesitantly said, "If you don't want to die." Calyx said, "There's no other way but to kill Calyx." Calyx looked distant. Roddy said with a smile, "It would be great if she could find it." Hearing this, Calyx was surprised. He said, "What are you talking about? It's impossible for her to find it. Matching the rhythm is already difficult, but recently it's gotten worse." He said angrily, "So what?" The next morning, the maids began to do the laundry. Rose read the instructions. She thought she was blinded by money. I shouted excitedly, but the instructions said, "Be invited to the masquerade ball." Rose laughed, looking puzzled. "This is the invitation, right?" She scratched her head, thinking, judging from Calyx's reaction, this seems to be the third prince's invitation. Besides that book, how can I get this invitation? Other people can eat and drink, well, after crossing over to a romantic fantasy novel. Rose dreamt of a romantic scene, dancing with the prince under the lights. "Miss Estinia, you look so beautiful today. I feel like I'm drowning in your eyes." She blushed and said happily, "Oh, you flatter me. I'm so shy." But that was just a fantasy. In reality, she was on a mission. She sighed and lamented, "Why did I accept this impossible mission?" First, let's find some clues. Wearing maid uniforms. Everyone was working hard in the early morning. Rose asked, "Hey, Mira." Mira turned around and asked in surprise. She asked, "Do you know any nobles who are close to the third prince?" Mira was surprised. The third prince. Rose kept asking about the third prince, which surprised Mira. After a while, she smiled innocently and said, "I don't know. No one comes here often. How would a commoner like me know?" Rose gritted her teeth in frustration. "Why answer as if you know, making me misunderstand? There must be a noble family tree." Rose continued to ask, "Can maids enter the royal library?" Mira firmly replied, "Only authorized nobles can enter." Mira seemed to be lying. She covered her mouth and smiled mischievously. Then, she excitedly put her arm around Rose's shoulders and, acting as if she knew everything, said, "If it about that, I know a good place." Rose was incredibly curious. Mira said excitedly, "This is the route to the Crimson Bookstore. They have everything there." Rose had absolutely no idea what that was. She quickly handed the note to Rose. "Here, take it. If you go there, you can find what you're looking for." Rose thought, is this the secret of the people living in this world? She thanked Mira happily. Mira added, "If you go out, buy me some delicious treats." Rose waved goodbye cheerfully and set off. "I'll be back." Mira waved back, but she felt uneasy, worriedly thinking, why do I have this piece of paper? Following the directions on the route, Rose strolled through the marketplace alone. A vendor asked, "Hey miss, want an apple? Sweet and delicious." She gently refused. "Maybe next time." She thought, I assumed it would have a gloomy atmosphere since it's a desolate area, but it's not. Anyway, I successfully blended into the crowd and left the city. Unfolding the note, she felt confused. I don't know what Mira drew. Just as she was puzzled, she bumped into a passerby. He said, don't loiter around. Get out of the way. She quickly apologized, her eyes wide with fear, still clutching the route map. Tumbling to the ground, she felt someone supporting her. Looking up, it was Aaron. He greeted her amicably. Her eyes gazed affectionately at Aaron. He was very likable, smiling gently. You don't have to thank me. Rose, not paying much attention, waved her hand. Thanks. Seeing this, Aaron quickly asked, where are you going? Let's go together. I thought it was interesting, so I've been following you since the Crown Prince's palace. Rose thought in surprise, following me, seeing that someone had been following her for such a long distance. She questioned him loudly. Who are you? Why are you following me? Aaron was stunned, but then he smiled brightly, introducing himself again. I'm Aaron. Aaron, you're Rose, right? I was there when Tran was talking. Rose quickly replied, no, it's not about the name. Why are you following me? Aaron said innocently, because it's interesting. Perhaps, are you a stalker? What's a stalker? Rose warned angrily. Well, I'm busy, so don't follow me. She turned to leave, but that didn't mean Aaron would listen. Rose turned around and yelled, don't follow me. Suddenly, a hand reached out in front of her, and the route map fell into Aaron's hands. Rose panicked, shouting what? Give it back. Aaron asked cheerfully, are you going to the Crimson Bookstore? Hearing Aaron mention that name, she was surprised. You know the place too. Aaron replied, you should have said so earlier. No one knows that route better than me. Not giving her time to comprehend, Aaron said, follow me. Though reluctant, Rose had no choice. The streets were desolate as the two headed towards the Crimson Bookstore. After a while, they reached a derelict area. It looked old and dilapidated, and the surroundings made Rose a little worried. Are we going the right way? The further they walked, the angrier Rose became. If he dares to trick me, I'll hit him with my shoe. At this moment, Aaron's eyes looked at her with a slightly sinister expression. But then it quickly changed into a bright smile, which made Rose feel confused. She wasn't sure if she had seen correctly. Just now. Finally, they reached their destination, but the bookstore didn't look very safe. Aaron said enthusiastically, this is it, the Crimson Bookstore. Crows cawed ominously, but there was indeed a sign hanging in front of the building. Crimson Bookstore. Rose thought worriedly, this is too suspicious. Should I go back? Is it because the atmosphere is completely different? No, I shouldn't be prejudiced. Places like this usually have a lot of high-level information. After a moment of hesitation, she decided to go in. Excuse me, but from the very first step, Rose doubted her choice. Did I come to the wrong place? It seems what I need isn't here. I need information about noble bloodlines. In contrast, Aaron looked very calm. What forbidden book are you looking for? Forbidden book. Rose turned around, startled. Yes, that forbidden book, he said, walking over and picking up a book. Aren't you here for these kinds of things? Rose stared at the book in his hand in surprise. They were all forbidden books with titles like The Prince's Shirt Underneath, The Knight Beside the Tyrant, Why Ladies Only Give Bread to Servants. Rose looked at them as if she had discovered a treasure trove. What? Seeing Rose's interest, Aaron became even more enthusiastic. I don't know what you like, Rose. Tell me, and I'll find it for you. Which kind do you prefer? Thrilling, fresh, or something else? But one book immediately caught her attention. Wait a minute. 34 things to prepare before summoning a demon. What's this? Aaron quickly hid it. Oh dear, the cover is so strange. I brought it by mistake. This very suggestive action made Rose even more suspicious. Who is he really? He seems very familiar with this place. Suspicious, but should I ask? But eventually, she asked, you're quite familiar with this place, aren't you? Her tone was very serious. Does this place also sell information? Aaron looked a little surprised at her question, but then a knowing smile spread across his face. Then, returning to his cheerful demeanor, he replied, why didn't you say so earlier? No one knows this place better than me. He quickly took Rose's hand. Walking down a dark corridor, a room appeared at the end. Aaron slowly pulled back the curtain, greeting with a bright smile. Grandpa, we have a guest. Inside the room, an old man, Mr. Crimson, was diligently studying. As soon as he saw Rose, he exclaimed loudly, what? I don't serve children. Aaron started to speak up for her, No, Grandpa, this person, but Rose walked in herself, placing a heavy bag on the table with a thud. She said firmly, "Whether or not I'm a child, you'd better see for yourself." The old man was surprised when he saw the bag on the table. It was filled with a pile of gleaming gold coins. Old Mr. Crimson's attitude immediately changed. He laughed loudly, looking at Rose with suspicion. "Not what I heard, eh? Well, what do you want to ask?" "The Crown Prince's maid." Rose panicked when she heard those words. What? Rose suddenly remembered. Her internship at a hotel casino. No matter the situation, don't show panic. "Oh, you saved me the trouble of introducing myself." Rose gave an awkward smile. "How did you know?" The old man calmly replied, "It wasn't difficult. Rare hair color, the fabric used in the Crown Prince's palace, and a high-quality pin immediately give off the air of compromise." A certain noble mentioned that the Crown Prince's maid had changed again, and there are rumors that this maid has gained the Crown Prince's trust. "Do you have any other questions, Miss Rosastania?" The maid who walked out of the Crown Prince's bedroom alive. Old Mr. Crimson's knowledge of her information made Rose more confident. "It seems you're quite capable. How much do you know about the royal family?" But the answer she received was, "I don't care about the royal family." "Oh, then I'll be going." Old Mr. Crimson quickly stopped her. "Oh, wait, hear me out first. Cough, cough. I don't usually deal with people like you." But old Mr. Crimson stealthily counted out 3 gold coins, and then said, "If you're the Crown Prince's maid, it's a different story. Ask what you want to ask." Seeing an opportunity to learn more, Rose asked, "Do you also deal in items?" "Of course, depending on the item." "What do you want?" "An ancient royal red diamond, or a forbidden book from the lost age of magic." But what Rose really needed now was an invitation to the third prince's party. But there was something more important than that. Rose began the transaction. "Before that, there are some things I need you to investigate." She thought about surviving after escaping Calix's sight, but there was something more important on her mind. Before Rose could begin the transaction, "There's something I need you to look into," she thought, relieved to have escaped Calix's notice. "I must find out where the female lead of this world is." What Rose wanted to ask old Mr. Crimson was, "Please find out Duke Tennel's biggest hidden secret." According to her guess, if the Duke wanted to hide something, it was most likely the female lead, the illegitimate child. He just needs to investigate thoroughly, and I can also test his abilities and confirm the female lead's safety. 2 birds with 1 stone. The more I think about it, the more clever I feel. The male lead gave her 2 days, so he had to finish within a day. Thinking this, she stated the deadline. 1 day is enough, right? Mr. Crimson astutely recognized. "Are you testing me?" Rose took out the payment. "These are 3 gold coins. If you give me the exact information I want, I'll give you double in the next transaction." Well, this is quite a good deal. So, old Mr. Crimson accepted. "So, you know how to use people. All right, I'll give you the information tomorrow." With that, both sides reached an agreement. By the time Rose and Aaron left the bookstore, it was already dusk. Aaron had one more question. "But Rose, how did you know the base commission was 3 gold coins?" Rose answered innocently, maybe because when Mr. Crimson was counting the gold coins, he stopped at the 3rd one. Seeing Aaron's strange attitude, Rose thought, "Did I say something weird? Why is he looking at me like that?" He chuckled involuntarily, then looked at her with an affectionate gaze. "Rose, you're really interesting." After that, he continued to observe Rose. As for Rose, she was still puzzled by his words. A strange man on a deserted street. Only the sound of their bickering remained. "Stop saying creepy things and just show me the way back to the city." "Creepy? What's creepy? Are you crazy?" "Crazy. You're going too far." Night fell upon the palace. Rose's eyes looked suspiciously at the object in front of her. It was the book she had brought back from the Crimson bookstore that afternoon. Facing the book, she felt inexplicably nervous. Mustering all her courage, Rose finally decided, "All right, I'm mentally prepared. Let's open it." The first line appeared, "Mr. Crimson, the forbidden book merchant, is actually an information broker. He knows everything that happens in the royal palace and the underworld. The basic transaction fee is 3 gold coins. This annoying diary is telling me this now. What's the point?" Turning to the next page, helpful information began to appear. "Mr. Melroley is a herbalist." "Melroley? Who is that?" "Mr. Melroley gave me a box of basil herbs and showed me how to detect poison. When poison comes into contact with basil leaves, the leaves will turn blue. I put the basil herb box in the 3rd drawer of the table." Reading this, Shuka immediately looked around. She thought, could it be in this room? Looking around the room, she finally saw a drawer. Slowly opening it, she indeed found the basil herb box, just as the diary described. I found a large amount of basil leaves, still fresh. I think it would be nice if I could detect poison. She looked directly at the book and asked, "Are you trying to help me like before?" Only blank pages appeared. Seeing this result, Shuka said disappointedly, "If that's the case, you might as well send me home." The more she spoke, the sadder she became. "Please send me home." But she still comforted herself. "Don't be discouraged. It's okay. You did well today. Just like this. I'll live until the female lead appears. If the female lead appears, I'll leave here and find a way to go home. Fighting. I can do it." Lee Chiron, Rose, receive a letter from someone. She slowly opened it, and the contents read, "The Duke is keeping an eye on a girl who looks like him, named Selena." After seeing these lines, Rose thought of the female lead. "She's alive. My only hope is the female lead. I need to persevere and appear in front of the male lead at the right time." The messenger asked, "So, what are your thoughts on the next commission?" Rose replied happily, "Of course. This is even better than I expected." Then, Rose took out a pen and wrote a few lines on the paper. "I've attached the agreed-upon amount. Please give me an invitation to the masquerade ball that will be held in 3 days." Rose cheerfully bid farewell to the messenger. Great. Everything went smoothly. A moment later, Rose went to Calix's room and handed him an envelope. "This is the invitation." Calix frowned. "There's only one." Thankfully, Rose had managed to find 3. Silently, she thanked Mr. Crimson in her heart. She didn't understand why Calix was asking her this pointless question. "Do you know what this is?" Rose hesitantly said, "It's probably an invitation, right?" "What's wrong? I got it as instructed. Why is he acting like this?" There were currently 3 envelopes on Calix's table. "These are invitations to the Third Prince's auction. Because it involves illegal activities, it's strictly managed." Who is she? Is she a spy? This thought made Calix even more uneasy. Rule had already told Calix about Rose. She is the daughter of Baron and Baroness Estonia. She lived in the countryside after her parents died from an infectious disease, and then entered the royal palace as a maid. No other unusual relationships or secret meetings have been confirmed. Apparently, Calix hadn't found anything unusual. Could a maid really obtain an invitation to a royal party? It was too improbable. Calix recalled his own past. "No, it's possible. I know best what a person can do when they're cornered. If she obeys my orders at all costs in order to survive." Rose had no idea what Calix was thinking. He smiled as if he had achieved his goal. "Interesting, very good. Come with me to the ball that day." Rose was stunned for a few seconds. "What did you say?" Calix started to get annoyed. "Didn't you hear me? Come with me to the ball." Rose couldn't believe this was happening. "Why me? I'm a maid. Why should I go along? Can I get overtime pay?" "I hate that I can't say this out loud." "Yes, I understand, Your Highness." Calix observed Rose holding her head in bewilderment. He just smiled and didn't say anything. Rose didn't know what to wear to the ball or what to do when she got there. For the time being, Calix had to observe Rose before deciding what to do next. Rule's words suddenly popped into Calix's mind. "I believe you'll be satisfied." "Absolutely not." "What are you doing? Get out if you're done." Rose lowered her head. "Yes, Your Highness. I'll leave now." "Oh, that grumpy head, I wish I could punch it." Rose walked out with mixed feelings. "Why do I have to go to a ball? I'm a secretary. If this were the 21st century, I'd report this to the Labor Department. Just because he's the crown prince, how can he treat his subordinates like this? It's terrible. Even so, I still have to go, so I need to prepare, right?" Aaron, at the shop, was a little surprised by Rose's words. "What? Borrow your clothes? But who would wear them?" Rose said cheerfully, "Me, of course." Aaron was puzzled. "What's wrong? Is there a problem with borrowing them? Will my clothes fit you?" Currently, there was a significant height difference between Aaron and Rose. Rose awkwardly took the clothes. "I'll figure something out." Today was the day of the masquerade ball. From his face to his sharp eyebrows, Calix exuded a handsomeness that captivated Rose. "I'm going crazy. He's really handsome." Seeing Rose staring at him like that, Calix noticed her. "What are you doing? What is that outfit?" Rose said excitedly, "I'll pretend to be an accessory to support Your Highness." Calix exclaimed, "Are you crazy?" Rose's patience had reached its limit. "This is exactly what I want to say. Does he have antisocial personality disorder? Why is he always angry? What's the problem now?" Then Calix walked to the wardrobe, where a dress was already stored. Rose didn't know what Calix was planning. He suddenly threw the dress at her. "Put this on." Before Rose could fully recover from her surprise, the dress was already in front of her. It was beautiful and incredibly wily. Rose still couldn't understand what was happening. Seeing her like this, Calix became annoyed again. "You will attend as my partner." With a mix of emotions swirling within her, Rose picked up the dress. She began to wrestle with it. "This is terrible." She recalled Calix's frightening glare. "Leave the palace at 6. Go to the blue roof in front of the temple. I'll give you the jewelry. Rose felt like she was going crazy. Only 2 hours left, and he expects me to prepare on my own, without any help. How am I supposed to wear this? This is seriously difficult to put on. Do people here wear these kinds of clothes every day? It took me a whole hour just to get this on. Now, how am I supposed to do my hair and makeup? Even as a maid, I should at least use cosmetics once. I must have some, right? Doi. Rose's hopeful speculation turned to despair. Nothing. This hateful romantic fantasy world. How can a baron's daughter not have any cosmetics? Go to a party barefaced, is that okay? Since it's a masquerade ball, I'll look like a sick person. Or should I ask the male lead for cosmetics instead of jewelry? That's right. Diary, can you hear me? Please send me home. If not, help me escape this party. Are you ignoring me? If that's not possible either, at least give me some cosmetics. What's this? This book. Rose flipped through the pages. The text is changing. Mr. Melroli gave me some unique cosmetics and tools, saying he bought them from a passing merchant. I put them in the second drawer on the left side of the wardrobe. Wait, the wardrobe drawer. I looked there before. There couldn't have been anything there. Rose suddenly froze, her thoughts flashing back to her previous life. In her past life, Rose had said to the mirror, "Okay, let's do our best today, to Gion." On that dressing table was her makeup bag. What's going on? Rose still couldn't believe the bag she was holding. Her eyes widened in recognition. Brushes, lipstick, foundation. The contents are exactly the same. It definitely understands what I'm saying. It won't send me home, but it gives me what I need. A small, wry smile touched Rose's lips. What? Only doing what's necessary for this world. Who is Mr. Melroli? Is he still alive? How'd he bring my things here? Does he have a connection to Earth? Can he take me home? Am I really dead? Answer me. But the diary remained silent. Rose angrily wanted to hit it. This is too much. Calm down. This isn't important right now. Time is running out. First, let's get ready for the party. I'll be safe once the party is over. I'll investigate the diary later. I need to find out if this world and magic are connected. Just you wait and see. I won't let you off the hook this time, you know. Outside Calix's castle, Rose watched from afar as the carriage arrived and Calix slowly stepped out. Let's go. The two were now sitting face to face. Calix spoke, "It's not too late. I thought we would be late." Rose's smile seemed strained. He's probably nitpicking again. How could I dare be late? That's completely absurd. Arriving 10 minutes early is the proper thing to do. Hearing this, Calix just sighed. That way of speaking is a bit. Never mind. Wear this mask. The place we're going is an auction held by the third prince. Rose was surprised. An auction. Holding an auction at a masquerade ball. Calix nodded. That's right. You probably don't know the relationship between me and the third prince. Meaning, there's no need to reveal my identity. Be careful. Rose tried to contain herself. Of course I know. I can't stand him. They finally arrived. Rose slowly stepped out of the carriage, and Calix suggested, "Take that off now." Rose slowly removed her cloak, the dress beneath revealing her hidden beauty. Rose was a little startled by Calix's intense gaze as he suddenly took her hand. Then, slowly lowering his lips, he placed a kiss on her hand. Rose was utterly shocked. "What are you doing?" But suddenly, Calix whispered in her ear, "If you were sharp enough, you'd know the role you're playing here." Rose couldn't help but gasp. "Is that so? Now that I look around, there are couples everywhere." Calix asked again with a smile, "Understand?" Rose nodded in response. "Yes." Afterward, Rose breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness Calix isn't crazy. Suddenly, a thought crossed her mind. "So, should I call you C then?" Calix replied coldly, "Figure out yourself." Then, they entered the palace together. The interior was filled with glittering splendor and luxury. At that moment, Calix glanced at Rose, captivated by her enchanting beauty. She exuded elegance, looking every bit the noble woman. This reminded Calix of the dress and the wardrobe. A hint of sadness in his eyes. Calix began to recall the image of a beautiful woman. He called her mother. The two of them had been very close. However, Calix couldn't help but wonder why give mother's dress to Rose. She could have worn something else. In fact, Rose had been quite hesitant at the time. What should I wear? What should I do when I get there? Finally, Calix reminded himself, don't overthink it. Simply put, he needed a partner. Then, Calix gently extended his hand, offering a courteous invitation to Rose. "My lady, would you care to dance with me?" This made Rose's eyes widen in surprise. She hadn't expected Calix to ask her. His confident nod, however, sent her into a flustered panic. "I don't know how to dance." Despite this, Calyx softly said, "Just do as I say." And so, they danced together in the center of the ballroom. As they danced, Rose unconsciously gazed at Calyx. A sudden realization struck her. Even with half his face covered, he's handsome. I kind of understand the female lead's feelings for this fickle jerk. Suddenly, Calyx threatened Rose. "If you step on the crown prince's foot, you'll be executed. I trust you're aware of that." At that moment, she instantly rejected him in her mind. How could the female lead fall for him? Afterward, Rose was extremely careful, mindful of her steps. Watching Rose's cautious movements, Calyx chuckled. Just then, a voice suddenly boomed. "Ladies and gentlemen, the event is about to begin. Please take your seats." As everyone went to find their assigned seats, Rose also located hers. Rose also overheard excited whispers. "This auction's item, I heard they caught it. This time, the item is mine." They whispered incessantly. "I really want to see it. It's good to be alive, even if I die. It doesn't matter." This made Rose even more suspicious. Is it a slave auction? Just then, the host announced, "The first item is a silver-maned wolf captured in northeast Goxen." Rose couldn't help but exclaim, "I knew it." Suddenly, Rose was furious. These bastards. Inwardly, she wanted to curse them all. Violation of animal protection laws. They should be reported for animal abuse. How can they lock that pup in an iron cage? At that moment, Rose felt heartbroken for it. Poor thing, is there any way to free it? Just then, Calyx asked, "What's wrong?" Rose immediately said, "If I buy all the displayed items, will this auction end?" Calyx immediately replied, "Impossible. But even if I can't buy everything for you, among these items, I can gift you the highest end one. I hope you understand." Hearing this, Rose thought, "That's right, I have no right to demand anything since I'm here as the male lead's partner. I have to fulfill my role." So Rose suddenly clasped Calyx's hand and, acting coy, said to him, "High-end items are expensive. Will you buy it for me?" This startled Calyx, but then he gently touched Rose's lips and said, "I'm telling you with a smile, there's nothing I can't do for you. I'll give you anything you want." As she watched Calyx gradually lean closer, Rose felt a surge of panic. Wait a minute. Ultimately, Calyx gave her a tender, passionate kiss, leaving Rose trembling. Does he need to go this deep into character? Suddenly, Calyx took her hand and said, "When we get back, we could do more of this. Breathe, my love." This only amplified Rose's inner turmoil. And so, the auction proceeded successfully. Turning to Rose, Calyx teased, "Why is your face like that? Suddenly in love with me? Answer me, my beautiful Rose." From then on, a war erupted between the mysterious and insidious gentleman, K, and the beautiful Rose. And every item Rose took a liking to was successfully won. Calyx was incredibly indulgent towards her. "As long as you want it, my love." Rose couldn't help but feel a sense of smug satisfaction. "Oh my God, honestly, living in this world, I've seen it all." Suddenly, something happened that left Rose speechless with surprise. Even the other guests gasped in astonishment. They began to showcase the next product, also the last one. This is the white deer of the Hammer Mountains. Everyone couldn't help but be delighted by this precious item. However, Rose thought it was beautiful, but wasn't it just a white deer? In comparison, pink hair and red eyes seemed much more magical. Suddenly, Calyx turned to look at Rose, teasing, "What, not enough?" Rose said shyly, "No, it's enough." In her mind, she thought, after all, this is the moment in the spotlight. Therefore, Rose immediately pointed at the item in front of her and shouted, "Okay, Rose wants that one." Calyx smiled insidiously. All right, the participating guests vied with each other until the manager asked, "Someone has bid 200,000 gold coins. Is there anyone bidding higher?" This was Calyx's best opportunity. He bid 500,000, making the manager gasp in surprise. Finally, the white deer was successfully auctioned off for 500,000 gold coins. The auction ended. Rose and Calyx went to the item collection area. The attendant invited them to sit and wait for a moment, saying they would prepare the item immediately. After the person left the room, Rose breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, she was caught by Calyx, who even said, "This is just the beginning." This startled Rose, but inwardly she cursed. "Can't he just tell me I did a good job? What a stingy jerk." Then Calyx said seriously, "We need proof that the organizer of this auction is the third prince. The proof of payment is somewhere on this floor." He turned to Rose and asked, enjoyable. Rose immediately bowed respectfully. "Yes, your highness, it was indeed enjoyable." Suddenly, Calyx looked at her with dangerous eyes. "You seem relaxed because you're wearing a mask. I can see your expression. If you want to show loyalty, you have to do it right, don't you?" Hearing this, Rose couldn't help but panic, feeling a bit scared. She quickly obeyed. I'll be careful. At that, Calyx finally let her off the hook. Calyx also glared at her fiercely. I still don't trust you, so it's best to be careful, Rose. At this point, Rose could only bow and indeed obey his words. Because this was different from the image she had imagined, she was relieved, but this person was a tyrant. Later, he would kill all his brothers and ascend to the throne. Therefore, Rose always reminded herself, don't let your guard down. He said he was looking for the documents, and the servant would be back soon, so they couldn't leave. Suddenly, Rose remembered a game from the past, where she found an escape route behind a wall. So she also thought, in a place like this, there were usually walls that could be opened. Was this idea too complacent? Rose decided to try immediately. Seeing her strange behavior, Calyx couldn't help but be curious. What are you doing? And Rose continued to knock randomly everywhere, until there was a strange sound. Then suddenly, they both realized something. Calyx was quite perplexed. Just then, the attendant walked cheerfully into the room and said, you two have been waiting for a long time. Please check the items, and I'll bring the documents right away. This is our specially provided white wine. Please enjoy it while you wait. Then the two attendants bowed and left. Rose suddenly felt happy. There's wine in this world too. Why am I suddenly so happy? But then she suddenly realized something. There was a strange smell in the wine glass, making Rose suspicious of it. She decided to take out a basil leaf and put it into the wine glass to see how it would react. Rose was surprised to find the result was as expected. At that moment, she looked at Calyx and found he was about to drink the wine. Rose immediately ran to stop him. She rushed over and grabbed the man's hand. The wine glass in his hand fell to the ground with a crisp sound, shattering into pieces. What are you doing? The man frowned. Do you want to die? Rose only then regained a bit of her senses, panicking slightly. What to do? I was too anxious and did that. She thought, are poisonous herbs common in this world? Can I mention them? What if? She worried. What if the diary lied to me? You. The man exuded a terrifying aura. A voice came from outside. What? The room over there. I don't know. Think about it later. This is poison. Rose sat on his lap and whispered in his ear. What? Calyx pushed her onto the chair. She whispered to him, someone's coming. Two masked people rushed in through the door. What happened? Guests. They shouted. There was a loud noise. Are you all right? But the sight before them made them freeze like stone. What? He frowned and looked up. Rose also realized and screamed in embarrassment. The two also hurriedly left the room, apologizing repeatedly. Sorry. The door slammed shut. The two sat up, and Rose reminded, they'll definitely be back, Your Highness. Calyx nodded. Damn it, I know. He gently reached out and touched the white deer. Hurried footsteps came from outside. There were too many people waiting outside. The leader spoke first. Guests. He cautiously touched the doorknob and continued. I heard something break just now, so I came in. As soon as the door opened, a powerful force rushed out. His Highness, the Crown Prince, immediately drew his sword. His sharp eyes looked at them, wielding the sword with precision. The leader holding the sword panicked. Calyx slashed at him, and he cried out in pain. Blood splattered onto His Highness the Crown Prince's face. Hurry! He turned and ordered Rose, and she received the order. Yes. Rose ran towards the wall with the painting, thinking, I'm sure behind the empty wall. Can I break it with my own strength? But she didn't have time to think too much. All right, if I don't know, I'll try. She lifted her leg and kicked the wall hard. Bang! The wall immediately cracked, and a bright fissure appeared. A look of joy spread across Rose's face. All right, it's open. She shouted to Calyx, who turned slightly and commanded, get in. She obeyed. Yes, understood. We'll die if we stay here. She stroked the white deer. Let's go together. She stroked its pure white neck, then suddenly realized the white deer had transformed into a young man. Rose was startled. An elf. Seeing her stunned, he quickly called to her. Is this your first time seeing an elf? What are you doing? Rose also turned her head and replied, it's my first time. Did you know this deer was an elf? Stop talking nonsense, coming quickly. After pulling her inside the wall, the door also closed. Rose gasped, and the elf immediately cast a spell in front of Rose. A magic spell gradually appeared before her eyes, and she had the chance to admire it. Over there, the elf said, if there's no magic, it can last for 20 minutes. Rose widened her eyes. A mage. Her eyes were fixed on the elf, a cunning idea blossoming in her mind. Wait a minute. If he's a mage, he'll know how to get home, right? Damn it. Calyx ripped off his mask. Here, within the wall, was a secret room, surrounded by cabinets filled with items, tightly packed with books. He observed and muttered to himself, completely trapped. He took a step back, but despite this, Calyx walked towards a pile of shredded paper. Touching the topmost sheet, he said, "It seems we've come to the right place." The paper was densely covered in writing. "The question now is how to get out of here." The elf stepped forward to answer. "There's another space." "Where's the space?" The elf shook his head. "I'm not too sure." "What?" Calyx frowned fiercely. "So you're telling me to try breaking down all the walls?" The elf calmly replied, "Not a bad idea." Rose stood in the middle, speechless. "Wait a minute. I wonder if there's anywhere in this room that where you can sense magical power. So if there's magical power, it means it's operated by magic." The elf nodded. "That's right." Then Rose continued, "Among the bookshelves, is there anywhere you can sense magical power?" Her experience with Korean webcomics, movies, dramas, and games was activated. He waved his hand. "Over there." The side of the bookshelf emitted a dazzling light. "Here." Rose pondered silently. She gently pulled out a book, and with a slight click, a dazzling fissure appeared once more. A staircase appeared before their eyes. "All right," Rose smiled. "I'm a genius." A shimmering staircase materialized before them, and Rose's eyes flickered with hope. "All right, Your Highness, a passage has appeared." Rose called out happily. Calyx frowned. "What? How is that possible?" He muttered angrily, walking towards her. Gripping her wrist tightly, he pressed Rose against the wall and questioned her. "What exactly are you planning?" His eyes turned red, seeming a bit excessive. "Your Highness," Rose called softly, "I have a suggestion. Can we leave this place first and then talk?" She was more afraid of the worst-case scenario. "What's with this expression? Am I going to be beheaded right now?" Seeing Calyx didn't react, she softly repeated again, "Let's get out of here quickly." His expression softened, and he flung her hand away. "Drop that dreadful formal tone. There's no way illegal underground dealings wouldn't involve mages." Calyx turned around. "They wouldn't even last 5 minutes, let alone 20. So know your place and follow me." Rose's face brightened. A loud bang came from behind the door, and she froze. "We have to run. We have to run." Rose turned and reminded the elf to follow. "Hurry up and follow." She even reached out and grabbed the young man's wrist. Pulling him forward, he froze for a few seconds, staring straight at the pink-haired girl in front of him. Before his eyes, the seemingly endless staircase, the footsteps above growing more urgent. The villains were closing in. "Don't let them get away," the leader shouted, pointing his sword at the crown prince. "You can shoot them if necessary." "Crazy." An arrow whizzed past Rose. "Damn it, watch your back." Calyx shielded her with his sword. She also cried out, "Your Highness." He turned to fight the people behind them. A bloody scene unfolded. "Get down." The prince still had the upper hand. They stumbled and fell. "Damn it." Prince Calyx looked at them, panting, "Why are they so late?" "What to do? There are too many. They keep pouring up from below." He frowned, observing his hand gripping his sword tightly. If it were only the male lead alone, Rose was terrified. Then, a hand gently rested on her shoulder. The elf behind her smiled at her, his expression becoming gentler. Power was forming in the elf's hands, surrounding her, clinging to her. "This is... move." A shout came from behind Calyx. He frowned in confusion, turning around as the magic and the elf rushed to the prince's rescue. He wielded a magical bow and arrow, firing bolts with lightning speed. The villains below scattered and fled. Rose watched the elf with admiration. So cool, taking on countless enemies at once. He kept smiling gently at her, but Rose didn't understand why he was smiling. Watching the two flirt before him, Crown Prince Calyx felt inexplicably irritated. He interrupted them. "We're almost at the exit. Hurry up." Rose was startled. "Yes, Your Highness." Suddenly, she turned around. An arrow was aimed in their direction. "Aimed at the prince." "No," Rose shouted. Calyx also cautiously turned around. As he looked back, a splash of blood splattered before him, across his stunned face. Rose had shielded Calyx from the arrow with her own body. "Rose Asthenia." He cried out in a panic, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" He held her, screaming in disbelief, "I'm going to go insane." Rose's eyes grew heavy. "I have to go back. If I die here, can I go home? There's no other way. I'll choose just like me." A shimmering, golden-haired girl touched Rose's body. "Who is this? Where am I?" Rose recalled old memories. "I was in the back, right?" She remembered she was hit by an arrow. Then the image of a young woman appeared. "Who is this?" She couldn't see her face clearly. Then more strange scenes continued to appear. It seemed they said something. How did it become like this? If I die like this and open my eyes, will I see home? Rose thought, her eyelids heavy. The scene before her eyes gradually became clear. Finally, Suddenly, Rose woke up. She was disappointed it wasn't. She had also recovered, hurriedly putting on clothes over her hospital gown. Wasn't I hit by an arrow? Rose lightly touched the wound. It didn't seem to hurt much. The maid flung open the door, and Rose and Mira screamed, tears in their eyes. She was frantic. Mira and Aaron rushed in and hugged Rose tightly, crying, "I was so worried. I thought you were going to die this time." Mira asked anxiously, "Are you all right? Does it hurt?" "Because you used the potion. You shouldn't feel any pain." Rose asked in surprise, "Potion? So that's why it doesn't hurt." Mira nodded in confirmation. His Highness used a whole 9 bottles of potion. Rose was even more surprised. Mira said seriously, "No. Do you know how much 9 bottles of potion is?" Rose became even more curious. "How much is 9 bottles of potion?" Mira muttered to herself. Then her face darkened, looking at Rose. "Equivalent to our 5-year salary. So is it bad?" Rose's expression didn't change. Rose calmly replied, "If you want to order people around as you please, you have to pay that much." But Mira was even more surprised by her words. What are you saying, Rose? 5 years. Aaron also approached in surprise. "So you're all right now, right?" Rose glanced over and replied, "What?" "Thank goodness." Aaron smiled happily. "It would be boring if Rose died. What would I do?" Rose frowned in confusion, thinking this guy, why would he say that? So she continued to ask, "Did you get what you wanted?" Rose stared blankly. "Huh." Mira also suddenly realized, "I said too much." Rose is still a patient. Don't bother her anymore. Mira chose the right moment to turn around and pull Aaron away. He showed his dissatisfaction. "What? I want to be with Rose." Eventually, he was dragged away mercilessly by Mira. Before leaving, she poked her head in to say goodbye. "Well then, Rose, we're leaving." Aaron whispered from outside, "I want to play with Rose." Finally, the room returned to its usual tranquility. She smiled. Really chaotic. Even so, it's nice to have someone rush over worriedly at a time like this. But Aaron is a bit suspicious. What did he mean by those words just now? I'll have to ask him separately later. At this moment, Rose remembered Calyx. "Is the male lead all right? I remember shouting something before I fainted. What about the elf? Since the male lead bought him, is he now royal property?" She also remembered another face, the brown-haired girl, apparently the female lead of Kingdom of the Bloody Moon. Brown hair. So that was Selena, she thought. What did she want to tell me? Was there no other way? Consumed by curiosity, she hurriedly got up. "First, I have to go find her. Does the male lead make a sick person work?" The door burst open. Rose was holding a brown ribbon, gazing at it intently. A man appeared in the doorway. "Mira." Rose frowned. "Did you drop this?" A look of surprise flashed across her face. "Huh." Rose looked up, startled to see Rule. He looked at her with an indifferent expression. "What's wrong?" Rose turned around, surprised. Rule replied politely, "I apologize for disturbing your rest, Lady Asthenia. Are you well?" "Yes, thanks to His Highness's concern. I'm thankfully all right. It's nothing much. I came here because I have something to investigate." This statement made her look up at him. "Really? Investigate?" Rose felt confused. Rule glanced around, then habitually stepped forward and opened Rose's desk drawer. She was startled and screamed from behind him, "No." "What are you doing?" Rose rushed forward and grabbed his arm, opening someone's drawer without permission. He released her hand and turned his attention to the desk. He touched the strange purple notebook. "Wait." Seeing that Rule was about to open the notebook, she hurriedly shouted again, "Don't." Rule ignored her plea and opened the notebook directly. The pages inside were pure white, devoid of any writing. Rose was also surprised. He sighed, snapped the notebook shut, and then grabbed Rose's arm. She cried out in surprise. "Miss Asthenia, you must come with me," Rule said coldly to the frowning Rose. Inside the dark cell, Rule and Rose sat formally, with several guards behind them. Her wrists were tightly bound with rope, and she was wearing handcuffs. Rose was panicked. "What's going on now?" The past scene replayed. An arrow pierced the air, flying towards the 3 of them. The man was also hit by the arrow. At that moment, Calyx caught her, shouting desperately, "Rose. Rose Asthenia." Damn it, he was furious. "Wake up." He shook her, but now only silence met him. "Where are you really?" He recalled the previous moments. "Who are you?" As Rose shielded him from the arrow. "Why did you do that for me?" As Rose leaned against Calyx, and he held her tightly, the elf watched silently. His sensitive ears began to twitch. "What are you doing?" Calyx frowned, watching the elf jump up. "Someone's coming." The elf leaned down and warned him. "Take her and be careful," he murmured. "I'll be back." Hearing the footsteps below, Calyx picked up Rose and ran. Suddenly, he heard a call, "Your Highness." He frowned. "What?" "I apologize for the delay. The knight's resistance was stronger than I anticipated." A man appeared behind him. Calyx stopped and said coldly to him, "Rule." Yes, your highness. The knights behind him knelt. Eliminate them all. The crown prince frowned. Leave no survivors. Surprise flickered in Rule's eyes. I will eliminate all who would harm you. Then there was a long silence. At this point, Rule's recollection ended. He flipped through the documents, not even looking at her. Rose was also waiting for Rule to speak. I don't know why this is happening, but I'm innocent. Rose spoke first. Just as Rule interrupted her, I have a few questions. She whimpered, holding out her handcuffed hands. This is rude, to question me like this. Rose questioned more loudly. Is this how the knights, under Crown Prince Calyx handle things? Rule froze, speechless. He rustled the papers. How did you know the wine was poisoned? Rose frowned in annoyance. What? Ignoring me, right? She gritted her teeth. That's how it is. Although at the end of the original story, I chose love. He is Calyx's cousin and her only friend, a steadfast knight and loyal subject. Rule continued politely. I don't want to use force, so please answer truthfully. Rose frowned. Honestly, I used the twin heart Leaves the diary gave me. If I say that, I might be accused of witchcraft and burned alive. Rose had to find another way. It's only natural to check His Highness's food for poison, isn't it? Rule said softly. The important thing isn't why, but how. Lady Dania couldn't get around this point. She complained internally. This persistent fellow. There's no other way but to appropriately mix the truth. When I was appointed as His Highness's maid, I procured some basil leaves just in case. You know what those are, right? Rose chuckled inwardly, having put on a bold face. Rule's expression darkened, and he replied in a low voice, Unfortunately, I'm not well versed in that area. Rose panicked. Did he not know? Then, before this, how did you check for poison in His Highness's food? She inquired. Rule pondered for a moment. Rose thought, of course, even after drinking poison several times, the male lead didn't die. Due to assassination attempts, he probably tasted various poisons from a young age to build up a tolerance. He might have even sipped small amounts. That's why he accepted the enemy's drink without hesitation. So, even if it's not my fault, I'll apologize. Rose panicked. So, until now, no one checked. Rule's face hardened further. How did you find the secret passage in the third prince's office? Rose pondered. When His Highness instructed me to look for evidence, I happened to find it. Is carrying out orders also a crime? Only key personnel knew about that room. Rose screamed internally. This is a common development in fantasy novels. You idiot. Forget it. Besides, the entrance to the office is equipped with a magical mechanism. Saying you stumbled upon it isn't convincing enough. Rose thought, surprise, Magical mechanism. She couldn't understand. You just kick it and it opens. Hey you, Rose continued frankly. Then, shouldn't the elf who can use magic be interrogated? I'm just a maid who knows nothing about magical mechanisms. Elf, what do you mean? Rule didn't understand what Rose was babbling about. He was already gone when I arrived, so he escaped. Lucky him. He won't become a slave. Don't get caught. Live well. Goodbye. An image of the elf smiling and waving goodbye flashed through Rose's mind. Anyway, I don't know. Rose became more assertive. The elf found the secret passage, not me. That elf sensed where the magical power was concentrated. Why ask this? Rose suddenly froze. Could it be that His Highness also clearly witnessed that scene? Suddenly, Rule slammed the table in annoyance. It seems you've forgotten. I'm the one interrogating, not you. Where did you find the letter? Rule was starting to get irritated. Rose retorted. Without His Highness's orders, is a knight qualified to interrogate me? Rule frowned, reminding her, answer my question, Lady Dania. A noise came from behind Rose, and she leaned back, eavesdropping. Calyx appeared in the cell, demanding angrily, what are you doing now? Calyx appeared with an angry expression, displeased with Rule's actions. Rule immediately reported, Your Highness, there are suspicious circumstances, so I was conducting a simple investigation. Rule's words shocked Rose. Will the investigation continue like this? Look closely. This isn't an investigation, it's an interrogation. Calyx's attitude remained unchanged. Why did you do that? I'm a knight who obeys Your Highness. This is standard procedure. You know my birthday is approaching, but the suspicious circumstances haven't been clarified. I told you to let go. Rose still didn't understand what they were talking about. That's right. In the original story, after Rule confirmed his feelings for Selena, this was the scene where Calyx bullied Rule for no reason. Of course, the difference is, I'm not the female lead, and neither of them likes me. Are you planning to find a different maid now? They could be spies. After a while, Rule seemed exasperated with Calyx. I apologize. I wasn't thinking clearly. Calyx then asked Rose to hold out her hands. He swiftly cut the ropes, binding her with his sword. At the same time, he grasped Rose's hand. Come with me. Just like that, they left. In contrast, Rule felt guilty about what he had done. Calyx hurriedly pulled Rose along within the mansion. "Your Highness, slow down." His brisk pace caused her considerable pain. Seeing this, Calyx stopped. Not healed yet. Yes, however, Rose abruptly changed her demeanor. "Thanks to your Highness using 9 potions, I'm much better. If I don't move around too much, I'll be fine. But were you worried about me? Is that so? That's good. What? I have a bad feeling about this. Then come back in 3 days." His expression startled her. "I have to complain to the Department of Labor and Employment." Later, Mira was also shocked. What? His Highness used 2 more potions. Rose's holiday was no longer the issue. "Do you know how much 1 potion costs?" "That's the problem." "What?" "It's common knowledge that 1 gold coin is equivalent to 1,000,001. 1 potion costs 6 gold coins, so it's worth 6,000,001. I used 9 potions plus 2 more, about 66,000,001. With my annual salary, without spending a single penny, I'd have to save for at least 2.5 years. Thus, Rose fell into despair. At this point, if Mira asked for overtime pay, would she be beheaded? Mira asked curiously, "What's overtime pay?" It seemed the concept of overtime didn't exist in this world. In another development, "It's almost done. If it's done, then what? I don't know why, but there will be more work." This world has no annual leave, monthly salary, bonuses, or overtime pay. When do people here rest? I don't know what that is, but today is payday. Hearing about the salary, the beast inside Rose awakened. Mira also acknowledged, "That's right, it's Rose's first paycheck as a maid. Have you decided how to use it?" "Not yet." "What?" "Since you like it so much, I wondered if there was anything you wanted to buy." "Oh, right. The festival is coming soon. Shall we go there? There are street stalls there too. It'll be fun. I want to take you, but I have to work all week. Do you want to go with me?" Someone's voice caught Rose's attention. It was Aaron who extended the invitation. "How about it, Rose? I can take you." Rose became suspicious. Aaron, a servant working in the Crown Prince's kitchen, was a character who didn't appear in the original story. Perhaps he wasn't important enough to be mentioned. "Did you get what you wanted?" Something felt incredibly suspicious, but Rose agreed to his invitation. "That's a yes, then." He was ecstatic. "I'm so excited. Then I'll see you tomorrow after work in front of the East Gate." Despite this, Rose remained wary. "This time, I'll uncover his identity." Rose pondered all night. "But how can I figure out who he is?" I asked other servants too, but I couldn't find any significant information. Suddenly, she remembered something. Rose hurriedly opened her book. As expected, I wasn't mistaken back then. Did it erase the contents? Because I was in trouble. Although I don't know the identity of this diary, it clearly gives me what I need. Rose immediately asked it. "I need to know Aaron's identity." The diary suddenly glowed intensely, and words began to appear. "I met Mr. Melroy again today. Mr. Melroy gave me a bag of powder made from the dried sap of the extremely rare Elgin tree that grows in the Hamel Mountains in the north. Those who ingest the sap of the Elgin tree can only speak the truth." I put the bag in the first drawer of my desk. Upon learning this information, Rose immediately searched for the bag, holding the bag of Elgin tree sap. She thought, "I really don't know what to do anymore. By the way, let me add one more question. Is that brown-haired girl Selena? The girl I saw when I was knocked unconscious by the arrow. It seems like it was Selena, the female lead in the original story." At that moment, Rose was still curious. "Why want to tell me? Are there any conditions?" Then the next morning arrived. At this time, Rose was wearing a very attractive dress, the kind of beauty that seemed to captivate everyone. Perfectly ready to go out. Today's plans: 1. Go to the Duke and acquire information about Selena. Plan 2. Meet Aaron and give him the Elgin tree sap. I only have 3 days off. I'm going to make the most of it. When she arrived, she started talking to the 2 guards. "Hello, I have something to ask. Are you hungry?" Though suspicious, the 2 couldn't refuse such a beautiful girl. While eating, they kept telling Rose, "Your sister works here, and you want to know what kind of person the Duke is." "Well, I'm worried." "Anyway, I can't divulge information about the Duke." Rose gently explained, "Oh, I just wanted to know what kind of person he is. For people like us, it's important who we obey. The Duke's daughter, it seems she's the one we're supposed to obey." The guards were surprised by her question. The Duke's daughter. The Duke doesn't have a daughter. If I have to say, I said that earlier because there isn't one, so I said no. Rose still couldn't believe it. "What's going on?" I asked a few more people after that, and it seems no one knows Selena. It's clear Crimson found the Duke's hidden female lead. Did the Duke hide her that well? Even so, it's strange that there's no trace. Crimson's information can't be wrong. So where is Selena? No, my plan is to push the male lead to the female lead and then find a way home. If I leave it alone, will things unfold as they did in the novel? Because I can't confirm the content before the novel. Suddenly, a voice called out Rose. It was Aaron. You came so early. Did you come this early because you missed me? No, I missed Rose too, so I came early. I said it wasn't like that. Don't you listen to others. Your outfit is beautiful too. Are you trying to show off for me? No, think what you want. Rose, you said this is your first time at the festival, right? Is there anything you want to do? However, Rose immediately turned him down. At this moment, she was still holding the bag containing the Elgin tree sap. First, let's get something to eat. Hearing this, Aaron became excited. Rose, are you hungry? I know a place with delicious food. Wait, what's wrong with your hand? Give it to me. No one is better at giving directions than me. She had to give in to his enthusiasm. Aaron suddenly led her to a very romantic area. The bustling festival scene unfolded before Rose's eyes, making her look around curiously. Along the way, many people greeted Aaron, all happy to see him. They gave Aaron various foods available at the festival. Rose silently assessed, is he the type of person who enjoys privileges? No wonder he was so friendly from the beginning. Aaron led Rose to a restaurant. He confidently asserted, although this restaurant isn't famous, the food is absolutely delicious. As soon as the door opened, the owner inside greeted them warmly. Long time no see. What have you been up to? Why haven't you come? Is your uncle doing well? Looking at Rose beside him, the owner jokingly asked if she was Aaron's lover. He didn't deny it, but said happily, I wish. Rose silently observed Aaron, unable to judge whether he was sincere or not. Rose had already confirmed the effects of the Elgin tree sap. Today, she had to get all the information from him. As soon as they sat at the table, Aaron excitedly ordered a large amount of food. Seeing her opportunity, Rose quickly poured the tree sap into the beer. If one looked closely, the difference between the two beers was noticeable. After ordering, Aaron turned to Rose and chatted for a while. Hearing Rose mention that he had ordered too much food, Aaron simply laughed, saying it was precisely because she ate so little that she was so small. As they spoke, Aaron picked up his beer, seemingly about to drink. Rose stared at him, unblinking. Aaron drank the beer without a trace of suspicion. Looking at the empty glass, Rose knew she could begin her plan. She questioned Aaron, when I was injured and lying in bed, you asked me if I got what I wanted. What did you mean by that? Aaron calmly sliced his meat as he replied. The third prince went to acquire evidence of the crown prince's illegal activities, right? Was that the reason for looking for the invitation? But seeing Rose injured, His Highness probably knew beforehand. It seems the third prince's spies are also quite resourceful. Rose, astonished, exclaimed, How did you know? Aaron calmly set down his knife, revealing a shocking truth. Because I'm Crimson's grandson. Naturally, Rose was utterly dumbfounded. It took her a moment to process the information, and she couldn't help but gasp aloud. Aaron, seeing Rose's stunned expression, looked slightly perplexed, but Rose was even more bewildered. She had never imagined Aaron was Crimson's grandson. Rose demanded, Why are you only telling me this now? Aaron gave a wry smile. Rose, did you ever ask for my full name? Hearing this, Rose was speechless, knowing the location of the bookstore, a series of very proficient actions. If he was Crimson's grandson, it would explain everything. Although Aaron's reasoning was sound, Rose still couldn't help but feel suspicious. Is that really all there is to it? She needed to know more. So, Rose asked Aaron again, Why are you working in the Imperial Palace? Aaron replied, Because I don't want to be like him. Aaron complained that his grandfather's work was troublesome, tiring, and involved meeting too many people. It wasn't fun at all. He preferred traveling around. He had even recently received information about a place with dragons. Rose listened to Aaron for a while, feeling that his words seemed sincere. Aaron proposed, Do you want to go together when the time comes? Rose thought, Why me? Aaron then bluntly stated, Because I like Rose. Even Rose didn't understand why Aaron had liked her from the beginning. Suddenly, Aaron asked a question that made Rose spray all the beer in her mouth. Why did you give me the Elgin tree sap? Rose stared at the person in front of her, trembling. She couldn't understand how he knew. The scene shifted to the Imperial Palace. Calyx Fossman calmly sheathed his sword, stained with the blood of the unfortunate Maid. There's only one Maid left to bring to the birthday celebration. He turned and ordered Rule, safeguard all the documents. If they disappear, we won't be able to catch the third prince's tail. Rule immediately bowed his head in acknowledgement. Holding the documents, Calyx Fossman excitedly wiped the blood from his face. I'm really looking forward to seeing that person's expression. Back to Rose. Having been discovered, she didn't dare look up at Aaron. Thinking for a moment, Rose decided to play dumb, saying she didn't understand what Aaron was talking about. Aaron then placed his beer glass in front of her, explaining, Elgin tree sap changes color when mixed with alcohol, so you can tell with a single glance. Aaron even kindly advised Rose to be more careful in the future. Rose silently observed Aaron's reaction, finding that he wasn't angry with her at all. She asked directly, since you knew, why did you drink it? For a fleeting moment, Aaron's eyes lit up with a familiar gleam. But in the next second, his eyes returned to normal. He smiled and said it seemed interesting. Rose also noticed Aaron's unusual behavior just now, but she wasn't sure if Aaron's eyes had truly lit up or if it was just her imagination. Aaron continued to ask, where did you get the Elgin? From a secret warehouse. Rose hadn't expected there to be a secret warehouse. When she questioned Aaron again, he evaded the question. Aaron turned the conversation to the food on the table, no longer mentioning the previous matter. As Rose ate, she pondered, if he was Crimson's grandson, getting close to him wouldn't be a bad thing. In this world, no one was on her side, so she had to survive until the original story began. For that, information was essential. After leaving the restaurant on the main street, Rose thought of a way out. She called out to Aaron. Seeing Rose's expression, Aaron was also taken aback. Tears welled in Rose's eyes as she looked pitifully at Aaron and apologized. She confessed to putting the tree sap in his drink. Rose tugged at Aaron's shirt, apologizing as sincerely as possible. She explained that she just wanted to test him and meant no harm. Seeing Rose like this, Aaron couldn't help but panic, saying he was fine. Rose pathetically clasped her hands together. Please forgive me. Aaron readily said he wasn't angry with her. Suddenly, Aaron's expression changed. From now on, Rose won't deceive me again, right? Although he was still smiling, something was different. Rose stared blankly at the unfamiliar Aaron before her. For some reason, Rose felt a chill. Aaron, spotting a fruit stall, ran over to buy some for Rose. Watching Aaron's back, she told herself it must be her mood making her think that way. Lost in thought, she bumped into a stranger. The hat fell off, momentarily revealing the person's face. Before she could ask anything, the person put their hat back on and ran away. Rose quickly called out, but it was too late. In the end, Rose could only watch as the person disappeared into the bustling crowd. Meanwhile, Aaron returned. Looking into the distance, Rose said to Aaron, can you help me find someone? Back at the Imperial Palace, when Rose heard she had to attend the birthday celebration, she froze for a few seconds. She asked, what about Roddy? Calyx Fossman simply replied, he has something to do. Rose still didn't give up. What about the other maids? Calyx Fossman coldly replied, non-nobles cannot attend the birthday celebration. At this point, Rose had no grounds to refuse. Regarding the birthday celebration, it commemorated Chamises, the god of the Fosnian kingdom, where the male protagonist resided. Judgment Day, when monsters born from the curse of the demon god, Mauritius, appeared. This was the day the royals hunted monsters. Rose, thinking of this, teared up, not understanding why she had to go there, without even hazard pay. Her goal was to survive in this world. But Rose kept feeling like she had forgotten something. She couldn't quite remember. The hat in Calyx Fossman's office. He spread out a pile of documents and told Rose to take them away. To explain this incident, we have to go back a few days. Rose closed her eyes, recalling. Feeling bored during her break, she organized the male protagonist's schedule and was then suddenly caught in the act by the male protagonist himself. After reading the documents, she organized them, and the male protagonist threw her a few more to deal with. It seemed he was satisfied with her work, so she now shouldered part of the male protagonist's tasks. So Rose, from a maid in charge of cleaning, now had to deal with a pile of documents and paperwork. Rose had never expected to be trusted so much. But thanks to this, she gained some information about the world setting that didn't appear in the original work. In this world, the power of religion was absolute. Why? Because unlike Earth, the power of the gods manifested very clearly here. A medicine that could heal any wound or disease. Unlike magic, divine power brought a sense of holiness. Therefore, theocratic power could be equal to royal power and might even possess power surpassing it. This meant that even members of the royal family couldn't miss religious ceremonies. The birthday celebration held in the Hamel Mountains, the place where monsters appeared. Chamises, the god of the Fosnian kingdom, the kingdom where the male protagonist resided, a religious ceremony commemorating the punishment of the demon god. Mauritius, Chamises punished the wicked Mauritius, imprisoning him in a prison deep underground. Then Chamises brought light to this world, connecting it to Earth's history, filled with wars. It seemed the demon god was the losing side in a territorial war. In any case, the demon god Mauritius cursed this land before being sealed. Because of that curse, during the birthday celebration, Cames's holy ground and Mauritius's grave in the Hamel Mountains would see more monsters than usual. The royals became warriors chosen by the god and had to capture monsters and prove their qualifications. Rose had just been told that only nobles could participate, so commoners couldn't be brought along. She declared the class system is truly filthy. Calyx Fossman, knowing Rose had something to say, let her speak. Hearing this, Rose grew bolder. She stated earnestly, regarding this ceremony, there are many things I believe are very important to your highness. As she spoke, Rose reenacted the scene like in a movie, leaving Calyx Fossman speechless. Finally, Rose concluded that since she was unfamiliar with these matters, she hoped Calyx Fossman would understand if there were any mistakes. Calyx Fossman's jaw twitched. Rose, chilled by his judging gaze, didn't understand what she had done wrong. Tapping his finger on the desk, Calyx Fossman asked Rose, where did you learn that kind of etiquette? Rose hesitated, wringing her hands. She couldn't say she learned it from television. Calyx Fossman, half coaxing, half threatening, urged Rose to speak, saying he wouldn't kill her or anything. Rose, sweating, stammered, I learned it from a box. Another day at the palace ended. The day of the birthday celebration arrived. Rose, dressed in an elegant white gown, stepped down from the carriage. She looked at the scene within, awestruck by its grandeur. Suddenly, she saw a young boy standing not far from her. The boy, also noticing Rose's gaze, looked back at her. After observing for a while, Rose felt the face was somewhat familiar. Calyx Fossman, seeing Rose spacing out, called her back to reality. Rose immediately inquired about the boy's identity. Calyx Fossman confirmed her guess, saying it was the third prince, so she shouldn't make a fool of herself. He continued, am I not better than that guy? Looking at Calyx Fossman's you better answer correctly look, Rose immediately flattered him. Absolutely not. The third prince is still childish. Your Highness has the charm of a grown man. Your Highness is the best. Calyx Fossman, emboldened, puffed out his chest. He added that because she had a good eye, he would let her off the hook for now. Suddenly, Calyx Fossman extended his elbow, implying Rose should take it. Rose was a little surprised, wondering why he was suddenly more amiable than usual. Not even a second after the praise, Calyx Fossman threatened her, don't speak like that again, or I'll chop your head off. Rose fell silent, acting as if she hadn't said anything. The ceremony officially began, the Pope presenting a sword to the prince under Calyx's watchful gaze. Rose knew this was the birthday celebration ritual. The Pope would first hand a sword to a member of the royal family. If the prince took that sword to Hamel Mountain and hunted monsters, when the pure white sword turned black, it would indicate how many monsters they had slain. In other words, it was a competition to see who could capture more monsters. This world possessed incredibly strong religious power, and the points earned from the temple also helped determine the order of succession to the throne. Because this was an important ritual, usually knights would help hunt monsters, and those who could use swords would be treated as logistical support. But for the tyrannical male protagonist, the only knight he could trust was Rule. Rule was probably protecting the documents he had painstakingly obtained from the third prince. At this moment, Rose was most worried about the suspicious gazes from the nobles attending the birthday ceremony. They paid particular attention to Calyx's appearance, and whispers began to rise. Your Highness, the crown prince, it has been a long time since you attended a formal ceremony. This time, the other princes really, knowing better than anyone, Rose felt the earlier sense of foreboding. As she glanced at Calyx, hostile gazes continuously surged towards the two of them. No one here would take his side. Rose silently blamed Calyx for not expanding his network of connections, so now even she was somewhat implicated. Calyx, seeing her glaring at him, asked, it seems you have some unpleasant thoughts. Not at all. It's just my mood. Your Highness, Rose immediately replied. After that answer, Calyx didn't ask any more questions. He simply stared at Rose, then he smiled meaningfully. With the ringing of the Pope's bell, the ceremony gradually came to a close. He began to bless the current prince, dispel the darkness, illuminate the world. As a servant of Cames's, I bless you. A halo appeared behind the Pope. According to Calyx, this was a blessing containing the Pope's divine power, and if one accepted it, there would be no risk of being attacked by monsters. Rest assured, the range applies to you as well. Rose continued to stare at Calyx, making him a little confused. What's wrong? Rose wondered if Calyx's words meant she shouldn't be afraid of anything. Rose replied, "Nothing, Your Highness. Thank you for your concern." Calyx turned away, and the two continued to observe the ceremony. At some point, Rose understood many things. Honestly, she was a little scared. Fortunately, there was no danger. The ceremony officially ended, and the monster hunt took place a few hours later. Before she could even acclimate to all of this, Rose had to set off with Calyx. Moreover, she also had to carry a backpack too large for a woman's physique, making her tremble like a leaf. "I'm gonna die. Why is it so high up? I won't die from monsters, but from suffocation. Why is this mountain so treacherous?" Calyx's figure gradually receded into the distance, and Rose shouted with all her might, "Wait, wait." Calyx heard her voice, and he slowly turned to face Rose. Lifting the oversized backpack, Calyx questioned, "What exactly did you bring?" Rose said there were only spices, snacks, cutlery, bowls, and towels inside. There was one thing Rose didn't mention, and that was her diary, because she didn't know what would happen. The two continued forward. Although Rose didn't know if she could be of any help, the current supplies gave her some peace of mind. Suddenly, Calyx did something that surprised her. He picked up Rose's enormous backpack and said, "At this rate, we'll be late. Hurry up." Under Rose's astonished gaze, Calyx walked forward with the heavy backpack. "I thought he would throw it away, but he actually helped me beyond imagination." The male protagonist seems more at ease now. Rose suddenly realized this was unexpected. The situation was peculiar. A fiery temper, an inability to speak politely, a terrible personality, coupled with a lack of friends and social skills, his daily speech laced with threats and hostility. It was a wonder he wasn't already called a tyrant. Currently, Calyx Fossman wasn't someone bad enough to be called a mad tyrant. However, the original Calyx, in order to survive, to avenge his mother, would personally kill his own siblings. He would ascend a blood-soaked throne, trusting no one. He would imprison the female protagonist he fell in love with at first sight, ruining her life. His only close friend would betray him because of his feelings for the female protagonist, ultimately being killed by Calyx's own hand. Rose wondered where it all began. He even killed his own siblings. Suddenly, Calyx stopped. He had noticed strange footprints on the path. Calyx measured the strange footprints with his hand and found they were goblin footprints and quite fresh. They weren't usually active during the day. Rose was a little scared because she had only seen those green monsters in movies, never in real life. Calyx said they were one of Mauritius's typical mutated offshoots. Seeing Rose's worried expression, Calyx turned to her and then extended his hand towards Rose. "What's wrong? Are you scared?" Rose froze for a few seconds. Perhaps the image of the ferocious tyrant had been shattered by the current Calyx. Calyx scolded, "If it's not the leader, they're nothing, so don't stare, just walk, understand?" "Answer me." "Yes, sir." The sun gradually reached its zenith as Rose and Calyx continued their arduous climb towards the mountaintop to hunt monsters. After walking a considerable distance, Calyx stopped, for they had reached their destination. Before Rose was a dark cave, emanating a murderous aura that could make one faint. Calyx said this was the monster's hideout. Right at the entrance, there was something very eerie. Rose was afraid of being toyed with by it, so she insisted on carrying garlic and mugwort. Only Calyx didn't care. "What are you talking about? Are you planning to cook at a time like this?" "No, it's not like that. Aren't there monsters there? If you tremble like that, how are you going to deal with monsters?" Recalling the past, when Rose only interacted with Sansuk, the cat in her apartment building. After hesitating for a moment, Calyx decided to enter the cave. He didn't force Rose to follow him, just said if she wanted to stay there, she could stay and keep watch. Rose still wore that fearful expression, constantly imagining monsters. Monsters don't just appear in comics or novels. They actually exist. Just think, I've encountered goblins before. My life, really. I want to go home. God, please don't let me die in a place I don't know. To save her own life, Rose had no choice but to follow Calyx into the cave. After moving for a long time, the two rested in a dark corner, the oil lamp the only source of light guiding them. Calyx enjoyed the bland beef jerky Rose had prepared earlier. She nibbled on a piece as well. The atmosphere was a bit gloomy. More accurately, Rose was awkward, seeing that the tyrannical guy had been silent for 10 minutes. "Anyway, let me speak first." Rose called out to Calyx. "Your Highness, do you like the beef jerky? I'm sorry I couldn't prepare anything better." It's fine. It's enough to have something to eat in a place like this. You have senses like rule. It seemed this was the first time Rose had heard of such magic, so she found it a bit difficult to understand. What? Why are you praising me like this? Rose replied, although I don't have any outstanding talents, I'm doing my best to support you. Calyx pouted. It would be nice if it wasn't just talk. With Rose's questions, the atmosphere gradually became lighter. Your Highness, how many birthday celebrations have you attended? I've been attending since I was 14. It's been a while since I participated in this monster ritual. 14 years old. Unbelievable. Isn't that against the youth protection laws? Calyx posed a question to Rose. Do you think a child of that age could survive amongst those monsters? At first, there was nothing special about it. Back in the days of the monster hunts, when Calyx was 14, he hid behind the bushes and overheard the knights talking amongst themselves. What about the Crown Prince? I don't know, isn't he dead? What about Rule? That guy is useful, but incredibly annoying. Calyx remarked, probably because he's always nagging about everything. He continued, because I was looked down upon, I benefited instead. Perhaps back then, they regretted not killing me. His expression grew somber. What's wrong? This is a strangely unpleasant atmosphere. That guy is just the male lead of this novel, but something... Calyx said, we have to go out and find some food slowly. Yes, your Highness will go personally. If we let you go, we might starve today. However, Rose didn't want to stay in this forsaken place, so she shouldered her backpack, intending to go with him. As your Highness's subordinate, how can I leave such trivial matters to you? It was hard to say if she was afraid of being alone. The remark made Rose blush, and she bit her lip in frustration. If you know, just pretend you don't. Calyx agreed to let Rose accompany him. The two left the cave once more. It was now dusk, and the sun slowly setting behind the mountains made the scenery poetic. Rose was captivated by the beauty of nature. Suddenly, a strange sound from the bushes beside them caught Calyx's attention. Get back. What? Calyx picked up a small stone at random and threw it forcefully towards where the sound had come from. Unexpectedly, dark figures emerged from the bushes one after another. Goblins, green as grass, appeared before Rose. They looked at Calyx and Rose as if they were looking at their feast, giggling incessantly. Rose was terrified, as these creatures were both ugly and frightening. Calyx immediately drew his sword, his expression alert. There are so many of them. Follow me. He pulled Rose along, running deeper into the forest. After running for a short distance, they were blocked by another goblin. This goblin was larger than the previous ones, and a murderous aura it exuded proved it was the goblin leader. That's... Rose stammered. That's the leader, but why is it here? Calyx noticed an item behind him. It was a cloth bag placed casually in the middle of the path. Knowing they had fallen into a trap, Calyx only had time to curse under his breath. Then, gritting his teeth, he shouted, "Don't get in the way. Get out of here. I understand. Can you protect yourself? I'll try my best." Rose cried silently in her heart. Facing this butcher of a leader, Rose wondered if this tyrant was still roving. The sword in the Crown Prince's hand seemed to possess unparalleled power. He thrust it forcefully towards the goblin leader, and the monster screamed in despair. Finally, it was finished off by the Crown Prince. The battle left the Crown Prince covered in blood, and he cursed in annoyance. Damn it. What a tough fight. Goblin blood splattered all over his face and body. Rose, who had witnessed everything from beginning to end, was deeply impressed by the Crown Prince's power. Amazing. That's no longer human strength. With such physique, he defeated the monster in just a few seconds. I dare not bother him too much in the future. Rose praised him unreservedly. Amazing, Your Highness. I've heard about your abilities, but the rumors were quite limited. Fossman told her coldly, "Don't make a fuss. The small fry will be here soon." While Rose still didn't understand what the Crown Prince meant, rustling sounds came from behind the bushes. A group of smaller monsters carrying weapons appeared, but they didn't expect their leader to be already dead. The smaller monsters were astonished. Then, one after another, they ran into the forest, and to Rose's surprise, they didn't even spare another glance at their dead leader. Rose gasped. Were they frightened because their leader fell? Behind her, the Crown Prince, Calyx Fossman, replied, "Fortunately, they have no sense of camaraderie." She nodded with a small smile. Yes, that's fortunate. But then Rose happened to notice a long gash on the Crown Prince's leg. Worried, she asked him, "Your Highness, your wound." Fossman waved it off dismissively. "It's just a scratch. Don't make a fuss." Rose wished he would take care of it sooner rather than later. Even so, it needs to be treated. Just then, she caught a glimpse of something shimmering from behind the bushes. Are there more remaining? Rose wondered what to do. If she alerted the Crown Prince, would the monster attack immediately? The figure continued to hide behind the tree. Rose slowly pulled out a red bottle. Well, it's all right. I have something prepared for moments like this. My weapon for survival in this world. Taste this. Rose swung her arm, throwing the bottle with force. The red bottle flew towards the tree, a special chili grenade made from peppers and tiny chilies. The bottle shattered upon hitting the tree trunk, and the red liquid inside splashed onto the face of the person hiding behind it. A cry of pain rang out, and Rose pumped her fist in the air triumphantly. Yes, bullseye. A man stumbled and fell to the ground, along with his sword. What is this? My eyes, he cried, clutching his face. What did you throw? Rose was a little surprised. Oh, it's a human. The man, his eyes swelling, threatened Rose. Do you know who I am? A dark shadow fell over him. The Crown Prince's eyes were blood red, filled with murderous intent. The man jumped up in fright. Oh, it's the cursed Crown Prince. Oh no, this is a misunderstanding. Your Highness. The Crown Prince didn't listen to any further explanation, delivering a decisive punch to the man's head. Rose ran over fearfully, calling out to the Crown Prince. Who was that? She worried that the Crown Prince had gone too far. Don't tell me you killed him. The man in the Crown Prince's grip was knocked unconscious. He's just passed out. Assassinating these nobles would be troublesome. Rose breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness. The Crown Prince suddenly addressed her. I saw that. You did something strange, didn't you? That red liquid seemed to have a special effect. Rose didn't want the Crown Prince to know. That wasn't red liquid, it was pepper spray. But how could she explain that? Rose decided to ask something else. Your Highness, do you know where that person came from? Fossman glared at the person still hiding behind the bushes. I didn't completely erase his presence. There's another one over there. Rose gave up on the Crown Prince. If you know, just say it. Fossman looked at the man. That face is Earl Arcus. He picked up the man's sword. If that's the case, the Crown Prince swung his arm, and the holy sword casually cut through the bushes, landing precisely where the trembling dark figure was hiding. Rose didn't understand what was happening. She looked at him in bewilderment, calling out to the Crown Prince. Fossman didn't look at her, coldly commanding, "Come out." As an acquaintance of the Crown Prince, Rose recognized the young man as well. The third prince. Cursed the Crown Prince the moment he opened his mouth. He charged forward, sword in hand. Calyx Fossman. Faced with his full-powered attack, Calyx simply blocked it with his sword. The difference in strength made grit his teeth. The Crown Prince cursed disdainfully. Annoying. Then he flicked sword into the air. Was knocked to the ground by the aftershock. The Crown Prince slowly approached him. The detailed records of the royal treasury embezzlement. Was it because of that? You wanted to silence me. But thanks to the goblin's scent pouch. The hiding place is unusable now. My clothes are dirty. How will you compensate for this? The closer the Crown Prince got, the more resisted. Stay away from me. Calyx sneered. It's not me who should leave. But you will be killed by the goblins here. With that, the Crown Prince pressed his sword against S's throat, his expression turning maniacal. Going all the way to the royal trial is such a bother. Only then did S begin to feel true fear. No, please don't, he pleaded. The blade grazed S's neck, drawing blood. He cried out in terror. Just then, Rose stepped forward, her hand outstretched to stop him. Wait, the Crown Prince gave her an icy stare. What? Do you want to die? Her hand had moved faster than her brain, and only now did she realize the danger of her actions. What am I doing? Do I want to die? Why am I interfering? The third prince, Fossman, is a villain. He embezzled royal funds, conducted illegal auctions, and violated protection laws. He tried to kill his own brother for the throne, so even if he loses his life here, it's nothing much. But Rose glanced back at the goblins. He's still just a child. More importantly, Rose was determined not to give up. Where did this thought even come from? As expected, the Crown Prince still wants to take a life. Rose bit her lip. I don't want to see the protagonist go mad. Finally, she spoke with firm resolve. You don't have to do this. Calyx looked surprised, as if he'd misheard. Rose continued to explain. He's already lost his fighting spirit. It's unlikely he'll be able to do anything else. As your Highness said, he'll probably become prey for other monsters. The Crown Prince looked at her and asked, so, just let him go. Rose nodded. Yes, your Highness doesn't need to dirty his hands with something like this. The Crown Prince's red eyes widened in surprise. Calyx moved his lips. What a saint. He turned his head away, dismissing the matter. Do as you please. The entertainment's over. Rose breathed a sigh of relief. One life saved. Calyx walked to the side. I should have finished Sv off here. Letting him go like this is dangerous. Who knows? I might be attacked again tonight. I can't believe I overlooked it because of such nonsense. From a young age, Calyx had been instilled with a very clear principle. Kill the opponent before being killed. Otherwise, survival was impossible. But St. Rose said, I don't have to do this. Calyx muttered to himself, don't do this. There's no need to do this. Returning to where Sv was, Rose addressed him. Did you hear that? You can't do anything foolish now, or you might really die. She pulled out his sword. I'll keep this. You should go. Before she could finish, Sv interrupted her. What's your name? Rose asked blankly. Yes, what? Sv asked irritably, out of habit. Are you deaf? What's your name? Rose was also irritated by his attitude. They really are brothers, aren't they? Look at that attitude. Despite thinking this, she politely introduced herself. I'm Rose, daughter of Baron Tanya. Why are you asking for my name? The third prince crossed his arms. I'll remember it. I'll repay this kindness one day. Rose found it amusing internally. What's this? He seems kind of cute. Maybe it's because he's still young, around 15. This kid and the protagonist, if not in this world, could probably be ordinary brothers, bickering over trivial things like stop playing with your phone and go study. It's probably like me and my younger brother, Lee Do-young, too. S stood up and kicked Arcus. You useless thing. Get up. How dare you lie down in front of me? She once again had to interject. Their fiery tempers are the same, too. What's wrong with their genes? Sv continued to torment Arcus with his foot. Get up before you're beheaded. Rose had to intervene. No beheading, Your Highness. Please don't step on him like that. Calyx watched everything from afar. Suddenly, the crown prince Calyx flinched. A roar echoed from the depths of the forest. The sound sent a chill down the crown prince's spine. He quickly sprang into action, drawing his weapon. Rose, over there. Get back. She asked Calyx nervously, is it another monster? His expression grew more serious. It is a monster. With the roar, a carnivorous flower emerged from the forest. It was much larger than the crown prince. The blossoms opened, revealing mouths filled with sharp teeth. They targeted the crown prince and launched their attack. Calyx felled a tree with his sword. The severed trunk crashed lifelessly to the ground. Deep green chlorophyll oozed from the wound. Calyx frowned. Strange. The sun hasn't even set, and this thing is already awake. Could it be? He glanced at the two who had just tried to ambush him. The crown prince grabbed Arcus by the collar and yanked him forward. He slammed him to the ground. What did you do? Arcus tried to wave his hands in explanation. I have nothing to do with the monster. Calyx threatened. Really? Then the crown prince threw him to the ground near the carnivorous flower. Scream like you're being swallowed by it. Panicked, Arcus stammered. It was the second prince. I saw the second prince bring the horn. The crown prince's expression hardened. This was something he hadn't anticipated. Damn it. Calyx immediately addressed Rose. Get out of here. Follow me. She quickly gathered her belongings and followed the crown prince. Where are we going? Calyx led her in the opposite direction. This place has been tainted by another race, so we have to leave before more monsters arrive. And we need to find shelter before sunset. Rose obeyed without question. Yes. Meanwhile, the third prince watched them go from where he stood. Arcus cried out, Your Highness, what should we do? The documents are in the crown prince's hands. S said calmly, Leave it for now. Let's get out of this place too. They quickly got up to leave. Before departing, S looked back. His gaze followed the girl behind the crown prince. The third prince remembered her name, Rose Tanya. In the night forest, the moonlight was exceptionally bright. The sounds of movement rustled beneath the trees. The crown prince and Rose continued moving without pause. When they reached a desolate area, Calyx suddenly shouted at her, Hey, get down. A large monster appeared behind Rose. Fortunately, the crown prince dispatched it with his sword just in time. Rose clutched her head. Thank you, Your Highness. Their current predicament worried Calyx greatly. Damn it, the monsters keep attacking. She asked the crown prince, What should we do now? The crown prince replied, We're completely surrounded, so there's nowhere to hide. Calyx ordered her, Stay behind me. The red eyes of monsters could still be seen lurking in the shadows, watching them. The crown prince spoke. This is likely because Train Fossman, the second prince, performed the ritual to awaken the deity. Rose gasped. What? Awaken who? The crown prince replied. The horn is a symbol of Mauritius, the god of darkness. Because of the horn ritual, the monsters are swarming. Calyx said to Rose, a touch of irony in his voice. One after another, they all want to kill me. His words made her feel a pang of sadness. Calyx continued, You should attach yourself to the first prince. Even though I'm the crown prince, I'm surrounded by people who want me dead. It's always been this way. Even the servants would snicker when I coughed up blood, not caring much. Oh dear, Your Highness, the food was poisoned. I can't guarantee that something similar won't happen in the future. Even the Crown Prince's normal life was affected by the attacks, leading his close aides to tell him not to stand near windows due to the risk of assassination. Calyx calmly stated the painful truth: you're digging your own grave. So, do you regret it now? Rose looked calmly at the Crown Prince, but she didn't judge him, and this made Calyx curious. Finally, she said, "Let's build a fire." The Crown Prince stared dumbfounded. "What now?" She told the Crown Prince, "I heard monsters are afraid of light, so they're also afraid of the holy sword at night." Calyx nodded. "I know that too, but how do you plan to start a fire?" Rose rummaged in her backpack. "It's simple. I brought flint and steel." Rose pulled the stones from her bag. "I'm quite prepared, aren't I?" Then Rose sat down by herself and began the task of making a fire. Before long, a small campfire flickered to life, built by her own hands. She beamed, showing it to the Crown Prince. "The fire's lit, Your Highness. Now please calm down." The Crown Prince chuckled. "You're quite useful." It was one of the few compliments she'd received from Calyx. "Well, I know that now." She answered the Crown Prince's earlier question. "No, Crown Prince Calyx." He tilted his head. "What?" Rose smiled genuinely. "I don't regret it because I'm not dead yet." Calyx was taken aback. "The emotions I've felt up until now." Rose knew everything. The Crown Prince lost his mother when he was young, and then continued to face death threats, unable to trust anyone. That was Calyx Fossman's life, truly lonely. She commented, based on her own thoughts. "How heartbreaking. Even so, there's nothing I can do because I don't belong in this world. I have no way to stop a massacre like the one during the third princess's time." She wanted to protect the male protagonist's spirit. "Before that, we need to get out of here safely. If I ask about the diary, it'll be suspicious because every time I open it, it glows. I'm afraid of being burned alive for showing a cursed diary." Calyx, sitting beside her, saw all the changing emotions on Rose's face. Her answer still echoed in his ears. "I don't regret it." Warm like the campfire in front of Calyx. At that moment, the Crown Prince suddenly sensed a killing intent. Rose was completely oblivious. "Your Highness, I'll sit here for a while." The Crown Prince reacted swiftly, rushing forward and deflecting the arrow with his sword. It happened so fast, Rose was stunned. "Why is there an arrow?" "Your Highness, are you all right?" Just behind her, a cold glint flashed. Calyx saw it from the corner of his eye. He immediately reached out and acted. The Crown Prince lunged forward, pulling Rose to the ground. An arrow pierced his chest, right in front of her. "Your Highness!" Rose stared in horror at the injured Calyx and the arrow. "It's not another race, it's humans." She immediately took off her cloak and used it to smother the fire. A simple, yet effective action. Only black smoke remained of the campfire. Rose quickly helped Calyx away from the area. "Your Highness, this way." In the darkness, the two fumbled in the opposite direction, seeking cover. A short while later, someone appeared by the extinguished campfire. Two soldiers looked at each other. What? Was the guess not correct? They were clearly nearby. They didn't know that Rose and Calyx couldn't have gone far and were hiding behind nearby bushes. "It's too dark. I can't see anything." "What's this?" As they were discussing, a bottle was suddenly thrown. The bottle landed and shattered at the assassin's feet. "What?" The two assassins looked around. "They're still nearby, but which direction should we search?" At that moment, the scent emanating from the broken bottle attracted monsters, high-level monsters. "Why are they here?" Then the monsters took revenge for Calyx. However, the Crown Prince's current situation wasn't good at all. Rose anxiously called out to him, "Your Highness, are you all right?" Calyx was gradually losing strength, but still replied sarcastically, "Too loud. Don't make a fuss." Rose looked at the bright red wound on the Crown Prince. "I pulled out the arrow, but the bleeding won't stop. If this continues, it'll be bad." "No, Calyx is the main character, so there's no way he'll die here. If he dies..." She remembered his smile as he looked at her. "But that really can't happen, right?" Everything terrified her. The characters in the book are also people. If they die, it's over. I can't let him just end like this. Rose called out to the gradually fading Calyx, "Your Highness, can you hear me?" "Don't sleep, Your Highness." His complexion was worse than before. "His condition is so strange. Could it be poison? What should I do?" At times like this, everyone else can overcome the crisis, so why am I like this? Rose's tears welled up. "Please, anyone, anything help me." At that moment, she felt a light. Was it the diary again? She hurriedly opened her luggage, where the light was strongest. Rose took out the diary. Is it helping me? Today, I met Mr. Melroy. He told me about the cursed Hamlet Mountains. Mauritius, the deity of the rebellious kingdom, is buried underground. The monsters appear because of the deity's curse. This was something most people knew. Rare herbs, mutated by the curse's influence, all grow on the Hamlet Mountains. This fact wasn't widely known. Rose had an idea. That's right, the herbs. She quickly flipped through the pages until she found a passage about herbs with hemostatic and detoxifying effects. Rose was delighted to find explanations and illustrations of the herbs in the diary. Where can I find them? She immediately read the description. Deep in the mountains was the habitat of the moonlight butterfly. A glowing butterfly wing fluttered past her. If you follow the faint light emitted by the butterflies, a cave will appear. Rose carried the crown prince for a while and arrived at the place. A small cave with hundreds of moonlight butterflies inside. Only those who are permitted can enter. The butterflies flew towards Rose as if to attack her, but when she raised her hand, they dispersed. This cave is the origin of all sorts of rare herbs. At this point, Crown Prince Calyx, though unconscious, was still restless. My head hurts so much. Where am I? Why am I lying here? Right, I was hit by a poison arrow. Someone's nagging in my ear. It seems the fever has subsided. Your Highness needs to rehydrate. Whatever. I'm too tired. I just want to sleep more. But someone poured water into his mouth. The voice kept calling Your Highness, then scolded. How long are you going to sleep? Honestly, Calyx thought groggily, what am I hearing right now? The person beside him wrung out a water-soaked cloth. The voice continued to complain. If you really had a conscience, you'd give a bigger allowance. Calyx was bewildered. What? The person went on. What am I doing with this grown man? Honestly. Calyx didn't recognize any of the words just spoken. A language I don't know. Whose language is this? Suddenly, he felt the cloth wiping his chest, touching a certain spot. Rose was still chattering beside him. Those crazy people shot a poison arrow. That's why I'm behind schedule. Calyx thought, what is this person saying? What are they doing? Her hand continued to wipe his body. Although there's no other way, his body really is beautiful. I'm not undressing him with any ulterior motives. His shoulders are almost as wide as the Pacific Ocean. Since I have to treat him, this is the most appropriate measure. Rose's hand slowly moved towards Calyx's pants. Alarm bells rang loudly in his mind. Wait a minute, where's that hand going? The Crown Prince, extremely anxious, finally turned his hand and grabbed the mischievous hand. The Crown Prince woke up to protect his pants. Rose stared at him blankly. Calyx asked irritably, what are you doing? Unexpectedly, she burst into tears, clutching his hand. Your Highness, you're awake. Thank goodness. I was so worried because you weren't waking up. I forgot. Have some water first. Calyx said angrily. Hey, are you trying to change the subject? She chuckled. Oh, it couldn't be that. Calyx reached for the water cup and looked around as he drank. He saw a cave, shimmering with a diamond-like light, filled with moonlight butterflies. Where is this? There are even rare medicinal herbs nearby. Rose called to Calyx again. Your Highness, you must be hungry, right? I prepared food for you. It was a roasted sweet potato. He was suspicious. Although this person had saved his life, Calyx was still wary. Where did she come from? Calyx looked at the food Rose gave him. This is the first time I've seen this dish. Rose simply explained that it was a fiber-rich tuber, quite delicious. She was surprised to find they didn't eat sweet potatoes here. In my hometown, we often eat them as a snack during the cold winter. We have to have roasted sweet potatoes. Rose sighed inwardly. I miss the roasted sweet potatoes sold in front of my house so much. The Crown Prince hesitated for a moment, then finally picked it up and took a bite. The taste surprised him, his eyes widening. It's sweet and warm. It's a roasted sweet potato. Rose watched his expression and asked, is it to your liking? It seems you enjoy it. Crumbs still clung to the corner of the Crown Prince's mouth. Though it was delicious, he didn't want to admit it. It's not bad. Rose chuckled inwardly. I'm used to this reaction by now. Does he know what his expression looks like when he eats? He clearly likes it, but he's so shy. Calyx seriously held up the sweet potato. Now, just the skin. Don't change the subject with this. Aren't you going to explain yourself to me? Rose's head began to ache. I thought I was in the clear. Calyx fired off questions. Where is this? How did you know about such a place? How am I still alive? That was a poisoned arrow. I shouldn't have been able to withstand it. Calyx had long sensed something unusual. An untrained, Maid has saved my life multiple times. Is that even possible? If anything, she was becoming more suspicious. She had spoken a language he didn't understand earlier. Brought food he had never seen before. Who are you? Are you an ally sent by the deities, or an exceedingly sophisticated enemy? Calyx gritted his teeth. No, the bigger question is. The Crown Prince looked thoughtfully at the girl before him. Rose was still smiling at him, though her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. He's staring at me with that terrifying look. Stop looking at me like that, she thought dejectedly. No matter how you look at it, I am suspicious, right? But it's okay, because I've already thought of an answer. Rose began to explain to the Crown Prince, I don't know either. She chose honesty over fabrication. The Crown Prince was taken aback by her answer. Rose elaborated, I don't know where this is either. I was just wandering around, thinking that I had to protect your highness from the assassins, but I saw a mysterious butterfly. I followed it and then stumbled upon these precious herbs. I had an herbalist by my side, so I learned a lot from them. I didn't even know this would work. I suppose the deities blessed me to save you. Although the fever has subsided, you must be hungry because you've expended energy. Calyx gestured for her to stop. Enough. Rose breathed a sigh of relief. I guess it's over, right? The Crown Prince's hands clenched at his sides. The bigger problem than this suspicious maid is that I hope she'll be an ally. An old memory surfaced in the Crown Prince's mind. There was once a maid he was very close to. Your Highness, I brought some cookies. Let's eat them while we read. He was young then and trusted this maid completely. What book is it today? Today it's the story of the prince who rescued the princess sleeping in the forest. The Crown Prince chuckled at the thought. Even so, it seems my mind still isn't clear enough, is it? Calyx Fossman, trust no one, not even blood relatives or close friends. If it's a maid, I definitely can't trust them. Despite reminding himself not to trust anyone, in the face of her smile and gentle care, the Crown Prince gradually wavered. The campfire slowly died out. As dawn broke, Rose stretched and woke up, greeting the bright morning light. Great, it's morning. It looks like there aren't any more monsters. Your Highness, can you walk now? The Crown Prince was slowly putting his clothes back on. He could stand on his own. Ready, he picked up his sword. The Crown Prince emerged from the cave, declaring he was fine. Despite that, she still noticed something had shifted. Calyx seemed unusually melancholic. Right, it had to be that. His brothers were plotting against his life. I hope he can regain his spirit. She suddenly exclaimed, Your Highness, it looks like you'll take first place in this coming-of-age ceremony. Your sword is very sharp. She sincerely encouraged the Crown Prince. Come on, don't be disheartened. Calyx's lips moved as if he wanted to say something. But in the end, he turned away. It's amazing that you can stay so positive. Rose asked, where are we going now? The Crown Prince looked at the path ahead. To the temple. The other princes will gather there as well. We have to finish this damn ceremony. Calyx muttered to himself again, don't trust. He said to Rose, we're going there and taking first place, just like you said. Rose replied with a smile, yes. The Crown Prince said to himself, I must make use of this suspicious maid. At the banquet, everyone was chatting amongst themselves. Have you heard anything? I heard that many monsters we've never seen before have appeared this time. I heard the temple knights seem to be in a hurry this morning. Is that the reason? The first prince looked as elegant as ever. It seemed the second prince hadn't encountered any significant trouble. The third prince must have just gone through something difficult. How pitiful. There's one more person who hasn't arrived. Where is His Highness, the Crown Prince? As soon as the words were spoken, heavy footsteps echoed. His Highness, the Crown Prince, has arrived. Hearing this, the crowd was stunned. Entering alongside Calyx was Rose, looking exhausted and lifeless. As soon as he entered, he looked around the room. The man said, what's wrong? Calyx simply responded with a murderous glare. The man was terrified. Calyx approached, placed his hand on the man's shoulder, and whispered, You're safe and sound, aren't you, brother? It seems you regret that I survived. Even so, you should control your expression. If you're found out, not only you, but everyone around you will be executed, right? As the atmosphere grew tense, a girl dressed in priestly attire approached. She said, His Highness the Crown Prince's room has been prepared. Could you come with me? I understand. I'll be there shortly. Don't do anything you can't handle. If it's the next time, I won't let you off so easily. Watching him turn and leave, the man clicked his tongue in displeasure. Afterwards, the girl led the two of them to a room that looked very large and luxurious. The servants will be here soon. After you change, you just need to go to the chapel. So please rest comfortably. As soon as the girl left, leaving the two of them alone, Rose said, We made it down the mountain safely. The other princes must be all right too. You've worked hard, Your Highness. Rose spoke at length, but he responded with only a few curt words. Yes. The room suddenly fell awkwardly silent. Rose thought, why is he angry again? Is it because of the other princes? She said, then I'll be in the next room. If you need anything, just call me. Suddenly, he turned around and called out with a sharp look, where are you going? I don't need any other servants, so if they come, tell them to leave. Stay here, and don't open the door unless necessary. As he spoke, he unbuttoned his shirt, one button at a time. Rose thought, isn't he going to take a bath? I've seen it on TV, but he doesn't need other servants, so he wants me to bathe him. Her mind was now a whirlwind of these tangled thoughts. Attending to him in the bath, thinking of his sculpted body, she couldn't control herself. But it wasn't as she imagined. He pushed open the door and went straight into the bathroom. Rose said, Your Highness, although I've never done this before, I'll do my best. Calyx didn't understand what she meant. Rose didn't say any more. She tied up her hair, rolled up her sleeves, and readied herself, so that His Highness won't be inconvenienced. I'll do my best to wash you clean, every nook and cranny. I'll try my best. I'll wash you clean. Calyx stood there, dumbfounded. Suddenly, a sensitive image flashed through his mind, and he immediately stopped her from entering the room. Slamming the door shut, Rose stood there dumbfounded, her hair disheveled. Later, within the Grand Cathedral, both of them had changed into neat attire. The reason the main character wouldn't let me out of the room, I suppose, was a safety issue. Recalling his warning, the assassins might still be around, so stay put. Why not just make that clear from the beginning? Why cause such confusion? Anyway, I've made up my mind. Her gaze swept over the other princes, then landed on Calyx, noting the stark contrast. One adorned with gold and silver, the other with practically nothing. Calyx's attire couldn't be too simple, could it? If she had known beforehand, she would have brought some jewelry. The crown prince of the kingdom, destined to inherit the throne, was the king's third son and the queen's son. But he was a rebellious one, without significant support, and due to various rumors, he wasn't popular among the populace, or at least that's what the other servants said. And the most gorgeously dressed person here was the one who currently held the most power. The first prince, Gerald Fossman, the queen's eldest son, and the older brother of the third prince. Thanks to his gentle nature and elegant demeanor, he was the people's favorite prince, seen as more suitable to be king than Calyx. But in the end, he was killed by Calyx. There must be something untold. Seeing her staring at him, he gave her a brilliant smile. Rose thought, what the heck? Why is he smiling at me? What's the reason? Seeing his smile, Rose felt frozen. Suddenly, Calyx beside her spoke, having regrets. Should have sided with the first prince, not the crown prince. Is that it? Hearing him say that, she was taken aback. That's not fair, Your Highness. I've never thought that way. After all, Calyx will eventually become the king. He said, good. It's best not to think that way in the future. If you betray me, I'll kill you without mercy. Rose looked at him with a calm expression. She thought, what is this? If I had heard these words before, I would have been terrified. But now, she was about to reach out and hold his hand when a voice interrupted. The Pope has entered. This startled her, freezing her in place. Seeing this, Calyx asked, why are you startled? Rose quickly denied, it's nothing, Your Highness. She thought, I was so startled I almost patted his head. If I had continued to pat him like that. An image of her hand touching his head, followed by a scene of her own execution, flashed through her mind. The Pope had now entered the hall, a young man with an unblemished face. Rose thought, this person is the Pope. He certainly looks the part. Then he declared in a loud voice, holding a glowing scepter, the great light of Chemith shines upon the kingdom once more. Suddenly, Rose felt something strange. We live in a beautiful world protected by God, but the symbol of wicked desires yearns for the light and the destruction of the world. The audience, as if hypnotized, praised him fervently. The great Chemith spoke to the first king, banished the darkness, and bestowed the power of light upon all things. The audience erupted in enthusiastic cheers. In contrast to them, Rose stood trembling in the corner. Why do I feel so creeped out? What is this feeling? The applause continued. Cut open their bellies, kill their children. The two princes, and even the crown prince, remained calm. Rest in the earth, for the darkness is destroyed, and the age of light will last forever. Chemith's gaze frightened Rose. Quite a few members were seated at the banquet table. Drinks had also been prepared. Rose sat near Calyx. What was that just now? It gave me goosebumps. The atmosphere felt incredibly contrived. Thinking back to what had just happened, she couldn't help but tremble. What was it? Even though the main character didn't seem like he would do that. Because I'm Korean, I just can't understand. Could it have been his gaze just now? Everyone was applauding, and I was the only one who wasn't. Was that it? But I'm not used to that kind of atmosphere. She was troubled by her chaotic thoughts. The The first prince, observing this, remarked, I don't understand why you brought her, and not Chris. Calyx replied, why don't you stop being so concerned? He said, I can't, because she's the one who will be supporting my important younger brother. Isn't that right, Mrs. Stania? Hearing her name mentioned, she lifted her head, thinking, I wish he wouldn't be so concerned. She replied, yes, your highness. He said, no need to be so formal. You're here, as a lady today. Rose thought, why is he pretending to be friendly? I don't want the main character to misunderstand. So she replied, thank you for your concern, but I'm not here as a lady, but to assist the crown prince. So please continue as you were. He looked surprised. A burst of laughter suddenly erupted. I was wondering what kind of woman you were. Oh, my brother allows you to stay by his side. Bold and straightforward. My brother has a talented person by his side, your highness. Rose raised her glass, a smile playing on her lips, thinking, is he praising me? His personality seems better than I thought. The prince beside Calyx looks like an angel. Calyx said, that's good, because someone might send guests at any time. Rose thought, if it's guests, does he mean assassins? Was the assassin we encountered yesterday sent by the first prince? He replied, as expected of the beloved crown prince. She thought, beloved, yet almost died. The main character almost died yesterday, you wicked person. I take back my thoughts about his seemingly good personality. Trip and break your nose while walking. The first prince asked, is that Tyne over there? The young man replied, yes, your highness. This is the first time I've had the honor of greeting you. I am Lucas Tyneal, your highness. Gerald replied, of course, I've heard of you. Your marksmanship is as excellent as your swordsmanship. Hearing himself being praised, he was pleased. That's just an exaggeration, your highness. Calyx said, no, there's no such thing. It wouldn't be difficult to aim for the shoulder of prey in a dark forest, would it? Hearing this, the man's face paled. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became unusually somber. The first prince broke the silence. Let's end the small talk here for now. It's about time. The door to the room suddenly opened. It's time for the king's arrival. Now everyone was seated at the dining table. Rose thought, is this the main character's father? The king didn't appear directly in the novel as the story began after his death. Was it because Calyx killed him? He didn't look like he died of an illness. His complexion wasn't good at all. Rose wondered if he was in any pain. I'm glad everyone returned safely. Please enjoy your meal, the king said. Various delicacies were laid out on the table. There's a face I haven't seen before. At that moment, Rose suddenly stood up. This is my first time greeting you, your majesty. I am Rose, daughter of Baron Estania, and maid to the crown prince. Hearing this, the king nodded. Estania, I've heard that name before. Didn't you lose both your parents to the epidemic? There was nothing I could do at the time, as I was unaware of the difficulties in the Estania territory. I hope you don't take it to heart. So that's what he meant, huh? Activating Rita Rowan's dialogue analysis skill. The past epidemic already had developed treatments. The territory's difficulty was the lack of funds to purchase it, thus resulting in deaths. So that's what he meant. According to this body's memories, Rose's parents did indeed meet such a fate. If this were truly Rose, she might have been hurt by those words. Rose thought, well, it doesn't matter to me anyway. Thank you for your understanding of the territory situation. I am grateful for your majesty's grace. Is that so? Did you encounter any difficulties during the birthday celebration? It wouldn't have been easy for an untrained body to survive amongst the monsters without help. That much is clear. Only me and the main character. Why ask such a question? Should I praise your majesty's son now? Your majesty's son was a great help. Thanks to his highness's excellent martial skills, despite the dangerous situation, he provided significant assistance. He fought bravely. Your majesty's son is truly remarkable. Boundless divine grace. The king stroked his beard and asked, is that so? Rose breathed a sigh of relief. Good job. We were quite alarmed. What's with that expression, Maid? It seems Lady Estania is still not feeling well. No, not at all, I'm fine. Lost in thought, a sway suddenly stepped on Rose's foot, nearly making her cry out. Hamel's magic was truly unusual this time, wasn't it? Are you injured somewhere? Fortunately, Miss Estania is quite knowledgeable about herbs. Rose thought, all thanks to that diary. Even though I was seriously injured, I was able to escape the mountains safely. It seems my shoulder was hit by an arrow. Gerald Fossman eavesdropped on the conversation from the side, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the table. This must have been caused by other races. wasn't it? Asway laughed pleasantly at this. The king suddenly chuckled. Then he laughed loudly, causing everyone to turn towards him. It's best to maintain a good relationship with the temple. I must meet with the Pope tomorrow. At this, Asway's expression wasn't very cheerful. Everyone returned to their previous dining state. Rose sat alone on a park bench. Afterwards, the royal knights searched all of Hamel and found the bull's horn, although they couldn't discover that it was the second prince's doing. In the ensuing chaos, the second prince targeted the properties of nobles found at the corresponding locations. The second prince covered his tracks and escaped, a close noble taking the blame and being executed. If you describe the main character's words and actions at the birthday ceremony, it's like this. This is snitching. I was injured. I'm the victim. That's right. I'm not the culprit. I caught the culprit. Rose thought, I never knew he had this side to him. Thanks to this, the case was closed without any investigation or trial. Suddenly, Aaron's voice called out to Rose. Snacks are here. I was afraid you'd be hungry, so I snuck some from the kitchen. So the two sat down and chatted, Rose holding the pastry and eating it deliciously. The sky at this moment was exceptionally clear. It had been a long time since she felt this peaceful, but suddenly Rose became annoyed. I had to work overtime yesterday. Seeing this, Aaron reminded her, Rose, the wrapper isn't for eating. Even if she's a maid, isn't this much overtime too much? Since the main character will become king anyway, does he need to be this diligent? It's not like being diligent will make him king. Rose, are you done eating? It would be nice if he didn't kill his brothers and become a tyrant. If the tyrant route disappears, will he meet the female lead? That's right. If he doesn't meet the female lead, I can't go back. Could it be? Let's go for a walk, Aaron said. That won't do, or let's go out. Calyx and the female lead have to become a couple for me to go back, right? I have to be happy in Korea. I have my family. There's no reason not to go back. Aaron kept calling her name, so Rose absent-mindedly brushed her hand across Aaron's face. Ouch. Sorry, are you okay? You surprised me. I kept calling you, but you didn't answer. What were you thinking about? You weren't messing with me, were you? Rose hesitated, unsure how to respond. I was thinking about which came first, the chicken or the egg. What are you reading? A philosophy book. Nothing much, just thinking about whether fate is predetermined or not. Aaron murmured the word fate. It's absolute. At this, Rose asked, surprised, what? Predetermined fate can't be changed, especially if you're a commoner. Rose still didn't understand what Aaron was trying to say. Aaron just smiled gently. Since you're finished eating, let's go inside. What? Why aren't you continuing? Where did that fate thing come from? A history book, mythology, or something? Aaron hesitated at the questions. He suddenly turned and said, You really are as foolish as I thought. Rose was now quite angry. Since we're done eating, let's go in. I'll go in first. Then, catching up to him, Rose said, Wait a minute, why are you picking a fight? Who are you calling foolish? That's from the scriptures. Everyone in the kingdom knows that. Hearing this, Rose thought, in this world with a low literacy rate, scriptures are a luxury. Fine, I'm a fool. So, what about predetermined fate? The maid just stood there looking at Rose. She seemed to sense something and turned her face away. But it seemed someone tripped her, causing soup to splash onto Rose. A bowl of soup, and the maid tumbled to the floor, Rose's dress stained with the soup. Seeing this, Aaron rushed over and asked Rose, Are you all right? Are you hurt? I'm fine. The maid apologized fearfully. Tears suddenly streamed down her face. The two from earlier sneered pointedly. They were truly malicious, something Rose had noticed for a while. So she extended her hand and said, I'm all right. Are you hurt? Dulcie, right? It seems you've been working hard lately, and the fatigue has accumulated. I'll clean this up. You should go back and rest. Lady Estania, Dulcie's tears flowed. So Rose hugged Dulcie and said, It's okay. Go back. I'll go first. Rose started to glare at the people from before. The head maid, standing behind the corner, heard the entire conversation. She simply watched them for a long moment, then turned and left, paying them no further mind. At this moment, Rose was asking Aaron for help, but Aaron was someone who disliked cleaning. Shouldn't I be doing some work? I'm going to change the Crown Prince's palace. Give me strength. I'm suddenly reminded of when I was a class president and committee head. The source of the water must be clear for the downstream water to be clear. I need to systematically change the Crown Prince's palace. I absolutely need to change this terrible work environment. Give me strength. Night in the royal palace. Calyx was fast asleep when he suddenly heard a voice call, Your Highness. It was the head maid who had entered the room. Are you unable to sleep again? Or did you have a nightmare? Sleeping pills are not good for your highness's young body. I will read to you until you fall asleep. How mysterious fairy tales are. Most of them are like this. Next time I'll find a book you like better. Your Highness, did you send the assassins? Calyx burrowed back under the covers. He felt extremely unwell due to a severe headache and insomnia. Morning in the royal palace. Calyx, uncomfortably adjusting his clothes, asked, "What if I don't agree? Then I won't do it." "You mean you're going to fire the headmaid?" Rose cheerfully replied, "Yes." When Calyx asked why, Rose replied, "The headmaid has too much power in the crown prince's palace. She's even a pawn of the duchess. That's why assassins can easily enter and exit the crown prince's palace. Is there any reason to continue observing until now? It's best not to touch the crown prince's forces. If I personally intervene, the situation will become more complicated. Moreover, the headmaid has been my nanny since I was very young. If I fire her, it will cause a lot of gossip." Rose had just learned this, but what could stop a fratricide from firing a nanny? "You mean you're waiting for the right time? Then you can create a reason to convince everyone." Calyx felt very suspicious. It seemed she had a plan. That's right. As someone who existed in Korea's dynamic society, what is this power struggle? Spread the truth like a rumor. Just wait. The headmaid. Calyx recalled the first time he saw the headmaid. She was very beautiful back then. Calyx looked at her with unfamiliar eyes. At first, it was clearly sympathy. Born with noble status, shouldering responsibilities from a young age. In the end, the pitiful child who lost his mother was me. I had hoped for at least a little comfort, but there was a lot of money back then. Recently, I heard you're in financial trouble because of your husband's debts. How about this? As long as you do as I ask, I will pay off your debts and give you a worthy reward. It's not a difficult request. It won't affect your life. Back then, someone stabbed His Highness in the back, causing His Highness to eat poisoned food. Everyone panicked. "Quickly, call the doctor." The headmaid was extremely panicked. "What should I do? I was the one who poisoned His Highness's food. If it's discovered, I'll be executed." "No, the Duke will handle it. Besides, he's not dead yet. So isn't this good? There's no other choice. The Crown Prince has no power, so he can't do anything for me. If I can't bring money and honor, I have no choice but to seek it myself." A few days later, His Highness requested a private meeting with the headmaid. Calyx's expression was extremely sorrowful. The headmaid didn't seem to care. "At least I'll take the money I received as past childcare fees." Mira suddenly realized something. "I heard Rose is receiving the Crown Prince's favor." Rose now understood what was happening. For example, isn't Rose His Highness's lover? Did she target him and become a maid? "Stop, I don't want to know anymore." Mira laughed cheerfully and said, "It's okay, because I don't believe Rose would do that." "That's right. Thank you." Aaron was lying on the table when he heard Rose call his name. Apparently, the relationship between Tran and the headmaid isn't good. Every time they meet, they argue. I saw it with my own eyes. It's clear. That's right. Does that saying apply all over the world? All right, Aaron, keep a close eye on Tran's every move and report back to me. Mira spread rumors among the maids. The maid who pushed Dulce was clearly one of the headmaid's people. It seems she's worried about me gaining power. If that side likes it, then this side will indulge them. In another scene, the headmaid was hurrying along. It turned out she was chasing after Rose. She demanded, "Let's talk first." "You're quick to react, headmaid. What are you doing here? You spread that rumor, didn't you?" Rose thought, "She's so stupid. If you ask so directly, will anyone admit it?" What rumor?" Rose feigned ignorance. "Don't play dumb. The rumor that I'm having an affair with Duke Tyneal. You spread it, didn't you?" "What?" "The headmaid is having an affair with the Duke." "Who would spread such a ridiculous rumor, if not you? Do you know how much trouble I've been in because of that rumor?" "Well, I wouldn't know." Rose replied nonchalantly, "I'm the Duke's lover." The headmaid clenched her fists. "Be careful what you say." In any case, because of the illegitimate child, the headmaid accidentally let it slip, causing her to stutter, unable to say anything. "Illegitimate child. I've got you." She was trying to explain. "So, the relationship between me and the Duke." "What illegitimate child?" The headmaid snapped. "You don't need to know. I heard about it." "So, the Duke has an illegitimate child. If this scandal breaks out at this time, it will be troublesome, won't it? How dare you mention him? It seems you're quite close to the Duke." "The Duke is the Crown Prince's supporter." "Do you know what you're saying?" "Of course. The Duke personally gave me poison to kill His Highness. But I didn't do it. How am I still alive?" "You're completely wrong, headmaid." Now enraged at being discovered, the headmaid shoved Rose to the ground. "Traitor, do you think the Duke will let you live? How dare you?" Suddenly, the sound of a shattering lamp rang out. Everyone behind them heard the entire story. She was terrified, as now she couldn't explain further. At this moment, Rose was putting on a pitiful act. Headmaid, please tell the Duke I don't want to die yet. Is it a crime not to poison someone? Get up. I didn't know the headmaid was really having an affair with the Duke. But the Crown Princess's maid isn't allowed to associate with the Duke. At this moment, the Crown Prince suddenly appeared. The head maid had nowhere to escape. The head maid was arrested. She showed no remorse and even appeared annoyed. Rose pointed at the head maid and said to Crown Prince Calyx Fossman, "Your Highness, she is a criminal who attempted to assassinate the royal family." The head maid denied it. "Your Highness, this is a conspiracy." Rose laughed. "Conspiracy? What conspiracy? Everyone here saw it." The head maid cursed angrily. "Damn it." Rose continued, "However, if you bring—" Just then, Aaron arrived. "Rose, I brought the person Rose mentioned." With just a glance, Rose and Aaron understood each other. Rose quickly said, "Tell me quickly, what is your relationship with the head maid?" Elgin immediately spoke up. "I have something to say." The head maid said that if I killed a member of the royal family, she would provide medicine for my mother for life. Having said that, Elgin sat down heavily. What am I saying? On the other hand, Rose was quite satisfied, as Elgin's words were very effective. "Lady Harrington, you have lived a valuable life, serving as His Majesty's nanny and head maid for a long time. But if you have no loyalty and only breed greed, your sins will outweigh your merits." The head maid denied it. "No, Rose continued, "His Majesty was slandered for personally killing the assassin. Out of concern for the past, he endured it silently without giving any explanation." When they heard Rose's words, everyone was afraid. "So, the maid who died in the bedroom, was it something like this?" Suddenly, Rose burst into tears. "How could you become such a person? How could you personally kill the person you raised?" Everyone followed her in tears. "What a sad story, poor His Highness." Rose said to Crown Prince Calyx Fossman, "Now is the time to make a decision. This might be a bit presumptuous, but as the Crown Prince's maid, I request this." Then Rose knelt down and pleaded with the Crown Prince. "Calyx Fossman, please punish her." Everyone also knelt down. "Please punish her." Seeing everyone so united, Crown Prince Calyx Fossman still didn't know what to say. "I thought dealing with her would feel more dreadful, as it severs my childhood, but thanks to that foolish maid." Crown Prince Calyx Fossman said, "All right." Rose looked at Crown Prince Calyx Fossman in surprise. Calyx Fossman drew his sword. The head maid panicked. "Yes, Your Highness, you can't do this to me. How'd I raise you? You know I've been overlooking it, but Nanny, you've crossed the line." The head maid trembled. I also read you books. Let's talk about this." Calyx Fossman raised his sword. "I think it's too late." Just as he was about to deal with the head maid, Rose shouted, "No." Then she ran out to stop Calyx Fossman. Calyx Fossman asked Rose, "What is it this time?" "Move." Rose silently looked at Calyx Fossman, recalling what Calyx Fossman had said 3 minutes prior. "All right." Then Calyx Fossman drew his sword, which startled Rose. "Why is he using that? Wait, is this different from my plan? Is he going to chop her head off in front of me? The head maid certainly deserves to be executed. But wait, I worked hard to create sympathetic public opinion. If the head maid is beheaded here, won't it be a big problem? What should I do? If this continues, my plan might fail." Calyx Fossman spoke, "I think you're going too far." Rose hurriedly ran back, shouting no. Calyx Fossman asked Rose. "Now?" She says no. "Why?" She replied, "Oh, I mean she's still useful." Hearing this, Calyx Fossman was perplexed. Rose hadn't finished her statement when Calyx Fossman turned around and said, "All right, Rule, I'll leave it to you." He turned to look at the head maid. "This is the end. No more issues." Rose thought, actually, even if the head maid is dealt with here, it won't be that difficult. The Duke will naturally try to attach himself to the advantageous side. Public opinion might not be a big problem. But Rose looked at Calyx Fossman, gazing at his face for a long moment. "I don't want to see him kill someone." Suddenly, Aaron and Mira shouted together, "Rose." Both of them gestured to Rose. "Great." Rose smiled happily. "Well, in any case, the problem has been resolved for now." That same day, Rose went to see Crown Prince Calyx Fossman. Calyx Fossman asked Rose, "So, why spare the head maid's life?" Rose knew Calyx Fossman would ask, so she had prepared an answer beforehand. "As you saw that day, several people sympathized with Your Highness's position. If the head maid is killed now, Your Highness's reputation is unlikely to change. Although this is a bit disrespectful, Your Highness." Calyx Fossman interrupted, "What about His Highness?" Rose immediately said, "These are just the words of a lowly maid. Your Highness can ignore them if you wish. Don't you think a maid like me is messing up too many things?" Seeing that Rose seemed afraid of him, Calyx Fossman said, "All right, go on. What about His Highness?" I know this shouldn't have been handled so severely, but because I've been trembling, my body is still shaking. Naturally, Your Highness, it seems only Rule is left. Rose's words startled both Rule and Calyx Fossman. What? It then reminded both Rule and Calyx Fossman of the book The Night Beside the Tyrant, which was a bestseller at the Crimson Bookstore. Rose hurriedly said, "No, that's not what I meant." Calyx Fossman asked Rose again, "Then what does it mean?" "It seems that only Sir Rule can help Your Highness. So please consider this as an opportunity to increase support for Your Highness." Calyx Fossman was silent for a moment, then invited Rose to sit down. "How can I sit with Your Highness?" Calyx Fossman said sternly, "Stop talking and sit down." "Go on. You're saying you'll gain support for me. Specifically who?" "Wait, can I use a cup?" Rose said, "This is a story I heard when I was young. In that story, the monarch is the tea leaves, a boat floating on the water, and the water is the common people." Rose paused, blew on the boat on the water in the cup, and continued, "If there is water, the boat can move like this, but if there is no water, the boat will just stay there, unable to move. Even if the nobles side with other princes, they're just sails or oars." Calyx Fossman looked at Rose. "You mean, when the support of the people of the kingdom, not the nobles. Your Highness is truly wise." Hearing Rose's praise, Calyx Fossman felt pleased inwardly and smiled at her. "Interesting. This is the first time in my life I've heard this analogy." Seizing the opportunity, Rose immediately told Calyx Fossman, "So, if you could give me some authority to handle things later." Calyx Fossman roared, "Do it yourself." "With that matter handled, there's one more thing I need to clarify. You said earlier that only Rule is on my side. So what about you? Are you on my side?" Rose looked up at Calyx Fossman. If this were before, he might have tried every possible way to find an excuse to execute me. Why? Why do I always feel he's so pitiful? "Yes, Your Highness. I'm on your side." As soon as she finished speaking, Rose hurried outside. At this time, Rule and Calyx Fossman were still in the room. Rule said, "Your Highness, do you really believe that Maid, Lady Denia?" "No, that's impossible. I don't trust anyone. The nobles flatter me, and so do the people who work in this palace. You too, Rule. Didn't you hear what Lady Denia said? If it weren't for her, Your Highness would truly be all alone." After he finished speaking, Rule looked at Calyx Fossman. "Although you say you don't trust anyone, Your Highness's attitude has changed recently. Curious, trusting, full of goodwill. If it stopped here, it would be fine. But if you continue to give more affection." Recalling the image of the crown prince about to kill the head Maid with his sword, Rule felt uneasy. Whether it's death or betrayal, if you lose someone again, what will become of Your Highness? I must observe more carefully. The head maid was locked in the dungeon. "How dare you do this to me, you ungrateful wretch? What am I supposed to do?" Rose came to see the head maid. "Haven't you come to your senses yet?" She looked at the head maid with murderous eyes. "Still haven't woken up." Rose began to speak. Rose stood in front of the prison door, her face grim. The head maid was surprised to see her appear there. She immediately rushed over and grabbed the bars. "It's you. How dare you?" The head maid roared angrily. Unable to bear the noise, Rose covered her mouth. She reminded the head maid to be quiet. "You shouldn't be like this to me. I saved you in that hallway when you were almost beheaded. Or should I say, it would be better to execute you now." Rose said coldly. The startled head maid fell silent. She nodded in agreement, and only then did Rose slowly release her hand. Rose had something to confirm. She told the head maid she had something to ask. She considered Rose's Tanya an extra character who appeared in the Blood Moon Empire, a cog in the world's gears, a character so insignificant that she wasn't even mentioned in the novel. But some things were strange. Mira was the only one who remembered the original Rose's Tanya exactly. Besides the items provided by the royal family, only the right to the diary was suspicious. How could a person who existed in this world not leave any trace? Rose pondered, and this puzzled her even more. Just who was Rose's Tanya? Thinking this, she asked the head maid, "Why, out of so many maids, did you bring me before His Highness?" The head maid didn't expect Rose to ask such a question. She hesitated for a moment. "Because you were always an abnormal person." Hearing the head maid say this, Rose was incredulous. Once upon a time, on a snowy day, the head maid was on her way to the crown prince's residence. At that time, the head maid found Rose sitting alone in a corner, and she wondered if she was a beggar. But the head maid judged that if so, her appearance couldn't be so clean. Seeing this, she approached and reminded her that she wasn't allowed to sit there. This is the Crown Prince's palace. It seemed that Tanya's consciousness wasn't very clear at that time. She absent-mindedly repeated the words she had just heard. Suddenly, she reached out and grabbed the head maid's wrist. Rose pleaded earnestly, "I want to work in the Crown Prince's palace." The head maid asked in surprise, "What did you say?" But Rose, like a programmed machine, persistently pleaded with her. Rose's appearance seemed to bewitch the head maid's mind. A person with no family and an unstable mind, yet her appearance and clothes were rather decent. The head maid considered this, wondering if she might be a runaway noble lady or a concubine from some family. Either way, she could be useful. Then the head maid said to Rose, "Is that so? If that's the case, then let me give you a task." Back in the present, she explained, "Anyway, you're a dead woman walking, so it doesn't matter if you're conscious, obedient, or easily controlled. But only when it comes to that diary. You become a foolish illiterate who treasures it like a precious jewel." The head maid scoffed. Rose, on the other hand, hadn't expected herself to be illiterate. Then what had she been reading all this time? Suddenly, the head maid raised her voice. "What's wrong with you lately? Have you been pretending all along?" She angrily accused Rose and the Crown Prince of deceiving her. Rose asked, "Do you really think so?" She simply stated, "His Highness knew you betrayed him long ago, but he didn't execute you immediately." "Do you know why?" The head maid said triumphantly, "Of course, it's because his power is less than the Duke's. No matter how small the power, it can be exercised without being known. His Highness really trusts you. This is the matter His Highness entrusted to me." Rose spoke, and the head maid looked at the two books in Rose's hands with surprise. Fear flickered across her face as she took in the sight. When the Crown Prince was young, she used to tell him fairy tales and promised to find him more books he would like. Just as she was about to leave, Calyx Fossman told her to wait. The little prince said shyly, "I didn't say I didn't need them. Just leave them there and go." After Rose left, the two fairy tale books were abandoned on the floor. The head maid knelt down, seemingly regretful. Leaving the dungeon, Rose walked away irritably, thinking, should I have just let the head maid die? She couldn't believe words like, "because the Crown Prince's power is less than the Duke's," could actually be uttered. While it wasn't wrong, she couldn't accept it. The fact was, Calyx Fossman's mother was executed, so how difficult would it be for him to execute the nanny who had always been by his side? In the original story, he spared the nanny, but even so, he became emperor under such harsh conditions. Rose pondered, wondering why she felt this was so sad. Suddenly, Rose froze. "What's there to be sad about for me?" she thought. The head maid treated the male lead even worse than she had imagined. Rose genuinely felt sorry for the Crown Prince's situation. But what does that have to do with me? Rose came to her senses. The head maid's matter was over, so it didn't matter. And, entering her room, Rose stopped her train of thought. The mysterious diary lay on the table, and Rose was determined to find out its origins. It was late, and Rose was still staring at the diary. Despite being eloquent, if she didn't have any abilities, how could she find the answers? She decided that since there was no other way, she should try talking to it. "Who are you? Who is Rose's Tanya? How can I go home?" Rose asked repeatedly. Unfortunately, the book remained motionless. It really didn't work. Rose recalled the things that had activated it before. So far, from the farmer, the leaves, the makeup, the butterfly. Each time, she needed the help of this world. Even if she asked about Lu Qiyun, she probably wouldn't get an answer. Suddenly, a thought occurred to Rose. What if she asked something related to this world? So she asked the diary where she could meet a mage. This time, Rose didn't receive any response either. This made her fall into deep thought. Rose continued to ask, "Where can I find a mage who can help Calyx Fossman?" The diary suddenly emitted a dazzling light. The pages flipped, searching for the information Rose wanted. It wrote, "Miss Mallory told me about the different races that serve the darkness. Most of the different races of the Age of Light turned into mindless beasts, but they survived because of magic. Their name is elves." Rose remembered the deer she had seen back then. As she read the next line, "Elves are difficult to encounter because they hate those who worship the light. Miss Mallory gave me an ancient tree clock, saying it would show where they are." The diary recorded. Rose was surprised and glanced at the clock on her bedside table. But when she opened it, Rose discovered it was actually a compass. Rose also realized that this diary only answered questions related to the male lead. So she wondered what the most dangerous thing to Calyx Fossman was. Right now, it's the dragon. It's still alive. The diary gave a terrifying answer. This made Rose jump and even blurt out something in her native language, seemingly frightened. Rose no longer had the heart to investigate and flipped the page with trembling hands. Strangely, it was empty, nothing was there. Did Rose have to participate in slaying a dragon? She didn't find this funny at all. Rose wondered what the relationship was between the male lead, Calyx Fossman, and the dragon. The diary continued to glow. It answered, in this world, there are three supreme beings. God, the elven king, and the dragon are among them. Having said that, the diary decisively closed itself. Rose felt like she was dealing with a horror story. She was too scared to open the thing again. The next morning, Rose was in low spirits. She didn't want to go to work at all, nor did she want to leave her bed. Last night, no matter what she did, she couldn't open the diary, as if it were sealed with super glue. With no other choice, before going to work, Rose consulted the history books and scriptures of this world, so she had a fulfilling morning. But according to the diary, there were three supreme beings in this world. Among them, the Elven King hadn't appeared since the Age of Magic. God often possessed humans and sometimes intervened in history. If the gods on Earth were absolute beings, the gods here retained more humanity. It felt like Greek and Roman mythology. Dragons were indeed dragons, not much different from what Rose had read in fantasy novels. They possessed immense power, but found their long lives boring, so they always sought entertainment. Rose was curious if Aaron knew more. But for Rose, now wasn't the time to think about these things, as the immediate priority was reforming the Crown Prince's palace system. She couldn't live in this dreadful place any longer. In the study, Rose smiled brightly and reported to Calyx, Your Highness, this is the proposal for the division of labor among the servants of the Crown Prince's palace that I mentioned before. I hope you can review it. Calyx looked at her thoughtfully. He said, I told you to handle it yourself. But Rose said, there's a part that requires Your Highness's inspection. Hearing this, Calyx picked up the document to look it over. He seemed surprised and asked, did you come up with all of this? Rose replied, yes. She thought to herself, more accurately, I learned it. I didn't expect to be able to apply what I learned in etiquette class here. She told Calyx, to prevent things like embezzlement, we will create financial reports for each department. Calyx was surprised. Aren't financial reports the minister's job? If it's just recording the budget and expenditures, anyone can do it, Rose explained. It's simple, Your Highness. Calyx didn't respond immediately. He asked, are you saying the part that needs inspection is the budget? Rose said, you only need to assist within a manageable scope. Your Highness. Only then did Calyx agree and hand Rose a bank draft. The amount on it was so large that Rose's eyes nearly bulged out, but Calyx calmly asked, is this level of support sufficient? Rose couldn't believe it. Last time, Calyx had also easily produced such a large sum. He truly was a crown prince who was both refined and frugal. She rejoiced inwardly. With this much money, this, that, and even that can be easily resolved. Suddenly, Calyx expressed his curiosity. Why are you working so hard? Are you planning to become the head maid? Calyx asked Rose. Calyx wants to know, are you planning to give up your position as my personal maid? No, Your Highness, Rose immediately replied. Calyx was puzzled. What do you mean? Rose told him, leave it to me. I found someone more suitable for the position of head maid. That person was none other than Mila. When she received the notification, Mila was shocked as if struck by lightning. She couldn't believe it. Mila looked at the documents in front of her and chuckled. Rose asked Mila, what are you laughing about? Mila's eyes twinkled. How can I not laugh seeing so much money? I've never seen such a large sum. Rose smiled. I'm glad you're happy. Mila nodded. I'm also happy to suddenly become the head maid. But why me and not you? You've worked in the Crown Prince's palace for a long time and have a good reputation. You even took care of the once neglected and naive Rose's Tanya. Everyone thinks you're very good at paying attention to detail and getting things done quickly. As expected, the other servants all spoke highly of you. Currently, there are no nobles in the Crown Prince's palace suitable for the head maid position. With your unique communication skills, by setting an example, you'll make an excellent head maid. And you're pure, diligent, and kind. Rose interrupted her. Mila, you know my reputation. If I became the head maid at this time, what do you think would happen? I wouldn't be able to handle it. I don't even want to handle it. Mila hesitated for a moment, then spoke. By the way, do you really have no relationship with His Highness? Rose was startled. What? Of course not. Why would you ask that? Mila continued, but when you were injured, he gave you a potion and even called the royal physician. Rose sighed inwardly. That's because I took an arrow for the male lead. Mila hinted, and he gave such a large budget just because Rose wanted it. Rose smiled faintly. That's just because I do my job well. Mila asked, but didn't Rose do a good job before? Rose replied, if only it were that simple. Mila was a little surprised. I'm completely different from before. Rose could even become the crown princess. At this moment, Aaron suddenly asked from behind, what? Rose, you want to be the crown princess? Rose immediately replied, I don't want that position either. That position is full of difficulties, and His Highness isn't my type. Her answer shocked the other two. Mila's eyes widened. But he's the crown prince, and you're picky about types. Other girls are crazy about him, saying His Highness is very handsome. Mila glanced sideways. Of course, our crown prince is very handsome, but I care about personality, Mila. Mila suddenly reached out and asked, then what about Aaron? Rose's face went blank. What? Aaron smiled gently, waiting for her answer. Rose thought seriously. If I had to say, a combination of the two would be good. A bit of gentleness and authority. Mila burst out laughing. Rose, you're so funny. Aaron looked unhappy. Why a combination? Just choose one of us. Rose sighed. Quiet. Enough chit-chat. Mila, have you memorized the speech? Aaron, how are the handwritten copies of the contract coming along? Write 100 copies first, and I'll find someone else to help with the rest later. Mila, how's the task I gave you going? Rose replied, Darcy knows what to do. I talked to her earlier, so you can ask her for help. Rose nodded. Good. Make sure everything is done by the time I get back. The two said in unison, what a tyrant. After giving her instructions, Rose quickly walked toward the door. Mila watched her leave. Rose, she's changed. Come on, let's get to work. If we don't hurry, Rose will get angry. Aaron complained. Writing 100 copies of the contract will be a breeze, right? While complaining about Rose, Aaron lowered his head and worked. Mila recalled Rose's expression just now. She saw that expression very clearly. Mila chuckled to herself. She used to be so afraid of His Highness, but now she even calls him our crown prince. Rose went to see the head chef. From now on, she announced, I plan to implement hygiene management and cleaning before and after work shifts. I'm not ordering anyone, but His Highness thinks this would be good. Unexpectedly, the head chef, after scrutinizing her, asked, you came up with this, didn't you? His Highness wouldn't even care this much about his meals. Even if the ingredients brought into the palace were of poor quality, he's never complained. Rose, this was your idea, wasn't it? At this point, Rose could only lower her head and admit, yes. The head chef surprisingly smiled. Then he said, all right, I'll do as you say. That nasty head Maid is gone, and I feel like if we do things your way, everything will be all right. No, Rose, I'll rely on you again. Seeing him extend his hand, Rose was a little surprised, but a confident smile quickly bloomed on her lips. The two shook hands, deciding to cooperate from then on. Meanwhile, the tailor came to see Rose. I heard from Miss Mila, he began. Is this how you wanted to make it with this fabric? If we do the buttons and edges like this, I think it will turn out like this. Rose was quite surprised after hearing this. She smiled at the tailor. Thank you. Honestly, I was at a loss when I tried to solve this problem myself. The tailor politely replied, no, thank you. You've helped me too. I'm glad I could be of assistance. Rose smiled faintly, thinking to herself, in the world of the novel, I thought they were just passing side characters. They're all good people. Perhaps I want to build connections with them. The scene shifted to Calyx. Ruhr was preparing to give his report. Head maid Tasha Harrington has been sentenced to forfeiture of all property and lifelong labor in the coal mines. Her husband, Viscount Harrington, has also been stripped of his noble title and received the same punishment. The Harrington children will no longer receive the education and privileges they once had. Their financial support has been cut off, making them commoners. After reading everything, Ruhr's gaze was slightly stern. He suddenly asked, is this enough for you? Calyx immediately asked, what do you mean? Ruhr's voice trembled. That woman betrayed you secretly more than 10 years ago. Don't you think the punishment is too light? She might try to assassinate you again. Calyx coldly denied it. No, she won't. Her expression said it all. Calyx recalled seeing the head maid in the dungeon. He had asked her, before you were exiled, do you have anything to say? The head maid's eyes were vacant and lifeless. Only incomprehensible groans escaped her lips. Calyx observed her coldly. He realized her gaze had changed. We've taken everything from her, so she's no longer a threat. Perhaps she can even be used to threaten the Duke. And one more thing, the image flashed through Calyx's mind. He said, because I don't like killing. So what's next? Ruhr reported, there's a guest waiting in the drawing room. Calyx stood up and nodded. Is that so? I'll listen as we walk. Ruhr continued, but I hesitated to let him in. There are no guards there. Calyx was surprised. Who could make you hesitate like that? Ruhr opened the door and replied, it's His Highness Sway Fossman. At that moment, Sway was sitting in a chair, arms crossed, complaining, you're late. Calyx silently looked at the boy in front of him, then suddenly placed his hand on the hilt of his sword, threatening, "This is an unofficial visit. No one will know if you disappear from here." Sway's face paled with fear. "Wait, I came to share some useful information." Calyx asked coldly, "Why should I trust you?" Sway's expression hardened. "You don't need to doubt me. I have nothing to lose." Hearing this, Calyx just sighed, then sat down. "I trust you wouldn't do something stupid alone." After that, Calyx and Sway talked for a long time. Lost in thought after their conversation, Calyx stood alone by the window. He watched the lively scene unfolding below. Mila raised her hand and announced, "His Highness has declared that for effective internal management, we need breaks." Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd below. What is she talking about? What does a break mean? A new welfare system, the first in the history of the Empire, days off, had been established. Establishing the Crown Prince's Palace Welfare System. The first reform of the Crown Prince's Palace Welfare System. Breaks. One Maid vaguely understood. It seems they're allowing people to rest twice a week. We'll have days off. But that wasn't all. A break room, an additional facility within the Crown Prince's palace. Work would be efficiently redistributed based on ability. And finally, performance bonuses based on competence. Our noble Crown Prince truly cares for his people. A true king. After listening to her eloquent slogans, everyone cheered and applauded. Our Crown Prince. He's the best. Our Crown Prince. Rose, watching from the side, suddenly slumped over, muttering, "How could I have written such eloquent slogans?" Aaron pulled her up. "Rose, you seem to be gaining more and more self-awareness." Rose laughed. "That's not self-awareness, it's self-respect, dude." Aaron asked, somewhat surprised, "Dude, I'm your friend, Rose." After saying that, he gave a strange laugh. Mila spoke up. "Well, of course you're my friend. Did you think I'd order someone around who wasn't my friend?" Aaron was astonished. "What? Not order your friends around? I almost lost an arm." Rose clicked her tongue and nudged him. "Don't exaggerate. Now hurry up and distribute the contracts." The sight of the two of them was witnessed by someone above. That person was none other than Calyx. Earlier, after listening to Sway's story, he had asked, "Why did you suddenly decide to tell me this?" Sway had coldly replied, "Not for you. I just said I'd repay that woman's kindness." That person is Rose. Now, Calyx called out, "Roar, roar." Immediately, from behind him, came the response, "Yes, Your Highness." Calyx commanded, "Prepare for departure. Rose Asteria will accompany us." The scene shifted to the Crown Prince's palace's joyful labor center. Wise and joyful work life. The first employment contract signing ceremony was underway. This is an employment contract. It's a document that details work, salary, and working hours. It's also explained with pictures, so even if you can't read, you can understand. Rose smiled as she explained to a maid. The maid was puzzled. "But why do we need to do this?" Rose laughed, unsure how to answer, and fell into thought. Yes. Honestly, in a world where social boundaries are so clearly defined, these papers might not mean much. No matter what you do in society, you'll be in big trouble without a contract. It's very important. She said, "This is to guarantee everyone's rights." The maid stared blankly at the contract, hearing the word rights for the first time. Rose nodded. "Yes, but with that comes responsibility. You can't just take royal property as you please. You need to fill out a form when requesting supplies." The maid stared at the contract in bewilderment. Rose continued, "In return, twice a week, you'll have a day where you don't have to do anything and can relax at home. You've never rested since you were born, right?" At the thought of lying down, the maid practically drooled. The truth was, no one hated rest. If they asked me to manage the entire Crown Prince's palace alone, it would be the same as telling me to resign right now. Currently, the palace is a mess. We need to restructure it to function efficiently with the existing staff. Therefore, proper compensation and rest are necessary so they can feel a sense of responsibility and belonging towards their work. Just then, the head seamstress appeared and announced, "Please collect your new work uniforms." The new uniforms are ready. Elegant Maid uniforms have been sewn. The maids asked in surprise, "We just need to take these." The seamstress nodded. "Yes, these are the uniforms Miss Rose suggested. We've replaced the easily soiled white aprons with cleaner, more formal attire. High-quality fabric, dust-proof, wrinkle-resistant, and breathable and flexible. And most importantly, when did she become so eloquent? Pockets. It has pockets. Pockets. I don't see any. They're hidden inside, not visible from the outside. It was Miss Rose's idea. Miss Rose is a genius. Mila thought to herself, "I thought pockets were standard, but in this world they don't even exist. Shocking. I'm glad everyone likes them." Then, she called out to the cooks, Hello. I'm here to check on the list I gave you last time. Where's the head chef?" One of the cooks replied, "He's not here yet. He's usually not late." Just then, someone appeared behind him. The cook turned around. "Oh, he's here, head chef." However, upon seeing the person behind him, both Rose and the cook were stunned. "What happened to you?" The now bald head chef calmly asked. "Well, didn't Rose write it on the list? She said I had to cover my hair and beard with a hat and mask, but I get hot easily, so I couldn't stand it. So I shaved it all off. Feels so refreshing. Be prepared, because the palace meals are going to be better than ever." Seeing his good-natured attitude and positive change, Rose smiled softly. Night quickly fell. Rose lay in bed and sighed. "I'm so tired. I've really been working hard these past few days. My whole body aches. However, until I find a way home, I have to live here." "Good job, Rose. From now on, life in the Crown Prince's palace will be a little more comfortable, right?" Her pleasant dreams didn't last long. Early the next morning, Rose's face was pale. "What? Where are we going?" Calyx told her Desitra. "Haven't you heard?" Rose had no idea where Desitra was. Calyx, arms crossed, explained the Desert Empire has diplomatic relations with Bosnia. Rose vaguely realized, "It's not nearby, is it?" Calyx nodded. "It takes about 10 days just to get there." Hearing this, Rose slumped, lost in thought. "No way. I was planning on relaxing and enjoying myself." She forced a smile, trying to find an excuse to refuse. "The palace has just been reorganized, and I need to." Calyx coldly retorted, "You're not the head maid, so it has nothing to do with you." Not letting her say more, he turned away. "It's been decided, so prepare accordingly." Rose knew she was doomed this time. She couldn't even run away. He recalled his conversation with Sway that day. Sway had said seriously, "Brother, the first prince will refuse to come to Desitra for any reason. He might make excuses, saying there are too many monsters on the road. Too dangerous. If he dies on the way, that's even better for him." "No, I mean, that's what he'd think." Calyx had agreed. "Sounds like something he'd say." Sway replied, "As for me, I don't care. As long as I can survive. I owe her my life, so I'm repaying that debt." Rose, unaware of what was happening, was silently crying over her perfect plans. Calyx glanced at her, thinking, "Rose Asteria. She saved my life several times, solved the long-standing head-maid problem, and now the third prince has revealed his true intentions to her. Isn't she like a messenger sent to me by the gods?" The day of their departure soon arrived. Calyx and Roar stood back, watching Rose busy packing. She handed a large bundle to a guard, saying, "We need all of this." Calyx, looking at the girl before him, thought, "It takes about 10 days to reach Desitra. I wonder how she'll help me this time." Roar noticed Calyx staring intently at Rose. He'd meant to say something more, but stopped as all the preparations were completed. Rose waved goodbye to everyone. "Well then, let's be off. Irene Rose Asteria, a genius housekeeper and hotel expert, have completely reorganized the Crown Prince's palace. I thought life in the palace would become easier, but I suppose I'm too competent, and as a result, I'm being dragged off to the Desert Empire with the male lead. So, after a tearful farewell, I headed to the desert, or so I thought." The scene abruptly shifted to a sun-drenched environment. Calyx shouted, "Wake up! Get a grip, Rose Asteria." Rose snapped out of her daze and opened her eyes, finding herself halfway out of the carriage, dangling precariously. "What's going on?" The day before this incident occurred, Rose had exclaimed, "Your Highness, please stay still." Calyx, bewildered, asked, "What is it?" Rose put a finger to her lips, shushing him. "Please, just keep your mouth closed." Then she took out a bottle of gel and applied it evenly to Calyx's face. Next, she demanded, "Now give me your hand." Calyx, still confused, questioned, "What in the world are you doing?" Rose promptly replied, "This is sunscreen. It'll protect you from getting sunburned." She thought to herself, "Thank goodness I had this sunscreen from the diary in my bag." She wrapped a scarf around his neck, telling Calyx, "Even if it's not fashionable, please wear this." Calyx remained puzzled. "Why all this?" Rose smiled, explaining, "These are necessities in the desert, Your Highness." Just then, Heron appeared behind them, calling out, "Your Highness, Lady Danya has never undertaken such a journey before. It's best not to rely on her too much." Rose, hearing this, simply looked at him for a moment before saying, "I've heard sandstorms are frequent in the desert. The scarf will block the sun and prevent sand from entering your respiratory system. However, aside from mine and His Highness's, we don't have any extras, so I can't give the knights one." Heron, upon hearing this, gave no response and turned away. Rose cursed inwardly. What's with him? Why is he acting like this lately? Just then, a voice questioned, how does she know these things? Calix spoke up. Like Heron said, there's no reason for her to have been to the desert. Rose groaned internally. Oh no, am I too competent again? She offered an excuse. I read about it in a book when I was younger. Calix immediately asked which book. Rose's expression stiffened. She thought, I can't exactly say Desert Survival Guide, can I? She feigned a clueless smile. The title, I don't quite remember. Calix watched her for a moment, seemingly gauging the truth of her words. Then he turned away. All right, let's go. Rose was a little surprised. He's not pressing the issue. He seems unusually lenient with me lately. Just then, Heron called to her from behind. Lady Danya, please come with me. Rose listened to him blankly. There's a knight to accompany you on horseback. By the way, is it the horse that bit the knight's hat? Heron asked coldly, did you want to ride alone? Since you said you couldn't ride, I prepared this, but surely you don't want to sit in the carriage with his highness, do you? Rose quickly waved her hands. No, I'm grateful the knight is willing to accompany me. Let's go. She lamented inwardly, alone in a carriage with the male lead. What would people say? He really is nicer than I initially thought, but any closer would be too much. Heron watched from behind as Rose patted and acquainted herself with the horse. He wondered if his assumptions were correct. Soon, the procession began to move. Rose, seated on the horse alongside Heron, spoke hesitantly. Sir, tonight. Heron replied, Heron. You can call me Heron, Miss Asteria, since we're working closely under his highness. Rose responded with a smile. Is that so? Then you can call me Rose, Mr. Heron. Heron nodded. Understood. So Rose, how did you do it? Rose, confused, asked, do what? Heron replied, His Highness isn't someone who's easy to get close to, especially for the maids he's always been wary of. What did you do to win his favor? Rose realized inwardly his tone and attitude seemed a bit irritated. Could it be that he's jealous his friend was taken away? No, impossible. He's not that childish. He must be worried seeing me trusted by Calix. This probably isn't the first time for him. All the other maids likely betrayed him. That's how it went in the novel. He truly deserves the title of closest confidant. Thinking this, she said, Of course, I'm no ordinary person. Am I? I think I understand what you're worried about, but you don't need to be. I just want to survive in the palace for a long, long time. As she spoke, she draped a scarf over Heron's head, then gave him a gentle smile. Heron hesitated for a moment, then exclaimed, Rose, didn't you say there weren't any more scarves? Rose put on a smug expression. That was a lie. It seemed like Mr. Heron didn't like me. Heron was taken aback. So you were just trying to annoy me. Rose tugged on his scarf, reminding him, if you keep talking, Sam will get in your mouth. The sudden tug caused Rose's foot to slip, and the horse, startled, neighed, rearing up on its hind legs. Calix instructed her, hold on tight. There seems to be a monster nearby. That's right, a monster. Just then, a voice called out to her, wake up, get a grip. Rose Asteria. A giant bird-like monster was clutching their carriage in its talons. Calix quickly wrapped his arm around Rose's waist, pulling her back. Come on. After a struggle, both exhausted, they managed to scramble back into the carriage. Rose was still trembling. I thought I was going to die. Wait, am I dead? Your Highness, are you all right? Are we going to die? Calix spoke in a strange voice. Calm down. We're not going to die. The two conversed in hushed tones. How did this happen? It's a griffin. I've heard they occasionally snatch travelers in the desert, but I never imagined it could lift an entire carriage. Damn it. Now we have no choice but to wait until the griffin puts us down. Rose asked again, wait, a griffin? You mean that creature with the head of an eagle and the body of a lion? Can it eat an entire carriage? Calix replied, griffins like shiny things. Just because it's the crown prince's carriage, they had to decorate it with gold leaf. Rose asked, surprised, wait, was this planned? Calix gritted his teeth, cursing. It must have been the first prince, not his majesty. Damn it. Just then, the carriage shook violently again. Rose was terrified, but Calix remained calm. He quickly caught Rose as she fell towards him from the inertia. Flashing back to the previous evening, Rose wearily accompanied Calix to the campsite, feeling, it's only been half a day, and I'm already half dead, and I have to keep this up for 10 more days. Just then, Calix suggested, well then I'll go and switch the horses for camels. Rose thought, he doesn't look tired at all. These nights are truly amazing. She casually looked around, thinking, is this a nomadic village? The atmosphere is completely different from Fosnian. Now that we've arrived at the village, it's time to get set up. All right. The camp was quickly erected. Rose stood before the carefully prepared table, cheerfully announcing, Your Highness and knights, I've prepared a meal. The knights, exhausted from their long journey, practically drooled at the sight of the food. Calyx, also a little surprised, asked, what are all these? I don't remember us bringing these supplies. Rose replied, I anticipated this might be the case, so I made separate preparations. It's mainly smoked meat, but it should be quite delicious. Eggs, bean sprouts, and green onions. Making a decent meal with stored food. These are basic solo living skills. Your Highness and the knights need a hearty meal on such a long journey. Everyone cheered. Wow, this is amazing. We thought we'd only have dry rations. Miss Asteria, you're an angel. Just then, Calyx patted the seat next to him. He gestured towards Rose and said, sit. Rose was startled. I was planning to sit over there. Calyx said coldly, I told you to sit here. Rose had no choice but to sit beside him. Calyx, unexpectedly, continued, and, starting tomorrow, you'll be riding in the carriage with me. Rose looked at him quizzically. Before she could speak, Calyx cut her off. If you're about to say but, or something, it's best to remain silent. Rose stared at the man beside her with a bewildered expression. Calyx had no intention of explaining his reasons to her. Yesterday, in the carriage, Calyx had seen Rose riding with Heron, even kindly wrapping a scarf around him. A flicker of annoyance had crossed Calyx's eyes. Now, he turned to her and said, it's just a little boring riding in the carriage alone. Don't overthink it. Rose smiled. I wasn't overthinking it, Your Highness. The two conversed. Ride with me in the carriage from tomorrow. I will obey your command. It's not a command, it's an invitation. Yes, Your Highness. Calyx frowned. Not but thank you, Your Highness. Hearing this, Rose quickly clasped her hands together in front of her chest. Putting on an exaggerated expression, she said, I deeply thank you for your boundless grace, for bestowing upon me such an immense favor. Seeing her dramatic display, Calyx gritted his teeth. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Rose explained, how could that be, Your Highness? How dare I? Calyx didn't respond, turning away coldly. Rose smiled inwardly, thinking I shouldn't tease him too much. Just then, a shout suddenly rang out. Stop, please. I beg you. Please let me see His Highness. Calyx stood up and pulled back the curtain, asking what's going on. A guard immediately replied, It's nothing, Your Highness. I'll handle it. The man, seeing Calyx, cried out excitedly, Your Highness, wait. He quickly pushed past the guard and ran towards Calyx. Before Calyx could understand what was happening, the man suddenly knelt before him. Please, Your Highness, please, please. Please accept our tribe as citizens of the Empire. Calyx was astonished. What? Quickly, the man was brought inside the tent to explain everything. The man clasped his hands together earnestly. Please hear me, Your Highness. Rose, standing to the side, thought, judging by how much he's trembling, he must be terrified. At least he chose the right person to ask for help. After all, the male lead is a tyrant. What is a tyrant? The kind who ruthlessly slaughters officials, but ensures the people of the Empire live without worry. After listening, Rose crossed her arms. I thought you'd ask for food or supplies at most, but you want to be recognized as Imperial citizens. Why is that? The man answered, trembling. As Your Highness can see, this place is not fit for human habitation. The land is too barren to cultivate, and we live in fear every night because of the monsters that could appear at any moment. Rose was quite surprised. I thought this was just a temporary shelter. This is their village. Calyx spoke. I suppose so. Rose inwardly scolded him, saying I suppose so to someone begging for help. Show a little empathy. Sensing her attitude, Calyx turned and asked, what? Is there a problem? Rose immediately put on a foolish smile. Nothing, Your Highness. Not everything you think can be said out loud. Calyx continued to question the man. This desert lies within the territory of the Desitra Empire. Why plead with me, a Fosnian citizen? The man replied, we are a tribe exiled by the Desitra Empire. Calyx's expression turned serious. He asked, you were exiled by Desitra, and now you plead with me, a prince of a hostile empire, trying to put Fosnian and Desitra at odds. I don't need to hear any more. The man tried to explain. Your Highness, please, I beg you. Everyone is dying. He pleaded desperately, but Calyx no longer listened to his words. Rose pondered silently. They said they were exiled by Desitra, but why? What could an entire tribe have done to warrant exile? A crime. But from what I've seen, they even have young children. Children that young couldn't possibly commit a crime. So why? Just then, Calix asked, were you listening? Rose snapped back to attention. Lowering her head, she said, my apologies, Your Highness. What did you say? Calix's expression turned stern as he reproached her. Now you're not even listening to me. You become quite bold. Take this. Rose blankly accepted the item, asking, Your Highness, what is this? A dagger. Calix instructed, those people will come to you tonight. If they make any suspicious moves, stab them. They couldn't persuade me, so they'll try to sway someone close to me. They seem quite desperate. Rose was puzzled. But why me and not the royal knights? Calix countered, who is with me right now? Who will be riding in the carriage with me tomorrow? Rose realized me. Calix asked again, who is closest to me? Rose stared blankly. Also me. Calix said with satisfaction, it seems you finally understand. Find out what they want. Make them confess what they're hiding. Rose nodded in acceptance. Yes, if they come to me, I will do so. She thought to herself, no, will they really come to me? The answer was that night they did come. A young woman knelt before Rose, pleading, my lady, please persuade His Highness. I beg you. Rose struggled to help her up. Get up. I'm just a maid. I don't have that kind of power. The woman stubbornly replied, but His Highness seems to favor you greatly, so please help us. Aren't you the future princess? Rose blushed, refuting, that's completely untrue. Don't say such things. It's embarrassing. It's just that I'm a capable maid. I do my job well, and I'm loyal, that's all. All right, tell me. All I can do is listen to what you have to say. The final decision rests with His Highness. The young woman was overjoyed. Thank you, thank you. Then she began to tell her story. In fact, the two engaged in a deep conversation that night. The next day, Rose entered the carriage under Heron's suspicious gaze. He didn't say anything, just observed silently. Upon entering the carriage, Rose covered her mouth, yawning repeatedly. Calix commented, you're practically yawning your face off. It seems you're quite comfortable in front of me now. Rose flinched. My apologies, Your Highness. Alan added, she listened to them until sunrise. Rose spoke up. As you instructed, one of them came to me last night. They claimed they were wrongly accused of treason. Desitra is a nation that worships the Elven King, so they acknowledge spiritual power, not magic. Calix asked suspiciously, and that means? Rose shook her head. No, he's not a mage. Then she pointed outside the carriage. Look over there, Your Highness. Calix was puzzled. That dog. Rose replied, not a dog. They call it a spirit beast. It seems they were exiled because of that power, but thanks to it, they've survived amongst the monsters. Calix rubbed his head, thinking this will be troublesome. Rose asked hesitantly, are you considering accepting them? Calix immediately replied, of course not. If they were exiled by Desitra for treason, accepting them would complicate matters for Fosnian. Rose thought, but since he's a tyrant, he might end up accepting them anyway, right? Noticing her expression, Calix glanced at her and asked, do you have something to say? Rose yawned, replying no, nothing. Suddenly, a strong hand rested on her shoulder. If you're that tired, sleep, Calix said. Rose shook her head, smiling. I'm not tired. Calix grumbled. Your eyes look like they're about to close. Are you lying to me? Rose replied with a laugh. Really, I'm not tired at all. Seeing this, Calix reached up and pulled down the curtain above her. He spoke softly. Go ahead, I permit it. Rose's face froze. Why are you speaking so softly? I shouldn't sleep, but am I really this comfortable around him? Since you say I can sleep, I'll just sleep for a little while. They were quickly discovered by the bird monster, which launched a sudden attack. The carriage was thrown to the ground. Rose opened her eyes, disoriented. What happened? Your Highness, are you all right? Was that magic? Calix sat up. I'm fine. It seems it finally landed in its nest. Are you all right? Rose nodded. Perfectly fine. Not hurt at all. Calix said, good. Let's go take a look. Rose quickly noticed an injury on his hand. Perhaps he was protecting me. Calix quickly walked to the carriage door and saw the bird monster lying beside a pile of gold. Rose's face froze. Where are we? Isn't this supposed to be a dark fantasy romance world? Why do I feel like I'm on an adventure? Where's my life going? She suggested, Your Highness, we should. Calix covered her mouth with his hand. Should be quiet. Those monsters will have a time when they go out to hunt. Until then, we stay quiet. Rose remained silent, assessing the situation internally. Calix is the main character, so he won't die. He'll be able to overcome this. Really, the scar on his palm, the people around him, and Calix's situation. This is definitely the world of the Blood Moon Empire book I read. Did Calix face this kind of impossible situation in the original story? No. No. What if there's another element in this world? Rose pondered silently. Then, leaning close to Calix's ear, she asked, Your Highness, before I started working for you, did you ever experience anything like this? The unexpected question made Calix blush. He pushed Rose away slightly. Speak from a distance. Rose nodded. Yes, Your Highness. She thought. He told me to be quiet just now. And now this. Rose quickly stood up and put some distance between herself and Calix, then sat back down. Calix immediately said, I didn't mean that far. Rose was confused. Too far. Then what should I do? Calix crossed his arms and replied, Forget it. I have to deal with this kind of mess every year. Hearing him say that, Rose listened silently. Unexpectedly, Calix asked timidly, Why are you staring at me like that? Rose spoke up. Your Highness, are you hot? It's the desert, after all. I'm used to 38-degree summers in Korea, but I doubt he is. There's nothing here to create a cool breeze. Rose decided to fan him with her hand, her face drawing close to his again, making Calix blush crimson. He quickly grabbed her hand. Enough. Stop those unnecessary movements. Gather your things. When they leave the nest, we leave immediately. Soon after, one bird monster flapped its wings and flew away. Several others followed, one after another. Standing at the carriage door, Calix instructed, They'll be leaving the nest soon. Move when I give the signal. Rose nodded. Yes, Your Highness. He turned his head and noticed Rose's tightly clenched hands. He asked, Are you scared? Rose hesitated. No, not exactly. Not scared, but Calix gently reassured her. It's a dangerous situation, but you don't need to be so afraid. Holding hands, Calix said calmly, I told you, I'm used to this kind of mess. They've left. The two ran as fast as they could. Rose looked at the man's back as she followed, thinking a tyrant, stubborn, unpredictable, but why are his actions becoming gentler? I'm starting to have feelings. What if all these stable things become variables because of me and descend into chaos? Even so, I have no other way to survive but to choose him. At that moment, Calix said sternly, Choose now. Rose stared blankly ahead. Can you even call this a choice? Calix gestured. There are two paths. One path is a cliff. You might not have noticed it from the griffin's perspective, but one wrong step means instant death. Choice 2, a downhill path. Another path leads downhill, seemingly guarded by two griffin scouts. If you're spotted while descending, you'll be their meal today. Which is better? Rose pursed her lips. I don't like either. Calix stepped forward. This way will be better. The chances of you miraculously climbing that cliff are higher than dodging griffins at your slow pace. Rose cursed inwardly. Why even ask if you've already decided for me? He's actually making me take the narrow path that would make even a mountain goat cry. It's impossible for me. Even if Calix can do it, I'm no gymnast. But I don't want to be griffin food either. Is there really no other way? Just then, she spotted something and exclaimed, Your Highness, look at the paper in that skeleton's hand. It looks like a map. He might have been an explorer, right? Judging by the fact that he died here and not in the nest, it might be a map to escape this place. Calix immediately asked, Even so, what use is it if they couldn't get out and died here? Rose smiled confidently. But Your Highness is different, right? Calix looked puzzled. What's different about me? Rose immediately flattered him. Your Highness is incredibly capable. I have faith in everything about you. She thought, I brought my diary, so everything will be fine. Hearing her praise, Calix's face, of course, flushed again. He turned and said, Fine, then get that paper. The two unfolded the paper and examined it. Calix pointed. It's a map. There's a secret passage created by hunters somewhere around here. Rose cheered. Hooray. Thank goodness, Your Highness. Goodbye, cliff. Goodbye, griffin food. Just then, Calix glanced down. The location is a small hole directly beneath the bird's nest. Calix quickly grabbed Rose's hand and ran towards it, just as the bird monsters sleepily opened their eyes. Spotting the two of them, they began to unfurl their wings. Fortunately, the pair reached the entrance first. Calix shouted to Rose, Hurry, be careful. He shoved Rose into the hole. Rose's face froze. She nearly fell face first, catching herself and clutching her nearly twisted waist, groaning softly. Ouch! The birds were right behind them, but the hole was too small. Only their beaks could fit inside. Rose asked worriedly, what if they break through? Calix reassured her, the entrance is narrow, so it'll be difficult for them to get in. There's a path inside. Let's move quickly. The two proceeded according to the map. Rose realized with relief, the sounds are getting fainter. Thank goodness. Looking at the map in Calix's hand, she realized something. Your Highness, isn't this the Desitra Empire? Calyx nodded. Yes, it seems we've come quite far due to flying in the sky. This is good news. The problem is, without any diplomatic items, entering Desitra might give them an excuse to attack us, whether it's the Tyrant Emperor or any other prince. Rose paused at his words, then asked, so you're going to give up? I know you won't do that. Your Highness. She reached out and took his hand. I believe in you. Just then, the ground suddenly shook violently. Calyx quickly grabbed Rose's hand as another monster appeared before them. What is that? A worm. What else could possibly go wrong? I'm going crazy. The ground suddenly collapsed right where Rose was standing. Rose panicked. Now the ground's collapsing too. No. Is this where I die? Calyx quickly reached out. Rose fell into thought. If I die, will I return to my original world? But if so, what about Calyx? Calyx had already jumped down and caught her. A lake appeared before them. They plunged in together. Rose quickly surfaced, looking in panic at the unconscious figure. How many meters did we fall? What just happened? Your Highness, are you all right? Your Highness. She was met with silence. Rose looked around frantically, quickly assessing the situation. She hurriedly dragged Calyx to the shore. Seeing him still unconscious, she called out anxiously, Your Highness, wake up. Your Highness. Your Highness. Trembling, she placed her hand in front of his nose. He's not breathing. Her face paled with fear. Impossible. Isn't he the main character? Is this really because of me? No. Your Highness. Wake up. Your Highness. Just as panic threatened to overwhelm her, Rose saw a light emanating from her bag. She quickly opened it, finding the glow originating from the diary. She wondered the diary again. Even though I just came out of the water, both the diary and the bag are completely dry. Everything is such a mystery. Is Calyx caught up in all this because of me? Does the diary really help when Calyx is in danger? Then why isn't the diary helping Calyx now? My mind is a mess. Why did I come to this world? I fell from such a height, yet I'm completely unharmed. Calyx protected me when I fell. Just like with the griffins, this is all my fault. She shook Calyx's body fearfully. Wake up, Your Highness. Hey, wake up. Seeing no response, despair washed over her. It's all my fault. Calyx is lying here on the verge of death because of me. No, stop talking nonsense. Who's dying? Who's going to die here? Absolutely not. I won't let you die. Rose lowered her head, administering CPR to Calyx while performing chest compressions, crying out in fear, please. I've done this much. Now wake up, you idiot. Finally, Calyx stirred, coughing up water. He opened his eyes, asking weakly Rose. What happened? Rose embraced him, relief flooding through her. Your Highness, thank goodness. I'm so relieved. I thought something terrible had happened to you. Calyx was inwardly surprised. Rose, she saved me again, and she's trembling. Then he asked coolly, I'm sure I heard you call me an idiot. Rose flinched, denying it. That was just your imagination, Your Highness. Calyx persisted. I definitely heard it. Rose forced a smile. Perhaps you misheard. You were unconscious. After all, I'll go gather some things to start a fire. Please wait a moment, Your Highness. She hurried off. Calyx placed a hand on his chest, pondering. My heart definitely stopped beating. I'm certain there was a moment where magical power gathered. Even a pope can't restart a stopped heart. How is this possible? He sat up, noticing the bag beside him, and thought with a frown, that bag. Just then, Rose came running back, holding up her skirt. I've gathered some branches, Your Highness. She quickly sat down and began trying to start a fire. Calyx watched silently. There are too many strange things happening this time. I have to ask her. But Rose turned, smiling. The fire hasn't fully caught yet. Just a little longer, Your Highness. Calyx saw that Rose's hands were completely purple and trembling incessantly. He started to stand. Oh. Rose quickly waved him down. No, Your Highness, please don't move. She tore a page from her notebook and tossed it into the kindling. Finally, Rose exclaimed with relief. It's lit. The fire's going. She turned and called out, Your Highness, come closer to the fire. Your body temperature must have dropped. You must be hungry. I'll go find something to eat. She was about to stand when Calyx spoke. Seat. She looked at him, puzzled, but Calyx cut her off. That's an order. Sit. Rose said worriedly. You must be cold and hungry, and your clothes are still wet. Do you want to wear mine? Calyx immediately replied, they wouldn't fit at all. Rose asked again, aren't you thirsty? Calyx said coldly, just sit still. Who's worrying about whom here? If there were a mirror here, I'd let you see what you look like right now. He suddenly reached out, pulling her head to rest against his shoulder. He spoke softly. I can warm myself up with magic, so don't worry unnecessarily. Just sit quietly. The two warmed themselves by the magical fire Calyx had conjured. Rose sighed contentedly. So warm. I didn't even realize how cold I was. It was terrifying to think that Calyx almost died. Even worse to think it might have been because of me. I'm so relieved he's alright. This feels so warm. What's that sound? She looked quizzically at Calyx, sitting beside her, and called out to him. Your Highness. Calyx's face flushed. What? What is it? Rose said with concern. Your face is all red. It looks like you have a fever. Calyx turned his face away. It's because I used magic. It doesn't hurt, so don't worry. Rose exclaimed in surprise. Oh, magic is so convenient. She smiled. Would you mind closing your eyes for a moment? I think it's best I change clothes. Calyx looked at her silently, then glanced at her bag questioningly. Did the things in your bag get wet? Rose shook her head. They seem fine, Your Highness, because it's a leather bag. She thought to herself, that's a lie. Judging by the light from earlier, it must have been the diary's power. It's a bit scary, but whatever, I don't dare check. Calyx's gaze darkened slightly, looking at the bag in Rose's hands, then turned away. Tell me when you're done. Rose nodded. Yes, Your Highness. A few moments later, with his eyes closed, Calyx heard Rose call to him. Your Highness. He replied, what is it? Rose said, my formal clothes are all in the carriage. I only have simple clothes. Please forgive me. Calyx thought, simple clothes like sleepwear. Then he replied, I'm not that rigid. I can adapt. Rose announced, I'm done, Your Highness. His expression immediately stiffened. Bara arms, bara legs. Yes, Rose was wearing modern-day shorts and a t-shirt. She said cheerfully, it feels so much better to be in dry clothes. It's a good thing I repurposed the clothes I borrowed from Ellen. This world's women's clothing is so uncomfortable. Even the undergarments, even the short-sleeved and short-legged versions, are too thin to wear as sleepwear. She hadn't expected Calyx to ask, his voice trembling. What is this? Are you insane? And is it really okay to wear sleepwear in front of a man? No matter the circumstances, how can you? You can't just wear undergarments. Bare arms are one thing, but Rose replied, bewildered, these are pajamas, not undergarments, Your Highness. Calyx was taken aback. Pajamas. Sleepwear. Where did such sleepwear come from? Realizing that undergarments in this world looked like this, Rose tried to explain, I got them from Maid I'm close to. Calyx's entire body stiffened, recalling the sight he'd seen that day. His face darkened as he asked, if it's a maid you're close to, would that be the one with the orange hair? Rose was surprised. You know Ellen. Yes, these are Ellen's clothes. Even though they look like this, they're actually really comfortable. Calyx's blood boiled involuntarily. Rose noticed and asked hesitantly, Your Highness, these clothes? Calyx shot her a look. I don't want to hear about how comfortable they are, so be quiet. The warming fire still burned. Seeing that Calyx had fallen asleep, Rose sat up. She stealthily moved behind a boulder and took the diary out of her leather bag. She thought, puzzled, I don't know whether writing in this diary will bring disaster or good fortune, but the fact is, it's gotten me out of danger several times. Although it's suspicious that these situations keep happening, forcing me to write in it, there's no help worrying about that now. The most important thing is to get out of here. Once we're out, I'll find someone who knows about mages or diaries, someone who can tell me how to safely take Calyx to the Desert Empire. Mallory was gone for a while, but then reappeared, so I asked Melanie, why were you gone for a while? Then Melanie replied, I went to the Desert Empire because I needed a bighorn mushroom. A bighorn mushroom is a blue mushroom that looks like a hat. It only grows near Leviathan Lake in the deepest part of the Cave of Death, and only at night. At this point, she groaned. Oh no. Then she looked at the glowing mushrooms around her. These are from Leviathan Lake. Leviathan. I've seen that in the game. Isn't that a dragon? Is the dragon the diary warned us about Leviathan? Bighorn mushrooms grow during Leviathan's hibernation. That's good. But Leviathan's hibernation period is also the breeding season for crystal ants. Rose panicked. Ants. What? I hate bugs. They are Leviathan's main prey, so they usually live outside the cave. However, during Leviathan's hibernation, thousands of ants swarm into the cave to breed, so be careful. Mallory also said that if you think you'll become ant food, wake up the Leviathan. If you squeeze about 10 bighorn mushrooms and throw them into the lake, it will wake up. Dealing with Leviathan is better than dealing with the ants. Unbeknownst to her, the first ant had already appeared. Rose, not seeing it, thought, no matter how much I hate bugs, they're less terrifying than a dragon. At least with dragons, if I never have to meet one, that's lucky, right? The ant suddenly lunged at her. Luckily, Rose noticed in time and dodged. Her mouth dropped open in disbelief. What the heck, they're huge. Just as it was about to attack her again, Calyx suddenly appeared, shouting, run. He swung his sword, shattering one of the ants. Rose asked in a panic, "Your Highness, are ants this big normal?" Calyx replied, "For crystal ants, this is considered small. If you don't want to die, stay right behind me." Soon, a swarm of large ants surrounded them. Rose said, "Your Highness, this probably means—" Calyx nodded. "Yes, we're truly screwed." One of the ants launched an attack. Calyx quickly grabbed Rose's hand and yelled, "Damn it, run." Rose, pulled along by him, took the opportunity to observe. She reasoned. The diary mentioned Leviathan for a reason. So she asked, "Your Highness, you can't deal with all these ants, right?" Calyx replied without hesitation, "Of course not. Do you think I'm a dragon?" Rose asked again, "So between dealing with 10,000 crystal ants and one Leviathan, which is better?" Calyx scolded, "Are you joking at a time like this?" Rose gave a wry smile. "No, I'm just panicking, so please answer me." Calyx replied, "Obviously, Leviathan is better." Rose immediately wrenched her hand free and ran. Calyx was bewildered. "Rose, wait, where are you going?" Rose called back, "Buy me some time." Calyx, still not understanding, swung his sword and cursed, "Damn it, what are you planning to do?" Rose went to where the mushrooms were and started picking them. Calyx now faced countless crystal ants. He gritted his teeth, wiping the sweat from his brow. "Damn, they just keep coming." Just then, Rose yelled from behind him, "Your Highness, move." She was holding a basin of water. Then she poured the water into the lake, the liquid beginning to seep in. Calyx was puzzled. What the hell? Soon, the ground suddenly shook violently. The ants, too, began to show signs of panic. Calyx called out to Rose in a low voice. "What did you do?" Seeing his icy expression, Rose was a little startled. She explained, "Because you said you'd rather face one Leviathan than 10,000 crystal ants, so—" Calyx exclaimed in astonishment, "So you woke up a Leviathan." A tremor startled them. Leviathan roared, its mouth gaping open. It immediately unleashed a wave of power towards the ants, then rose up and roared again. The crystal ants were now nothing but a name. Before Leviathan could notice them, Calyx pulled Rose behind a boulder. He asked sternly, "You really woke it up? Are you insane?" Rose gave a nervous laugh. Maybe. Luckily, there's only one Leviathan." Calyx cursed. "How can you still laugh in this situation?" She replied in a small voice, "They say Leviathans are capable of communication, so if we just talk to it." Calyx immediately demanded, "Who told you such nonsense? Do you know how dragons view humans? Forget about such foolish things." Just then, Leviathan suddenly boomed, "Who dares disturb my slumber?" Then it roared loudly, the force of it enough to overwhelm the two hiding behind the boulder. Rose's face paled. She realized, this doesn't look good, does it? Leviathan crawled furiously onto the shore, its massive body looming over the land, trying to pinpoint the culprit who had disturbed its sleep. Calyx, his face grim, asked, "Are you telling me you woke that thing up?" Rose replied blankly, "Gosh, I guess so." Calyx continued, "So that's why you asked me about the ants or the Leviathan?" Rose hesitated. "Well, at least the ants are taken care of, right? Isn't that a relief?" Calyx snapped, his voice sharp with annoyance. "Relief? Are you out of your mind? Is this some new assassination attempt? This will be our grave, won't it?" Rose gave a wry smile. "We'll get out of here, come on. I pledge my allegiance to your Highness. After all, they say Leviathans are capable of communication, so maybe we can resolve this through talking." Calyx asked incredulously, "Talk to that thing. Do you know how dragons view humans? You'll be obliterated by that breath attack before you can even utter a word. More importantly, how did you even wake Leviathan up?" "Never mind, we'll discuss that later." "Step back," Rose asked, bewildered. "What should we do? Should we run?" Calyx clenched his fists. "Do you think we can escape without it noticing?" "Don't be ridiculous. We'll wait until it gets tired and leaves on its own. Don't interfere with it." He slowly walked forward, putting more distance between himself and Rose. She thought silently, if Calyx intervenes now. The scene she imagined played out as follows. "You woke me up, human. Quiet monster. You dare tell me to be quiet. Human. No, the diary said it's possible to communicate with them. I need to try talking to it. If I let him continue, there won't be a chance for communication." Thinking this, she stepped forward and lowered the sword in Calyx's hand. She smiled. "I'll go, as your subordinate. It's my duty to protect your Highness." Calyx immediately rebuked her. "Are you crazy, Rosastania?" Rose replied, "Unfortunately, I'm completely sane, your Highness." Calyx frowned. "Don't be ridiculous. Stay there. That's an order." The current scene was quite romantic, the hero willing to sacrifice himself to protect the beauty, but it was suddenly overshadowed. Both of them turned their heads in surprise. The enormous leviathan had spotted them. It raised its giant claw into the air, then slammed it down. Luckily, Calyx reacted quickly, grabbing Rose and dodging just in time. The dragon prepared to attack again. Calyx drew his sword, wanting to fight it, but it was like using an egg against a stone. He knew this time things were bad. Rose cried out anxiously, "Your Highness." Calyx immediately cursed. "Damn it, run. Go now." Rose groaned. "No, it can't be like this." She addressed the Leviathan. "Let's resolve this through negotiation." Both the man and the dragon looked at her with bewildered expressions. Negotiation. Rose thought it worked. Calyx asked incredulously, "What are you trying to do?" Rose stepped closer. "I'm the one who woke you up." Leviathan retorted, "You woke me up. Such a foolish human. Did you think you could kill me?" Its aura made Rose want to reincarnate somewhere else. But she still calmly said, I had no intention of killing you." Leviathan asked again, "Is that so?" The exchange between the two left Calyx utterly bewildered. Rose continued to explain, "I had no intention of harming you." Unexpectedly, Leviathan nodded. "Oh, I see. Did BB send you?" Rose thought, "BB? Who is BB?" Leviathan continued in a low voice, "BB can't come here herself, so she sent you in her stead. But I want to talk to BB directly. Bring her to my lair immediately." Rose thought, "What is it talking about? Who is this BB?" She quickly said, "Monsters are preventing us from reaching your lair." Leviathan asked in surprise, "What? Humans are truly weak. Well, not for your benefit, but I'll lend you something for the time being." As Calyx fumed, Rose tried to stop him, only to see something surge up from Leviathan's throat, and then vomit was dumped onto Calyx's head. A gem shimmered on Calyx's head. Leviathan said haughtily, "Take it. With this, ordinary monsters won't dare approach you." Rose, pale-faced, managed to squeeze out 2 words, "Thank you." Leviathan suddenly shifted into a human form and said, "Go on, bring BB quickly." Just like that, the two of them left safely with an additional amulet. Calyx didn't say anything along the way, making Rose worried. She hesitantly asked, "Are you all right?" "Your Highness." Calyx turned his head and looked at her coldly, then suddenly reached out and pressed Rose against the wall, just like in a Korean drama. He angrily asked, Why didn't you run back then?" Rose was extremely surprised, wanted to say something, but Calyx interrupted her. "I clearly told you to run. Don't you care about your life?" Rose scratched her face and explained, "No, I cherish my life very much, but if I didn't do that, both of us would have been in danger. Anyway, didn't everything end well?" Calyx released his grip. "You're right, I know, but I don't know why I'm so angry." Rose looked at him with concern. "Your Highness." She changed the subject. "Is that a stone bestowed by Leviathan?" Calyx nodded. "It's a crystal stone. Its magical power has already solidified within, allowing me to release it. A stone, a crystal stone. It takes hundreds of years to form this size. Because it contains Leviathan's magical power, ordinary monsters can't approach it. But I don't understand." Rose immediately asked, "What do you mean?" Calyx replied, "Extracting magical power from within one's body is extremely dangerous. Intelligent monsters rarely create such things. What did a monster like Leviathan create this for? It must have been created to protect something. We'll find out when we find its lair." The two soon realized the passage was blocked. Calyx carefully led Rose through a pile of rocks. Upon entering, they detected a strange smell coming from somewhere. Calyx guessed, "It's the smell of decaying corpses." "Let's go in." Rose asked fearfully, "Didn't you just say that was the smell of decaying corpses?" Calyx retorted, "Do you intend to wander around aimlessly? If there's a clue, we should follow it." Rose worried, "But the corpses..." Calyx replied, "If you're that scared, close your eyes." Just then, he suddenly stopped, stepping onto the last step. "It seems we've arrived." Rose covered her nose with her hand. "The smell, it's terrible." Calyx covered her eyes with his hand. "Close your eyes. I'll go take a look." Rose panicked. "Wait, I'll go with you." Calyx reminded her, "There are quite a few corpses here." Rose replied, "It's all right." She considered, Astra's corpses are scary, but being alone in a place like this is even scarier. Astra's Calyx didn't stop her, just said, "Suit yourself. I wasn't planning on bringing you here anyway." The sight before Rose's eyes greatly surprised her. A magic circle appeared in front of a door. Calyx recognized it. This is ancient Brahmin language. Brahmin is the name of a kingdom that existed here 400 years ago. To enter, we need to break the protective magic circle. Rose suggested, "What if we use the crystal stone?" Calyx countered, "It's just a mass of magical power. It's useless for deciphering magic circles." He swiftly drew his sword and said to Rose, "Step back." Calyx raised his sword and slashed at the magic circle. Power collided. Unexpectedly, The magic circle actually wavered. Rose cheered. It's working. However, she quickly realized Calyx had collapsed from exhaustion. She asked worriedly, "Are you all right?" Calyx replied in a low voice, "I'm fine. Even a few more times would be all right." Rose realized he had been in a poor state for a while, pushing himself through. "Is there any other way?" She looked around, noticing something. "Come to think of it, that magic circle, it's one of the languages that appeared in my diary. If that's the case, could it know?" Thinking of this, she reached for the notebook in her bag. "How can we get in?" Just then, the protective magic circle on the door vanished. Rose explained joyfully, "Your Highness, the magic circle is broken. Thank goodness, now we can go in." But suddenly, she felt a sharp pain in her chest. "I can't breathe."